now they've gone back to hero, back to their, kind of natural dynamic of how they qualified in the beginning, how they kept on top of the leaderboards. And it's going to be interesting to see what they learned from the more aggressive style of FlowSaw, coming back to now the whole strategical, tactical, more launchpad, macro-oriented gameplay of Hero Kappa.
And you got to show some love to Hero Kappa. When we were checking out his gameplay, he was leading in frags, at least in the review that I did. He was really popping off. He was leading the box fights. He was getting the trades, setting up all the exchanges, and that's what you like to see in your trio. It almost makes me wonder, was he just AFK? Was something going on? Like, what's the story behind there? And that's one of the fun things when you're discovering a new region. It's learning, right? Learning about what these new players have to offer. No, absolutely. Interesting factoid as well. The one thing that we saw was they actually used Hero for one of the open rounds and then switched to FlowSaw halfway in the in the semis to go to finals. So I'm not sure what these guys are doing, if it's a flexible pick, if it's the first they've actually just seen substitutes being used before, ever, right? Because we did see duos, partners switching off, but now when you have a whole team dynamic, subs come into question. So could it be that type of scenario, or are they just looking to learn more things? Scheduling issues. It's going to be fun to see how it translates to when we're watching the games. Yeah, absolutely. There's always so much to learn here. And again, it just kind of goes back to the question, who is going to come out on top? We have a lot riding on the stakes here as far as, our friendly rivalries, as you guys have seen kind of happen here. But anyways, there's our cast of predictions. You can see kind of what's going on. We're going to be leading right into our games, though. So, Klops, VIVO, Hero Kappa, these are players we've wanted to look out for. We've talked about, Flame, Prime, and Hunter, right, as being a favorite for Sundown and Zeke. People to just look out for. And these are the teams we really want to watch and see if they can continue to pull that consistency throughout the weekend here today. But here's our game. Here's our map. We're loading in. Starting fresh and early, everyone actually dropping out of the battle bus, just going to an overview of all the changes we've been seeing in Season X. We've got the Meteor, a nice floaty zone over there for people to take beams from and then drop down instantly. We have all these rift zones offering so many things in a risk-reward type of scenario. We have guaranteed pumps and tilted, but you can't build. So it's very interesting to see how people utilize that either early on fights or mid-game. Right now, we're tuning in straight into Retail Row for another throwback, Power versus ASMR. Yeah, and this is a little bit of a rivalry here. So interesting to see that multiple teams are contesting for Retail. It's one of those power POI spots, and not to, use the word power because I know the team has it in their name. But we're here. This is the place you want to own. And don't forget, guys, we're tuning in with Middle East region from Heat 2 Game 4. So the action has been popping off all day long, and we're hopping right in. So this is the early taste of what is going to unfold here as our 32 teams are getting ready on the map. Yeah, I'm talking about Heat 2 Game 4. There are only 6 games of Heat. There are only 2 heats in the Middle East region. Yes. So this is the back half of games that were happening across the world from us. At the moment, though, we're going to be tuning into, looks like another team at Retail as well, popping through. Looks like there's going to be an early Elam getting knocked down. This house in particular as well, the doghouse, kind of connecting the residential and blacktop site, is kind of the place you kind of fight for control. Actually, this is actually no, Greasy. We're in Greasy. I was going to interject, but you're kind of just on fire there. We actually hopped with another team. We're looking at Greasy here, so you guys know that taco time might happen at any given moment now. And the cool part about that is it starts to heal and regenerate health. And then at the same time, everyone's basically invincible. You cannot take damage during the time, but looks like, a little defense being played here by DS, Q, and DX, and he gets the exchange here, and that's why they're going to be able to successfully save Nijby. But, again, the dancing happens. Which, by the way, it heals the down player. Oh, for real? Yeah, so if you're down, your health comes back up. The only catch is if you're down in the storm, no one heals. And then at that point, it could be extremely detrimental. You don't want to go down during that time. But hey, if you're down, taco time can actually save you if you're on the other side. So pros and cons. One big thing about early and mid-game fights is utilizing down players as kind of, strategic forces in an actual fight, strategic places to actually pressure people to come out of their boxes, to kind of control the way they move. So if you get to a safe space, no more timers there anymore, right? The taco time will come back up. Hostage for a little bit, just kind of hold them up. Absolutely. Use that little bit of leverage to bait out a team, turn that into a winning situation for you, because one of the cons of going on offense is you expose yourself. You're out there, you're vulnerable, you're moving, you're typically not building. And in those situations, that's where you get traded shots. But here, we're looking at retail row. This is what we wanted to focus on. NM7, FHD, and Young specifically have been hitting some disgusting shots over the course of today. The heavy sniper we know to be a favorite on a few of these players. Most teams only run with one sniper. We've seen multiple players picking up snipers on this squad.
Yeah, the biggest thing about the sniper as a power weapon, as a win condition type of weapon to make moves off of, when you have shockwaves, you can see right now in the inventory, right? Let's just take this example. You only have 2 chances to use that shock. You miss with a heavy snipe, depending on your heavy ammo count, which gets found in much bigger, varieties of 7, 13 ammo spread around the map. You have so many more opportunities to land that heavy sniper throughout any point in the game. It's more expendable, which means you can play off of it so much more frequently.
That's right, and just taking a look here, Yonks is going to get a nice little power upgrade to the loadout there as he picks up a blue pump shotgun. So you know the confidence is in their favor. They're actually glancing over at the Black Ops. They're not quite sure. They saw a little bit of aggro zombie movement, from the Fiends here, kind of lingering about, and because of that, they were cautious. They knew a team was here when we first checked in with them. Seems like the coast is pretty clear, and now they're gonna focus on taking out the pylons here.
Yeah, one thing I actually wanted to talk about, we noticed Retail and Greasy coming in, right? We also made that little mistake with the houses. The big thing, though, to note about that, a lot of these house layouts are very similar when you're looking at it inside. And with new POIs, suppose you are a team that goes Retail and it's so contested. Moving over to Greasy and having that similar layout, knowing exactly how to play those buildings, and as well looking at what are the power buildings in the POI. How does that kind of change the way you adapt to it versus a team that's not their monster?
I mean, you absolutely need to know your layout. It's one of the perks of mastering a place and playing off a place for long periods of time. Now, let's just say if things were to just change and something new is to show up, that could be a big issue for some of the competitors. But hey, the best of the best adapt, and someone's going to figure out how to make it work, right?
Absolutely. You get the experience of playing in Retail, apply it to Greasy. You might just get a whole new drop spot, right? Yeah, there's taco time. Hey, that's free shields. That's, as you said, the free utilization of having a knockdown teammate just staying alive. It's huge things you can play off of. We're going to be looking at a Polar Peak team right now. Also a very interesting POI that's been developed kind of in the meta game over this whole season. In the beginning, not many people wanted to land here, not seeing the actual potential of loot, as we did lose the big castle, but gained so much more map space and movement vertically around the map and actual sight lines towards Frosty, towards the cabins at the back, and even Happy Hamlet takes shots at people who are up here from Polar.
Yeah, Polar Peak has always been one of those power spots to hold. You have this super high elevation. You have loads of rotation opportunity. And you can see here, it's been so long since we watched early game. I haven't even seen a team execute a proper kind of float across to big tree like that, right? So these are the small things that I nerd out over specifically is rotations, figuring out how people play their drop spots and figure out their loot situations. Something cool to note, guys, you actually don't take fall damage if you were to fall off a high place with the hoverboard.
You've got all the factoids down, man. These guys,
I play a lot of
tips. Let's go, Monster.
Just something to think about. So don't panic, guys. If you ever want to really make an aggressive dive and push, it's actually a perfect opener to come in on the hoverboard. You are exposed, but you can jump off at any elevation, any height. And if you fail, it's okay. You'll be all right.
That's one thing you also pointed out on. It's actually Heat 1 Game 4 from the Middle East at the moment, which is a whole new slew of players that we're going to be seeing, because we were watching Heat 2 previously, so we'll see how this Heat panned out, how the end games kind of differ. Before, we saw a lot of top-down shooting vertically, not many people challenging it late at all, a lot of miniguns, a lot of AR spam. Once that 7th zone kind of passed, it was free reign for those people on height. It's just about how many points can you efficiently accumulate. So now we'll see what are some of the other different type of win conditions, endgame Monster, that you've seen in Comp Fortnite.
Hey, I mean, the name of the game is to earn points regardless. You see squads that like to execute Zone 6 for high ground and then dominate, right? Put pressure down, dictate the pace of the game. You see other players that tend to kind of hold mid-ground tarp, hold down on shockwaves, and then make big moves towards the tail end, try and secure high ground, right? All of which are risk and reward plays. Personally, I think the scariest type of play style is going for height early. Those players that have the guts to go for Zone 6 high ground, you're risking all of your material at the expense of going for elims, which aren't guaranteed to you, and then you're trying to control the pace of the battle, which again, some people struggle, right, in those situations, because if you don't do it properly, the server will turn on you, and now all of a sudden you're losing.
Yep, there's so many teams alive near the end of the game. There's always one that can sense the weakness on height.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, you're not double tarping anymore. Your metal switched to wood. Here's an opportunity. Where's the spam?
You're not hitting me. So
yeah.
like, now it's time to fire back and set up those countermeasures. And that's one of the kind of tug of wars that these teams and trios face. But here we have Sidig, MS Idij, and Rampage here, and looks like they are looking to battle here. So the team that we saw at Greasy here was already rotating out, and in comes the fire. So just exposing themselves, no fear at all, just fearless out in the open, using a little bit of ducking there, kind of trying to naturally avoid some shots here. The shield bubble comes down. Invoke is on a weird position here. And up he goes for the high ground right now, and that's a shockwave. He's going to leave his backside open. He's going to suffer all of his shield right there. It's going to be very painful.
Now, one big thing to notice in this breakdown is on approach, Rampage, Sidig, and M-Sidig all together were doing a 2-1 breakdown at all times. They always made sure there was one person a little bit higher, kind of switching roles to make sure they had that 2-1 split. And you see it in this fight. It's two people on a wall on one opponent. Then you have the breakdown of one person supporting up top. Right now, Rampage is in the big fray of the fight. Not sure exactly where his teammates are, but you can presume if he's on a wall, there is a teammate there to respond. Kimmy responds to the bullets by going absolutely knocked down in that state, and now going to be getting siphoned by his teammates. Now everyone grouping together. This is very good use of timing in the fight, because when you're split, you do have a lot of pressure, but there's a lot of risk involved. Now coming back together, if someone tries to peek you, you have three people aiming in. It's very good use of splits and regrouping.
Yeah, and something to learn from that battle, guys. If you notice how quickly it ended, is because they managed to just isolate. They isolated the player, they hunted him down, they forced him into a frenzy to build up for high ground, and that was the first pick. After that, the rest of the team just kind of fell in suit, trying to play catch-up to save their teammate. But we've seen a wonderful story of Minzu, Kinji, and Boxfighter Moon all day today. They had high ground. They took second place in the first game we watched, in a crazy turnaround and some shockwave plays that were made towards endgame. But we know they've been making it to the end, and they weren't on our radar previous to this. So to see Minzu, Kinji, and Boxfighter Moon here finally making a little stake of the claim for fame here on the Fortnite competitive scene is really nice. This is one of the awesome things about being able to check out these new regions and give people opportunity.
No, absolutely. This is the breakthrough moment at the moment. We've seen them be really good early game in Happy, but now they have the worst possible zone rotating in. It looks like it's pulling all the way up to the right side of the map, so they will be having a mid-game fight. Very smart use of utility, making sure with Stinks you can actually track where your enemies are through that damage tick through the wall. Now you can see them actually responding after getting that first elim. This is what we're talking about earlier in the day. When you have a stink, it's not usually used to grief, but to gather info and then act upon afterwards. So now they're full body sending it straight into the box fight. As they're doing it, another two teams come up from the top. It's a huge mishmash at Grandma's house in the middle of the map. A lot of teams should be rotating through here. They might get even more action as Kinji goes down.
That's what I want to talk about. It was the aggression, the fearlessness. Moon actually jumps into a 1v3 battle for high ground build. He held it down, but unfortunately Kinji's going to get traded out here as Minzu was in the low ground trying to figure things out. And now suddenly, because they didn't, pull back the reins and play patient here, they found themselves in another battle. But looks like these things are putting into great work as they catch another small pick there. And they managed to fend off everyone. So we'll see if they can get the reboot card, maybe pull out a clutch save at some point or another. But teams are in shambles here.
Absolutely. You touched upon it earlier where, we're happy to see these early games. And, in comparison to all the late games we always see, it's dope to cast a huge early to end game. One big thing that applies to both early and end game.
In the zone, by the way.
Is timing. And this is a big use of timing right here, right? We do have a minute 14 till the zone moves. You do want to pick your teammate up, but now you're messing with not just one, but two resources. First of all, you're losing a lot of time and positioning on the zone, as well as HP pools coming in. You do have a lot of loot you did gain from the fight that these guys just had, and slurps to tick through, but the stuff you use early to pick yourself up, you will not be able to utilize in the end game. So time is shared across both early and end. It's both affected. We don't usually get to see it used at the end game, but every decision you make, maybe they wouldn't have had that mid-game fight if they were faster off their looting, right? So seeing exactly how they move across the map, how they utilize time, can actually get into where they are in the middle and end game of their gameplay.
Yeah, so they sent one player out to go kind of, obviously get that revive, and then they stood or they left Moon back behind to, be that presence on the build on the skeleton that remains of what the fight was, so that the team below, is cautious. They don't necessarily, want to move or get that freebie rotation out of there. So the whole team is back. Now they're able to reap some of the rewards here, the loot that remains, and suddenly they're all back in action here. Now with that launch pad there, they are going to be okay to get the rotation, but remember, he did catch a knock, so notice, they just want to go ahead and take a peek. See who's left here. What kind of loot can they still kind of grab up before it's time to go? And it's a short rotation, so they don't need the launch pad either. Looks like they are going to decide to probably go on foot here.
Short rotation, definitely risky, though. There are 65 people alive right now in the circle. Placement is a long ways away. Looks like Zanzis might be the last person in the trio from this fighter. One of the trios trying to move in. We'll see if it's possible for him to actually sneak through on this launch pad. Very patient gameplay there. Hopefully he has heals to come in. But this is the big problem with missed timing and getting in the zone a little bit later than you want. Kinji getting absolutely lit up in the air, going to be launching down. Might have to use hard mats early on, which means he won't have them end game. Once again, you see these connections between early and end. Usually you don't get to see why people are in such positions, but these guys took fights. They have to respond with the appropriate materials, and now they're actually turning gears to the offense. I think they noticed this guy was solo right here on the left. They do have a beam opportunity on the launch pad. Hopefully they get it. A lot of trees in the way, though, Monster. This is very interesting to see how these guys are kind of moving around the map to get in the zone mid-game.
Yeah, so far so good. Again, another little buff up to the loadout. When you get that minigun, suddenly now you have the means to put the pressure up. And TR Zanzis is going to fall there, as they were relentless on the push. They hunt him down, they catch him down right there, and that's going to be a nice replenish for materials and loot of the sort. And they're big chilling right now. They have everything they need. Medium, light bullets. Mats are in a hurting because they're asking for attention from the server. But other than that, the points are accumulating. The steamroll is beginning here.
Yeah, the biggest thing to worry about is that zone still pulling up northeast over and over again. It means they have to move more vertically. There's already a hill in the way. Moving up pressure, you have to deal with lava, ever-changing ultimate low ground as well. There's so many things to take into account, and now they actually do have to move towards that way. The whole server could hold them back. We'll see if they use their utility to push through.
And here, back with this team, we saw them earlier before execute a nice isolation and pinch push against a full trio. Looks like they're setting up their next siege here. You saw a couple shots trading out, and interesting middle, the ME region kind of surprising me here with how much they are using just everything in their arsenal to fully commit to these battles here. They're throwing stinkers, laying down fire, and then fully commit into rotations and box pushes here. So this is some aggressive play we're looking at, Shayo. And it doesn't look like it's going to stop anytime soon. This is the type of play style we kind of signed up for here. We checked out this region, setting up the ramp boost right there. He's going to catch the 50-50 wall, but doesn't matter. Eagle isn't even looking. So catches that guy off guard. Still pick right there.
I think the difference in this trio is that usually people look for weakness to apply stinks to. They make the map weak. They make other trios weak first. Then they're like, oh, okay, these guys are weak. We're pushing in. They know exactly what fight they want to take. They actually make fights happen rather than sitting back and waiting for them. Right now, looks like these guys have 4 elims together. They're still affecting trios left and right, either picking up strays or making trios have just stray teammates. We'll see how much of an influence they have on the rest of the game, because it looks like so far they've affected 5 different trios coming in from the bottom left side of the map.
Yeah, Rampage actually took a lot of damage there, as does MSI Dig as well. And that's because the heavy sniper from the opponents nearby, they're just popping open those builds, following up with heavy AR fire. That's why they're able to, unfortunately, that's why they lost a lot of health here. But now having to expend all their heals, it kind of seems like it wasn't worth it. The teams they've taken out didn't really reap big rewards here. Now they're in a weird situation, scrambling for health and loot, but it's okay. We're approaching Zone 5. It'll reveal itself in just 15 seconds, and then they'll have to make a big decision of whether they get to stay and kind of plan up, or move out and use those shockwaves.
The big thing about decisions is they're the easiest to make when you have a lot of options. The fact that they've ran out of all this utility, all these shields, limits their options. So now they have to play a certain type of way. They have to either find recyclable launch pads. Yes, they have the shockwaves, but then if they use them now, they lose the option as them for a win condition later in the game. So everything's kind of all on the plate now. They don't have any side dish available, no dessert coming up. It's one main course. They have to make sure it stays tasty. Hopefully they get in and it's an easy coming from them all the way to the later parts of the zone where they can utilize whatever utility they have left.
Yeah, and this is a long rotation here, guys. They actually did not look out. The zone is pushing further and further away. Lucky for them, you can see the server is proactive. They're moving first, which is good, because if everyone's on the move, it allows you to cut across the field. The team's up on high ground. Hopefully wouldn't have had their ARs loaded, but not the case here as Rampage gets chipped right out. He gets taken down this no-fly zone here. And he lands right next to the team. He's unsure of what he wants to do. He's trying to stay close but not fall down to, you know, a layer where he cannot be saved. But it looks like that's it. That's it. His team split up. Rampage is out the game. Now it's just a duo that remains here. This MSI dig and Sid dig here. Cooking up this minigun. This is a very precarious pressure point. So close to their opponents there. You can get punished in return with a shotgun. It's not going to be the case here as they're just dictating the push here. Jib goes down. It's going to be a nice catch for them. He actually just finished that. It wasn't even his elim. So he's just trying to be really sneaky here. See if he can steal some of the rewards here from the down body. Little does he know, it's right over lava. It's probably not even retrievable.
Yeah, man, one big contingency off of coming off of a launch and losing your shield. It's a very risky, very, very risky play, is going towards another trio. Yeah. As you saw, they use another person's shield bubble because you attract all that heat. Maybe that trio doesn't want to deal with it. They're low on mats. They use their own resources, right? You turn 3-man's loot into 6-man's loot. The thing is, 3 of those people next to you are also not on your team. So as soon as they sense weakness, they turn right onto you. You saw that with Sadig here, who now has 6 HP, taking a whole minigun brawl from the trio that was closest to him, who was he was utilizing their shield bubble to kind of take protection from, but once that ran out, they knew exactly what was up. Now we're moving into that 6th circle off of half and half. 45 people left alive, 19 trios still there, 7 need to go down for placement.
Yeah, still a lot of trios left in the game here, and this is a really weird spot to battle, especially with the low health. You don't want to step in the lobby. You can't really afford to, and the elevation is only going to rise here as they go up and over the volcanic mountain. This is one of the steepest points in the world of the Fortnite world. This is similar to a polar peak climb here. It's a very steep wall you have to get up and over, and if they don't move soon, they're going to be stuck with their backs against the wall here. But you know what? It's more important, exactly, to try and pick up some siphon here. So Sigil going down there is going to be huge. That's going to at least help Sid to get some health here if he can kind of hold out. A launch pad's going to be placed down in Upsy Daisy. Now into the next zone they go, and great tracking of his teammate here. That's actually a phenomenal job, even under the pressure and the circumstances that they found themselves in. Great job tunneling and finding his teammate.
Yep, even off of height and mid-ground, you mentioned going through this weird zone that's very vertical. Height still has a tough job actually tarping in and making sure they can actually shoot down on people while they're moving around, because they have to change exactly how high they are. That's why you saw these guys not get beamed exactly where they were. You have such a dynamic placing of all the mid-ground layers as well, going up and down, changing layers based off of natural low ground, because if you're too high, that's a threat, right? You want to be in the perfect position. Now they're using shockwave nades. The biggest thing about these, though, is when you're using them endgame, you do take a tent tick every now and then. These guys only have about 60 to 70 HP to play with. So every one of these shockwaves must be perfect, and some could also be saved. Jiren actually going down for a huge siphon elim and mats that these guys did need. They were almost shambles. Now they're not. The last almost shockwave coming in from Sadig, still taking ticks away from his teammate. Sadig actually going down. Sadig is the one up here. Another elim on Fahad. He goes down. RPG available as well. Looks like Sadig actually caught up with him in that mid-ground layer. Having mid-ground over here is such a big deal as well, because you don't have to deal with any of the vertical pressure or low-ground weirdness that goes on with the change of the map.
That's some interesting decision-making right there. They split the shockwave, saying, you know what, we can't afford to make any errors, right? We can't even shockwave together. Let's split up. Let's use our own shockwave so we can't make any mistakes. And that's what they're doing right here. They're trying to execute the perfect ways possible. Unfortunately, as I kind of brought it up, Dig does make a mistake there, and now he finds himself in an odd situation. He's in between all these enemies. His teammate's up on high ground. Up, he's trying to go to him. He's just landing in enemy boxes right now.
That one big
got to make a big move here, and he's going to get caught off guard there. Unfortunately, he did try to get that high ground. He was not fortunate enough to kind of secure the deal here. In comes the minigun pressure. This is an awesome job right here. NJ is going to fall down right there. The siphon has to come through here so you can get this health bonus. This is putting them in just a better and better situation as time ticks on. And it's looking like a solo right now. This is looking like a solo endgame here, if I'm not mistaken. Everyone representing and looking out for themselves here. There's a huge, heavy snipe shot right there. Dig's going to get really hurt. Can he trade out a shot? This zone's going to go ahead and finish him off here as Power finds that one right there. And it's MN7 versus this last player right here. There's only 2 players remaining, Shayo.
Yep, it's game 4 in Heat 1, and the competition is getting hot. We have a big pump coming in. ASMR Spy goes down. The Power ASMR rivalry finally ends in the end game. It's now a 1v1 to see who gets those final 4 points, 3 of placement, 1 for the Elam. Nice, big, easy, fast peaks coming down from NM7. Full Lana available. He does have that pump or shotgun delay since he has 2 tacks in. Will it make a difference? Almost not even out of mats at all. A nice 180 tack shot from height takes down DSQND for those big points in. Power is still on top. They can't be stopped right now. Huge game from them.
That was wonderfully done for NM7. And with that, we're going to head over to the floor with Sundown to give us a nice little recap.
Thank you so much, gentlemen. And we see the Middle East has been heating up in the action that occurred this morning. Honestly, I'm a big fan. I love watching it, watching the early games and the mid game, the discipline when the team goes, but also the little bit of chaos and kind of like fanaticism that happens in the end games when all of a sudden, just as Monster said, it turned into a solo game right there at the end. But let's dive in and see some of the plays that were made in the past game. And first, we're going to hop on board with Toggle. His positional awareness and the fact that he's able to turn towards the rest of the storm and lay down these rifle shots means he's going to find a number of elims here. And you can see the rest of his team has been down. It's a tale of people making individual strong efforts in the end game. We kind of talked about it before, how they stick very close together in the mid and early game, but we've seen now over and over again, teams aren't necessarily able to keep that discipline when it starts getting hectic and all of these fights are going down. Players start dropping all over the place. Right now, Adam ZK able to find a number of picks using the minigun and the edits to get pressure, but unfortunately isn't clean enough to pick them up without taking back damage. Now you can see Adam is in shambles, so W Horse is trying to play the protector role, but they're in fights on the back of the storm, and this is where it starts to break down. Despite getting the siphon, everyone on their team needs to now regroup, and boom, we flip back over. W Horse, whole team is eliminated, was able to pick up a number of elims. 5 players left, 4 trios in the match. Power and Ebb from the low ground is able to pick up 2 elims in a row and then maintain his positioning through discipline and then close out in the 1v1, giving him a huge boost. And these clutch factors is what's going to lift these players up, particularly as we head into the grand final tomorrow. I mean, it has just been incredible watching the action so far and getting to see these guys really develop and continue on. And I just want to see what else happens going forward. We're going to throw it back into game with Showager and Monster. Gentlemen, take it away.
Thank you, Sundown. And yep, the action has been real here, Shayo. That was an exciting last game there. You saw for a second. Hey, Sundown, pretty face. We saw for a second there, you know, couple classic jump shotgun plays, kind of keeping that high ground, kept it real textbook. There was you know, that was his game to lose, if anything. And having the mats to close out must be real good for the Power trio has been showing up this weekend.
It's always dope to see a kind of mid-ground team hiding out and coming up off the top. The coolest thing to see is the journey from early to end of all the trios coming in and how the decisions they made earlier affected their end game in total at the end. Now we're going to see everyone dropping out of the battle bus. Talk about the breakdown, Monster.
Yep, here we are, guys. Middle East, Heat 1, Game 5 is underway, and we have a really odd split here. It's a southern cut on the bus, which makes it any teams in the north-northwest side are going to have a rough time cutting across that field. By the time they touch down, the zone is just about to reveal itself. So those valuable seconds can really cut away from your loot timing and your battle positioning period. So you can see anyone that, you know, plays those southern areas has got that touchdown first. They're already getting to looting here.
Yeah, we're going to tune in right back with Dennis, Mev, and Namfu. We saw them have an amazing performance early on in the day. We're now Heat 1, Game 5, 1 game away from the final game of the Heat, kind of dictating who is in that top 16 scenario. At Sunny Steps right now, uncontested. One big thing about this POI you want to have at all times is the actual POI uncontested. There's not that much loot to kind of split off on trios. It's a very easy game or an easy place on the map to disengage from. So if you have 2 trios contesting Sunny and then one dips off, you leave both of you guys pretty much in a very shambles position. So it's very good right now. They have a lot to loot, and they have a lot of the jungle available around them to have some of that, you know, spread out sparse loot on the map.
Yeah, and one of the things about fighting within these pyramid structures, Building's weird. Going outside the building to build on the pyramid itself is weird. Mats are kind of scarce, right? Even with the bonus farm format, you know, when you hit stuff during in these arena settings, yeah, you gain a little more material, but you don't really gain much from these stone structures. So batting here in early game is a scary thing, especially if you don't get the loadout of choice. So for them to have it clear as day right here, it's pretty nice.
It's a very dope advantage they can see kind of pushing off into mid-game. One big thing about having free early POIs as well, we talked about it earlier, options. They have so many options of what they want their actual loadout to look like. A lot of the time, if a fight happens, you don't get to see a lot of the loot early. You kind of have to move on because zone's catching up. Right now, they basically have an entire buffet available, and they get to pick every single thing they want to eat. It's amazing. We have stinks, medkits, minis available. Now tuning in to H-Man up in Greasy Grove. Big elims coming through, 2 back-to-back, setting these guys up. No taco time to stop the mid-game fight either. These guys are going to be moving through, have all the shield available, and the whole POI free.
Yeah, just like that. You wrap that team up real quick. You saw a little bit of taunting coming out there from H-Man. You know, Dampton a little premature before the taco time. It's okay. He's got to get his groove on somewhere or another. He's probably going to make it to his Instagram before the day's up. Here, let's take a look at the loadouts. The loadouts pretty rough. Just a shotgun, couple shields. Okay. We'll be able to grab some of the spores of war here. And now we're talking. Now he's looking like a real Fortnite gamer here. He's got something to work with here in the game today. Opting to farm up this metal. It's very nice. Going to set him up for success.
Yeah, it looks like a super early game fight. You see the contrast of the actual loadout at the same time, right? We have full fleshed out loadouts all the way at Sunny, and now in Greasy we have people just starting up. The big thing about having Greasy free as well is the farm rate and everything around that too. You have everything set up for you. The momentum's there. You're always comfortable. And it's a very easy way to kind of segment and know exactly when and what to build. You're never worried about missing anything mid-game.
And also remember, ladies and gentlemen, Storm Surge is active. So honestly, you kind of want players to land on you at your POI. I know in a perfect world, you beat Storm Surge and you get a whole zone to yourself. But in the real world, in the real Fortnite world, usually doesn't really work out like that. You want those free picks, those early picks. You want your enemies to, you know, botch their landing, not get the shotgun, pump them, catch them easy freebies. So getting those early game fights can be beneficial, especially if you know, master your craft. I think early game is one of the hardest, you know, times, or one of the hardest Fortnite things to master, really, I should say. And a lot of teams struggle. There are some players that can pop off in a lot of situations, but they can't really get their gears rolling. They tend to struggle in early game.
Yeah, with few mats available early, since you don't obviously farm out unless you find a llama, and so many spots and natural cover to move around, it's very unpredictable, right? And the comp player's worst nightmare is kind of being in a fight in an unpredictable scenario. You have to kind of react to what's on your screen. If you have more than one person focusing you down, that's even worse for you, right? You're always back against the wall. You want to have everything available for you. You want to have some room. So 100% I agree. Early game is something that's very hard to perfect and very hard to kind of prep for when you're playing in the game. It usually just gets thrown onto you.
And these guys are using all this retail row kind of extra loot to really capitalize and find the perfect loadout. So Yonks is going to get a big upgrade right there. Going from a great tactical shotgun up to a legendary shotgun, legendary tactical. We've seen multiple players, even that, you know, rare European game one we got to catch. And I'll call it rare because you guys know the issues that kind of unfolded today. We saw players, pro players, taking the gold tack over the blue pump, even when it needed most. Players needed it the most, right? You needed that one pump. People were still opting to rock out with the gold tack.
Yeah, the meta for a lot of players and the way they play and take peaks, they use the combat for so much time of the season. They're used to having more bullets to send through. They're used to having, you know,
the fire rate.
Yeah, the fire rate as well, right? It's just the biggest thing they're not used to and they have to kind of adjust to is the pull-out time of that gold and purple tack, because it is slower than all the other shotguns available right now in the loot pool.
Here's Zanzis. So they're going to use hoverboards to get away from the trio that's to the left, or maybe they didn't even realize they're actually firing off in the distance there. So little do they know, someone is already up close and personal, but there it is. The sound cue is given off, and he's actually spotted by Zephyr, who's got the perfect pinch on his player, and Zanzis, who's got the nice range as well with the explodes here. Shield Bubble is going to isolate this player from Zephyr, and Zephyr loses the 1v1.
Shield Bubble absolutely isolates. The big thing about this side of the map, too, is how spread out and isolated you are from the get-go. So much of a split is going on just for looting purposes that when a fight starts, you have to act quick to get back to your team. Fast builds from Zanzas, though. Shockwaves coming through. Still a block off. The tack shots not missing a single one out of 8 in his clip. Zanzas is on point right now. Metal's not going to stop his beam from coming through into your box. A two-way split on pressure on the box as well. I hear a minigun in there too, Monster. This is insane.
It's going down right now. He's not missing any shots. Happy that you noted that because there's knock players everywhere. Wisa goes down. Normally when it's me and I got a tack shotgun, I have a million excuses to figure out why I'm not, landing or damaging, but it doesn't matter. Zanz is showing that you can hit your shots, you're gonna win your fights. And that's exactly how this battle has turned around because Zephyr was the first to get traded out. So as a 2v3 situation, they're doing so good. Invoke's gonna fall down now as well, which means that last player is very weak because Zanz has already got 2 knocks here. So let's see how he goes to execute and kind of seal the deal here. So he walks right around, and there he goes. He catches Invoke.
Absolutely no hesitation at all to use any type of utility. Not a certain pattern we usually see. People are more safe and scarce with what they want to use in a fight, especially this early. Mid-game, I understand, throw your 6 stinks. But this, Sans has just used, I think, upwards of his entire rocket clip with what the GL came with as well. And the minigun ammo, no care for it at all. I think we just dropped down from like 600 to 200.
Hey,
Still reaping the benefits.
You know what they say. If you can't take it with you back to the lobby, so you might as well throw it out there because the worst thing is to get taken out of a game and be like, man, I still had those splashes. I knew I should have padded right there, right? Or, kind of have those regrets. So, good on them to kind of throw it all at the wall when it mattered because their teammate got taken out first. Zephyr lost. So you might as well throw everything to really take the tide and take take the bull by the horns in that situation, I should say. But taking a look at the other side of the map, we have Eska, Toggle, Seagull on the run here from a team behind them. They put some pressure on squads kind of floating around, launch padding above.
And when the zone gets pulled down from this angle, on the entire map, this bone spot, the whole Sakura flower field, is a very interesting place where a lot of trios actually converge. A lot of the POIs on that side of the map usually don't waste too much time actually getting bricked from, but if you have that mentality because you just want to go and farm the teeth, every other trio has that mentality as well. There's so much brick available, as you can see, on the lake, on the actual rock behind you guys, the whole skull. But the big issue is if every trio is thinking that way, this is what ends up happening. A huge fight that blows out, stinks being thrown, a lot of utility being used, including defensive utility like campfires and bubble shields, will have a lot of engagements that you probably don't want to take just because you're on the same page as some other trios in the early game.
And those are some amazing stinks right there to really put the pressure on these players down here. But there's someone in Tilted Town who's actually firing back. There's another squad on the mountain just to the side of that as well. So suddenly what looked like a free push and a free takeout on the squad here in the river, it's now turned into a really odd situation because they're surrounded by multiple players. RSG Spirit tries to skate away there on the hoverboard. He's going to get picked off immediately by this trio right now. They say, you know what? We caught a freebie over here. Let's go back. Let's get that loot and forget these guys on the river. They'll live to see another day for now.
Yeah, big cost to their resources, though. A lot of, I think, would ultimately just expend it to push that fight. Easily farmable up once again, but we did see so many trios rotating through here. Will there actually be much left at the moment, or will they have to get it on the fly moving forward as well? These guys seem to not stop. It just toggles on 24/7. Fights are on all the time. Not sure why there's just it's a 2-box kind of defensive base right now, but the less boxes you have, the more opportunity for a big pop-off moment. Spirit getting released all the way to that knockdown state. It's a box wall-to-wall fight right now. It's going to be that 50-50 engagement. Big Elim coming out of Toggle.
You gotta show some respect for Toggle shots right there, flicking at the light and the slightest pixel that moved in front of him. He did not miss a shot, hitting 3 flush pump shots right there, and a flawless edit as well on the player that was just picked up. So Spirit got knocked, he got saved, he got put right back down to the dirt, and then Toggle follows up with the other. Now hopping on over to Shifty Shafts. Looks like we have, we saw Sid Dig, we saw MSI Dig and Rampage have a great last game. They're just outside of the Shifty here, and there's another trio nearby.
Amazing. We're going to be looking at Shifty now, one big place to actually get refarmable mats in. The biggest part about this, you talked about the whole skull earlier for Brick. A lot of teams do rotate the Shifty for that metal, as once again, on this kind of middle side of the map, especially coming out of Tilted Town, yes, you have an increased plethora of mats available from chests, but to knock off and top off all your metal, you do have to rotate and find a lot with other trios as well. So a dope pattern we're seeing in this mid game is a lot of Middle Eastern trios on the same page, moving forward, backwards, and all around the map, knowing the exact power, POI, and farm spots mid game as well, as we see a care package coming down from the top.
That's right, and ladies and gentlemen, we are here. It's Shio Wager, Monster D-Face. We're looking at the Middle East region. We're taking a look at these heats, these games that are unfolding here. A region that we have not covered much of. This is actually, if anything, their debut to the Fortnite main stage here. So to see these players performing under pressure right now, we're looking at our future stars, future names that, will show up for the next World Cup for all we know, right?
Yeah, the scene can only develop more and more and more. They can only review more and play more, which means they'll only get better, and we'll see even greater and bigger things. One big thing I've been seeing these guys utilize mid-game and very early on as well, I want to ask you a question, Monster. What do you think about the uses of shield bubbles mid and end game? When should they be used? How do you manage just having two in an inventory?
Yeah, from what I've seen, the shield bubble is obviously one of the most, effective tools to canceling out fire coming in on you when you become the focus point of a server, but more importantly, the perfect way to isolate a team when you decide, hey, we want to pounce on this target as well, so that no one can kind of interrupt or interfere with your battle as well. So the shield bubble is just such a flexible item, and there is no perfect time to use it, because we've seen it used to also just like clog up lanes for fire, right? Or the way these guys have come up with these innovative methods to stick it to yourself when you're on a bush or in a vehicle per se. So the shield bubble has been a great addition to Fortnite. It makes me miss, honestly, the flint knock, because the flint knock is another great addition, right?
Yeah, it's a versatile item that you can use offensively and defensively at a click of a button, right? The instant actual effect comes there. At the moment now, still more disrespect and momentum. Rampage is causing a scene in every single fight he's a part of. It's great that these guys have such a good spirit when they're playing the game. They're always on point. It seems like they're just having a lot of fun playing these matches, even though we can't hear the comms. Yeah,
I mean, Rampage is really cranking right here. He got that quick knock, it came right back up to high ground, and they're just suddenly resetting for the battle here. But someone's going to get dropped. It's Dig who fell behind, and now this trio is on their back foot here, as someone is looking to dive on them. We're not quite sure who it is that's pressuring them right now, but the fire is coming in from all types of ways. Out comes the poison. Okay, so it's VND and their crew up top on the high ground, really just putting pressure in. Storm keeping them out here. They do manage to get that revive off, and that's one of the perks of trio, right? Trio competitions. One player can save, one can play defense, and we see this executed time and time again. It's not like that in any other game mode, only in trios.
There's so many things as well as just being part of trios. You got that whole 5 more items you can carry as well. You have a whole new role. I remember Bala saying that, when chunk splashes were being introduced and trios were like a concept game mode, you could have just a role of an actual healer in the game. And we see that, the clutch player is usually the one that carries the shockwaves and the RPGs. The support player is usually the one carrying those long-range chunk splashes, the brute force kind of pick-me-up items of the trio, whether it's medkits or extra shields. So it's dope to see that when you have more player slots available, you can dive deep into these roles in your trio.
All right, so this trio here, sitting on the riverbed in a really odd spot. You never want to be in this low ground underneath the mountain at the mercy of all the teams around you. They do have a launch pad, though, and they have a long rotation to make here, so looks like they say, you know what, if we go in the air, we're probably going to get hit out the sky. Let's try our best, right? Go on foot. Try our luck here. They attempted a freebie rotation, and Dig gets punished with a big sniper shot, but it's okay. He's going to be able to heal up and bounce back, and it was worth it, I guess. They got close enough. They made it to the zone. They didn't really expend all their materials, right? The best of the best teams know how to rotate for free, if you want to call it that, and take the risk to get to where they need to be without wasting material.
Yep, one thing, the kind of relationship towards mid-game and end-game rotations in terms of the resources you have, I think, are materials versus shields.
Yeah.
So if you have more shields, you can take the risk to take and get shots to your HP pool to save those mats, drink those shields up, and then just go for siphon endgame, because it's a lot easier to get it there than to do a big mid-game fight. And me saying that, though,
look at this setup. Look at this setup.
Like
Rampage goes underneath their build there, looking for the knockdown to see if they can, sweep someone out from underneath their base. They just are not slowing down the momentum from one place to another. They're bringing the battle to anyone nearby. They're hungry to capitalize on the resources and materials here. That was a heavy snipe right there. You have 2 players holding down the turbo build, trying to see if they can, you know, keep control of the wall there. Dig makes the reload on the heavy snipe, so any bust, he can make any wall bust that he wants right now. There it is. He opens up another, takes that one right there, makes a quick edit. Can he connect with the shot? He does. He catches one player, but eats a explode from a grenade launcher from somewhere nearby.
The Siphon comes in, though, keeping him healthy. He's going to keep going forward. One decision he made there is not to put that stair in, but to get the damage off first, which proved good for him. At the same time, he did take a shotgun shot back, as well as an explosive, since he didn't own the stair, and it did get edited the moment that explode came in. Now we're switching back over to defense. They did get a few mats off that Siphon, his teammates at least. Now he has enough time to actually take over this whole base. They fill up their loaded slots as well with more things, such as shockwaves and a minigun potentially if they want to take it through as well. And they'll top off on the shields they used when they actually rotated in, using them instead of the mask. We talked about that earlier as well.
Yeah, now looking to retreat back to the metal carcass that they left behind. Remember, metal takes, you know, multiple shots of explodes to kind of break open. They actually find a trio nearby. It's going to be a huge pump shot from 104 now, and they're using the side pinch here. And no, another team comes through. He's going to hit the big pump. He's not missing, but it's just not enough to close the deal here. Rampage is left by himself, but I'm sure the comms are, you know, giving out. They're weak. They're definitely weak. Let's see if Rampage can pull it together here. He has 13 minis in the loadout here, and he is going to find, yeah, there it is. He's got to switch up the loadout here just a bit. Can he get his heals off, though? Can he get the medium bullets? No, he's actually only has 5 mediums in the legendary, or in the epic AR here.
Yeah, one thing I was going to notice, even if he does survive, what can he actually do? He kind of just has to stay in boxes, zone to zone, shockwave, and hope to get into someone's box or wreck another trio's game to get back in and online. Because right now, I'm counting him completely out of the running against all these big other trios. You see Namfu right above him and VND below him as well.
That was a worst case scenario, too. When you hear that team chug splash going off, when you're like, ooh, that was ours. They caught our boy. They're using our resource. They're all healthy now. You know they're healthy. So that's not a battle he can take. So the VND boys managed to topple the team right there, the Rampage crew, and now make a big rotation here, and they get away with it. They get away with a beautiful launch pad, leading them right into this Storm Wave 6, where we'll get our first moving zone. So we have a nice little stink grenade right there. It's going to put some pressure up, but this trio is so split now.
Now, one thing, the big note as well, is that these guys are on point with using the proper mats at the proper times. At the moment, they're boxed up before a moving zone. This is where you want no interruptions on your game plan. You don't want your base to get shaken. You don't want any disturbances possible. So you're using those hard mats to make sure you're not focused. Because no one's going to pop in 3 AR mags of a Scar to break open exactly where your box is, right? So this is very smart for them to just kind of have a little bit of premeditated planning, then using wood later on. They're almost topped up on every mat as well, which is very, very smart from these VND boys. As you said, you know, we talked about it earlier, I love having rainbow loadouts. And right now they have every color on the spectrum available. Shockwaves, miniguns, the Silent Scar, and a bunch of heals to get split over. A very cool thing Hater did right there is dropping that big pot over to his teammate. You never know what happens on rotation. One person might go down. It's good to have loot sparsely kind of allocated between everyone, so everyone has that clutch moment chance.
Double minigun is going to start cooking here as they have a player on the run. It's going to be Weil who gets taken out of his the streams right there. Unfortunately, in comes a shockwave, and Hadar finds himself in the zone right now. At the cost, of course, of a lot of HP, but there it is. That Elim is converted. Dreamwild falls down, and now Hadar's just got to eat some zone. He's trying to crank his way up this mountain. Such a weird spot to be in. There's a player right underneath him. I wonder if he's going to turn around and try and catch this free pick right here. No, he's just more worried about defense. And there it is. Little offensive play right there. Can he connect? No, he's going to get taken out. Gets dropped real quick. Now hopping over to Xanzis, Zephyr, and others. You can see just from a nice aerial view of the rotation these players have to make, the struggle that they have going up and over the mountain, and now through what might be the best terrain right here. It's kind of flat. This is where you want to be.
This is where you want to be if you're on the front side of that zone. But anyone at the back on the blue line, once people get based up and realize once Fahad is done drinking these shields, they're going to look straight back for all those elims to come pouring and funneling through. So yes, it's amazing to have flat land. if you are in that advantageous position.
FHD does pop the launch pad right there, and out they go floating. Kind of an early launch pad as well, just to go and battle for the high ground. So this is that zone wave 6 we talk about, going for the high ground nice and early here. He's cooking that minigun right now, trying to see what he can do. Little does you know, there is another team up high. There it is. This player has been spotted, melts him right out the sky. Wild Gamer here goes straight down, and the high ground is the power trios. Once again here, the minigun's just a perfect situation. They're just chopping players down. This is just too easy for him at this point.
Yeah, but split solo as well. He doesn't have to worry about his teammates getting in the way at all. It's free reign for Hod right now. Even if he does get knocked down due to low mats, it's the only thing I can see that can stop his reign right now, but his teammates can cover that as well. He's going to keep minigunning down. The shockwave is the perfect thing for him too. Getting people down to white tags, has the shotgun to switch over to as well. Yonks up top. Looks like he actually bit off more than he could chew. The Hod goes down. These guys still have so many elims right now. 6 with more to come. The zone is just flipping back. Looks like they have an advantage to hold back the whole zone from height as well on hard mats. Shockwaves are the only thing that can stop them from this position.
And the reason it really works out for them, minigun, high ground, in this situation specifically, is because it went right over low terrain. Everything dipped, so everyone's floating on weak builds, weak wood. When the minigun comes chopping, it's taking all that resource, all that material with it, and all these players were just thrown down to low ground. It's hard to defend at that point, because you have to block what's coming up from above. You have to protect your floor plank below you. You can see there, he's going to actually use a shockwave. That's actually really odd. He throws a player out to the zone. You see for a second there, the lining did show someone in the storm, so it was successful. And there it is. Someone goes down, but Yonk's still at it. He's looking for the shotgun shot right here. And they're just going to win. They're just going to hold players out. I guess the shockwaves kicking them to the zone was worth. It kind of all went in their favor, huh?
Yeah, it was a very unique ending right there. Very casual. They straight up started doing weird edits on height at the end. Absolutely no respect. We're going to be throwing it over to Sundown to break down more of what we saw in this heat and more. Sundown, what you got?
What I got is some more highlights from the early and mid, and then a great display of the power trio holding the high ground and kind of putting what I said a little bit to shame in the last analysis. They were able to stick together as a duo and run out the rest of the lobby, showing that teamwork and the prevalence and the ability to dominate. So very well played from them. Let's hop on in and see what went down in the match. So first, again, we're hopping on board with Toggle and his trio as they're able to get a knock and then put a great amount of pressure onto them. Stealing the wall on the other side, seeing the chug splashes go down, and just going to work. Boom, knock right there, gets the conversion, and they're able to then find the other opponent inside the shield bubble and reap all of the rewards from that. Now on board with the alter ego crew, who is able to find a pinch and then get the knock and seeing the teamwork. So now we'll see it from the other perspective, just the amount of pressure they're putting on, constantly pickaxing, trying to take the wall and trying to not allow the opponents to get away. This is the early aggression that's disciplined through, and you can see Dennis Smith being able to catch the opponent out there. Nasir going down, stuck between a rock and a hard place on the side of the wall, and again, just putting these rifles to work on the backside of the storm and catching people in unfavorable positions. Now you can see Mev picking up Lin there and able to avoid the trap. And this is a great rotation coming out from Moon, as he's able to land right on the side of the bubble shield, box himself up, and catch a quick edit. You barely even saw him take that shot out, but they're always able to track down and get the loot from that to put his team in a great position. But now on board with the power trio as they just run out the high ground. And I mean, just watch here. Like his ability to track Jiren there, constantly checking his angles, and they were, again, never threatened. We talk about high ground control and being able to work top down and converting it into eliminations. There was a reason these guys were on top in this heat, and it was their ability to execute and finish in the end games. That is back-to-back victory royales running out from the power trio. And again, there's a reason they ran Heat 1. But now we're going to continue with our Middle East coverage. I'm going to hop into the casting booth, and joining me will be the fantastic, as Zeke said, amazing, individual, award-winning Dr. Lupo.
I don't know about all that, but I appreciate it. Thank you, Sundown. We have one game left from Heat 1 in the Middle East, and man, it is coming down to the wire. A lot of really crazy plays, and you were taking a look at everything that we've seen thus far from that last match. The pace at which these players are playing, I think, we've said it before. A number of us have mentioned it. Now that the Middle East has a more localized server to connect to, just the level of play is really showing that even they can keep up. So going into potentially the next World Cup, if that's something that's in the future for them, it's going to be interesting to see yet another player base added to the pool of players that play for that. So.
I know, I enjoyed a lot seeing players coming out from India, Saudi Arabia, from Southeast Asia. They're all over the place, but the games are ready, so let's hop onto the battle bus and drop on in to continue our coverage of the Middle East. And again, apologies in terms of those who wanted to watch the European action. We're intending on watching that. Heat 1 did get moved to tomorrow during the same time as Heat 4, but I will also say I've really enjoyed getting an extended look. It's not a lot of times. I know during the World Cup coverage we did go back and watch some of the Asia and Oceania replays, but we don't often get to do a deep dive into some of these other regions. So I'm really enjoying it as someone who tends to go back and watch a lot of the server replays just on my own. Getting to explain this and kind of show off these gameplay, it's really enjoyable to me.
Believe me, I understand people want to see their favorites and things like that, and we will get to all those players, time permitting. You have to realize, though, this being Middle East's first opportunity to play in a competitive event like this, it is big for everybody involved.
And if you see in the top left right away, Klops and Fiesel full elimed off the bat. And that was the thing I talked about. They did end up making it through to the grand final tomorrow, but they struggled a little bit, to be honest. Everyone, again, I was the only one who picked against them, but I will say it's still not tomorrow yet. They're there, which is all that ends up mattering, but they didn't seem anywhere near as dominant as they were before, and you can tell right off the bat, them getting contested game in and game out, that's the second time we've seen them be the first trio eliminated from a match.
One at a time here at Kid Falcon, Spammy and Mad Clown picking up a set of eliminations on this trio. One after another, they fall, and we're at 3 points already. 16 total for this team.
And that's really just tends to be a case of when you lose the quick gun races at the start. Sometimes it's just unfortunate it doesn't go your way. Like you think, oh yeah, like I got attacked, that's great. But if 3 other people have rifles and you're out in the open, like no way you've gotten more than, what, 30, 60 mats tops? Like they'll burn through that real quick. So it's just situationally getting the right gear at the start and then finding ways to either avoid or take the fight. But the GE boys cleaning that one up there.
Good pickup here, too. They own the remainder of Shifty Shafts. Meanwhile, up on top of the floating island, Aga, Igami is hanging out, farming through everything that they can up here. Not easy to jump off just yet, although it is a slightly... It's a tough spot, I'm just going to say, because they're up above the block, so you have a chance to take shots down and contest one of the most competitive drop spots typically, because the way that the block is designed, it's player-based, so from time to time, when it changes, it's almost a toss-up whether or not it's going to be good or bad. And right now, a number of teams across, I think, every region are planning on dropping block. I've seen things on Twitter, even going so far as DMs to say, hey, you dropping block, and admitting very clearly that it's going to be a contested drop for some of the more competitive players. So up here on top of the floating island, they have a chance to look down from above and take some shots. I don't think it's going to happen, though, because you don't want to give away your position. Even early game, if you ask to get shot at, by doing so, it's going to cause a problem. They do have a mech here, low light, bouncing around. Yaga might jump in with and continue this rotation. The third player still up on top of the block. Yagami's still up there. They have the tornado into the block. They have an opportunity to rotate off of that. You know, basically a free launch pad. Nope, pressure time it is. Engaging and pushing forward. Rockets out from the mech. The Brute, 2 trios inside here at the block. It would not surprise me if all 6 of these players, given the chance, just turn and beam this thing into the ground. Yeah,
I mean, generally what you see in the trios format in particular, and even in solos, if there's a mech in play, everyone's like, no, you don't get that advantage.
It needs to go right now.
But right out away, you can see that's 2 different 50 shield tags going through, and they're getting aggro, even getting close enough to try and get some stomps, and the shotgun damages. Ours gets picked up by that, and that is just a brutal way to go down. And unfortunately, these teams are being engaged by it, and it seems to be, this is one of the times. So mechs in trios, like I know there's a lot of people who are against it. There weren't a ton of times where they were like very overwhelming. This is one of them. This is when you can get them in high ground in the late game and have them be protected. And I'm talking about at the highest level. I'm not saying that, like, yes, people can't run around and it gives you a massive advantage, because we've all been subject to this and it's not fun. With that being said, at the absolute highest level, normally you see the players able to find ways around it. But if you're already engaged in a fight and a Brute ends up walking out, good luck. Like, you're not, what are you going to do? Stop fighting the people who are immediately against you? No, because they're not going to stop fighting. It's basically just, you're stuck with no good choices in that circumstance. Or some of the end game clips, I know Elocrats and Thomas did it in the late game, but they got 2 brutes up on the high ground where everyone else was just boxed up and had to worry about transition, and then they pulled zone. And it's just like, you don't play against that. Good luck.
4 eliminations. Low light, Gaga, Yagami now technically have both the island and the block. They pushed the remaining player. I believe just one made it away on rotation out to the southwest there. So they essentially picked up 2 solid POIs with 1 mech, just because, especially this block, you had all 6 players were based inside that structure in the middle. So a lot of the line of sight to take shots at this mech, it was already blocked, which gave them the chance to just push in, start stomping, dropping shotgun shots and the rockets out as often as they can. A big swing. These guys are already in a great spot.
Yep, and now you get the rotational tool as well. They didn't even lose a ton of damage on the mechs, and it's kind of one of those things where you talk about the inherent weaknesses of it. While there are some, we're effectively covered in this engagement. There was absolutely no way the Brute was not walking away from that successful, simply because the few opportunities that would have been there, the only way they could have possibly maybe have gotten out of it is if one of those people had decided or landed on a boogie bomb.
Exactly.
So it's like that is your only chance in that circumstance. Otherwise, you're just out, and effectively, you're out, you're gone, 4 over. And the block, the reason why it's so contested, there is always a very dense amount of ammunition, loot, and materials. You will always be able to get maxed out 1,500 per player, and you'll be leaving there with enough ammunition to where you aren't going to be scared to harass people in the mid-game, which in competitive trios is huge, which is why you see a number of people there. Now, getting the fortune of the fact that Kevin was directly above the block, and then a Brute lands right next to him, I mean, that is just praying to RNGesus and taking every advantage of it.
The stars certainly aligned, but they took, like you said, they took big advantage of the situation. Ended up coming out there with 4 eliminations and basically everything else that they could need up to that point. I think there was a heavy snipe, which we see here sit up the top of Viking Village, taking a shot there. Can't quite connect. 2 players, I believe Rampage is also with him up top there. The 3rd, not even seeing on the minimap. Just there we go, right on the screen right there, far north. Rotating across, still taking shots. These guys aren't going to challenge. You have a chance to maybe land a big hit from up here.
That's not a Dr. Lupo snipe. You hit those.
Imagine a knock from this distance. They might not be able to capitalize on it, but you're going to slow that team down. Somebody's got to go back, try and pick up the revive. Meanwhile, this trio will rotate in and get ahead, well, just like this, try and get inside the safe zone, and they can stormhold at this point.
Yeah, you have to be so absurdly careful when doing that off the edge of the mountains. You want to avoid trees there at absolutely all costs, because if you clip a tree and
suddenly
lose your fall immunity, I mean, that is some of the worst. So I'm going to go like all the way back, right? PAX West, the very first time we actually did an event, we were going through, we were doing the tech testing, and we had like all the observers. I was like, hey, I'm going to do really well in this test. We'll make sure like everyone is watching me, all that. So we get it all lined up so everything is going. I'm flying into Tilted right away. I see a number of people there, really excited. I clipped a tree right when I was going, lost my immunity, fell down. Very first person eliminated from the match. We had to actually scramble all of the tech and the tests we were doing to then look at somebody else. I had to explain to everyone why I was the first one that was out. So that was fun, but avoiding that, I know Ninja was a big fan of that tree as well a number of times. So
I feel as though a number of players have shared that similar experience, Tim the Tatman especially. Meanwhile, pushing forward here, you have 2 players from a trio to the north already at that gas station. 1 is separated, which means if these 3 do run into them, I would not be surprised if aggression happens, especially a lead-off shot with that heavy snipe. A knock here on either one of those players. Abdullah all the way in the back. Nadia and Nasir still there, separated.
And one thing about Siddig, M-Siddig, and Rampage, they were in the highlight video from Week 5. They qualified through the automatic qualification, and they actually dropped me a DM saying, hey, watch out for us. We feel like we've been playing very good. Like, give us a shout-out, because I promise we'll be there. Sitting on 61 points right now in the 6th game. They were in that top rank. Like, looks like we're going to be seeing them in the grand finals, and now hitting that snipe and being the aggressors here in the mid-game. But notice how there is a team coming up behind them, and they're only covering one direction right now.
They're looking right now. You see the arrows in your mini-map down there. They're kind of jumping and rotating and checking to the left. They want to see if at some point there's a chance to find a shot. They'll eliminate the knockdown there. Pushing forward. It looks like a little bit of a weapon swap issue. Despop with that sniper rifle. Meanwhile, they are building up the explodes to try and drop any of the material that they can, get inside the box, take the ramp, go for the swap, find the shotty shot, and can't quite connect, sitting down to 92 HP, a little bit of a panic. The splashes right now might be the key, especially if you have a teammate nearby. Pick that up, get the siphon off of it, 90 eliminated. It is now an outnumbered situation here. Secure the walls and make sure you own every piece of the structure. Yeah, right here. Stack up, splash it. Gonna happen? Maybe, maybe not. Waiting for it.
Okay, no, no, use the full instead first.
There we go.
Make sure you get every little bit of it. They want to maximize their efficiency. They did have the other player knocked and they haven't quite converted on it, so they should know that player is looking for the revive. They're trying to find him right now and building up for the height advantage, but they're kind of opt to knock it down. I think you should probably just try and chase and find it.
The shockwave a second ago, I believe, was from the opponent trying to take that ultimate high ground. Emsidig still going for the knockdown on the structure here. We'll see. Yep, Abdullah all the way up top right now. Trying to rotate away, it looks like.
I think the conversion just went over for that Elim as well. He got knocked and did take full damage and then will get the convert over right after the other one. So that's another 3 Elims going up to them, pushing them to 64 points, but 24 trios still remaining.
The wall right at their back. You've got players flying across in front, the launch pad. This is kind of an interesting rotation. You have that trio basically separated from each other at this point. A player landing all the way on the north side next to that hill. You see him ducking around the outside now, making their way to the east to try and get inside the safe zone. And they do so. All inside now.
Oh, yeah, they're on driftboards. Okay, I was trying to figure out, like, how they came flying through right there, but able to get a couple shots. I mean, that can be very scary, rounding in front of a trio who is ready to take shots at you on a driftboard, but as long as you're able to clear enough space, people will generally trade shield tags for having a driftboard on the rotation, because more often than not in trios, somebody is carrying excess shields, just with kind of how the loophole is right now, which is I'm a huge fan of, and the fact that trios really enables you to effectively always have at least 2 slots.
I think the competitive player base as a whole is very appreciative of the number of shield restoring mechanics in the game right now. 123 builds in the inventory, 24 trios still remain. We have a minute 15 until we make our way to the 4th circle. It's like a far northeast push from where we currently are, the safe zone in the bottom right corner of your screen there. Making moves, the marks basically communicating what may or may not be the best call. They're going to build up for just a second.
They've had pretty decently far storm rotations from them too, right? Like the zone hasn't been doing them a ton of favors, but meanwhile though, you remember that, I wonder how that mech team ended up doing, because everything ended up pulling towards north, so they should have just been set to be running wild, but haven't seen a ton from them.
Their best bet, their best bet at this point may be to take, if they still have the mech, find a hill, build up around it, and protect it for late game. And that might be exactly what we're looking at right there. Yeah, in fact, minimap that's the same color as the team earlier that was on the island and dropped down into the block. So they are still up there. I'm assuming still with, actually, there's no mech on the minimap, so it may be gone now. Moving forward here. 18 seconds until this circle starts to push. Team up on the hill, they're going to have to move soon. I'm assuming a launch pad, there's something up there. Otherwise, they're waiting maybe a little too long to make movements at this point.
Well, you can, as long as you're not on like the far side of that zone, you can outrun it, but that's just always terrifying. Like even this to me is a scary rotation because you look at the number of old builds that are there. Luckily on the bottom of the map, you know, since you're marking the edge of the zone, there's only really like, well, they don't know this, but we know that there's only one team who's realistic in between there. But passing all of these old builds is terrifying. You can see the driftboard team on the purple coming in, as well as that other team who is on the high ground seems to be making a launch pad rotation since they are so high up and flying at a consistent speed. But as that circle is encroaching, expect Siddig, Emsidig, and Rampage to run into a little bit. Oh, here they are, boxed up in the mech.
They do still have the mech.
Yep.
They do still have the mech inside the zone now. No reason to leave that just yet. Basically going to wait for an opportunity to drop some rockets. That's exactly what they're doing. The shield bubble enough to save that team over there, but it doesn't last forever. We'll have to see if they opt to take more shots in a second. Meanwhile, very aggressive push in the top left here, making their way inside, owning the box, and Monksy goes down. Elimination there, putting them at 4 total, 65 points right now. You have to remember, top 15 placement. So when placement points start to come into place, we still have a handful, 8 more teams, 8 more trios need to go down before that even becomes a thing.
Yeah, I mean, it's just so much so to get there. You can see Monksy was the solo pushing us into top 23 duos, so only 5 trios have actually dropped over the course, and it's 9th through 12th. We'll be getting that first round of placement points. 5th through 8th getting the next. 3rd and 4th will receive one, and then 2nd gets a bump. So honestly, to me, 2nd place, it feels like a little bit better in the trios format when you get there, but at the same time, it makes that final fight just that much more important. Always being a 4-point swing, like, yeah, you get the bonus because you were in 2nd place, but you know it could have always been that much more. And right now, these guys have priority on the near side of the zone, but there's a number of teams who pulled slightly better and some great dinks right there. You can see the headshot go through, but not a full shield break, only getting the 62 and then an immediate cover from the teammate.
If you look at the next safe zone, too, a large portion of it is centered over the water, which, if you get caught out there, low builds or no builds, it's going to be like shooting fish in a barrel. The fact that you have to jump and hop slowly across the water, you don't run nearly as fast. You're basically exposed. It's going to be a tough spot if there's anybody over there. I would expect that northeast side and the west side are going to be completely chock full of teams. Players are going to try and avoid minus whoever that is in the bottom right, the southeast side of the next safe zone. They're just going to own that right now. There's no need to move too far. They're even on the slowest edge of the circle. They can just kind of wait and see who may make their way down the hills in towards this river.
So in particular, because this is zone 4, which means zone 5, the next one is going to be the half in, half out.
Yep.
So you don't want to be central on the next zone. When this one closes, you're banking on it being on the outside edge. If you're central, it's guaranteeing a short rotation, but that you have to move. If you're on the outside edge,
there's a chance.
Yeah, there's a chance that you pull zone and that you have a big opportunity to catch people in that rotation. Because going from far side there into the half and half is brutal if you don't have the correct amount of mobility, or it can even then just be bad because of sight lines. Like, we've seen people get beamed making regular launch pad rotations.
Now, to no one's surprise, the inventory of the power trio, specifically, we had Fahad up there for a second. I would assume everybody's inventory on this team is absolutely stacked. You've got pump shotguns basically all around. I saw I believe two launch pads in Fahad's inventory. An RPG yet again. This trio seems to pick up some of the best loot every single game, which will help them consistently climb to the top. Now, loot's not a guarantee. Don't take it the wrong way, but it absolutely does help when you're looking at players like this, NM7 as well, all 3 of them. No eliminations yet, but 71 points literally proves the last 5 games for this trio has been through the roof. They have been just destroying.
And they just pulled zone. Look at that bottom right-hand corner. You can see the 2 orange triangles and then that 1 white. They pull zone. They have the stinks. They have rockets. They have a minigun. They have every single part of an arsenal you can want. But right now, they are being challenged. You can see trying to get the wall back right away because they know they're on edge of zone. Good rocket away. And Mansour catches that one with his teeth. There was another damage tick over as well, but Power able to catch himself before. And now you get more loot to work with. Those are excess builds. So what can you do? You're already in zone. Build up with that extra material, do the Tfue special, build up a massive tower, go back down, and then mark yourself back up. That's the 2nd elim. You talked about it right there. We still have 7 more trios to drop before placement points end up coming through, but these elims are going to go all the way through.
4 more trios now. We're at 19. Look at it. It's
top 12.
Sorry, it's top 12.
Yeah,
not
9
15.
to 12. Yep.
Apologies.
No, it's all good. It's it took me forever to get used to the new trios one because there was an extra scoring threshold going through. So when I was counting through and calculating, it always took me forever. But Toggle is somebody who's been impressing me a lot. He's been in a number of our packages just as an individual player, making some great plays. So shout outs to him for again making it into the end game and has a pretty solid loadout. So expecting him to potentially make some more plays here as we hop on board.
It's funny you mentioned the Tfue special earlier. Literally sitting on honestly one of the most commonly seen weapons, I think, in Turner's inventory. That scope they are, either that or an infantry, always sitting up top and taking shots. If Toggle can take high ground, put that thing to use. Right now, stuck down here, he and Eska basically in a box side by side to see if they can make their way up down to only a duo. Sigil eliminated earlier in this match. 69 builds. 2 shockwaves, which can come into play here in a second. We're going to see the next circle all the way south. We're looking at a push out basically into the water. Now, there were builds out there earlier from a team that was sitting in the water. So you know their structure. If they were paying attention, they know their structure as well. So you can imagine maybe a push at just the right time since they're they're near the front of this zone. they have a chance to get onto those builds ahead of other players, build up, and put that scope they are to use. That's what I want to see right here from Toggle, and we'll see if he can pull it off.
I think that's what he's going for, or he's looking for a quick cone peek right off the bat, knowing that the rest of the lobby has to rotate off of him. He might think it's safer to try and catch a quick pump as somebody goes through, but as I say that, he abandons the cone peek, goes over with his teammate, and you're probably going to see some shots coming out here, and then a shockwave to try and take the high ground on those old builds, as you said.
A little long-range tack SMG. Here we go. He's looking for it. They're literally already plotting the drop. The shockwave shoots across, maybe a little too far to the left, potentially separated from his teammate. We'll see here in a second.
Go up.
Down to the bottom right. Yep. Now's the time to build up. He has a chance to take the front of this zone. It looks like that's exactly what he's doing. He might be trying to drop down and match elevation with his duo here. That bubble shield from underneath. It's only 60 damage above the threshold. Finds elimination on Suber. Making the way on through there.
But that wasn't his knock. They didn't get an elim, so that was just a conversion. However, he will pop up on some of the mats, but not the ones he really needed. Now sitting on max metal as we're closing in on top 15, nearing that first placement threshold there. You see Yonks going down there. Some great shots coming out from Toggle, but can he full convert? Instead, goes to the far side. 20 HP. No, he caught himself.
Very close. 20 HP remaining. Sitting in the front. This is basically the same situation, except he's on the ultimate low ground, looking for shots to take on players that are going to try and make their way in. He's kind of in the middle of the zone now, and there's going to be pressure from the back if there's still someone behind him. Looks like it might be clear now, so they're waiting. They might be going for that last shockwave to push their way in. Yep, Toggle indeed did. You see him at the bottom of the screen now. Landed basically right next to Rampage, Siddig, and Siddig. That trio all still alive. Meanwhile, the top, I am not even remotely surprised. Yonks is eliminated, but Fahad and NM7 sitting on the ultimate high ground. The minigun coming out. And if Fahad still has rockets remaining, this weapon combo might be the way to a victory.
They have so many shields still, so many campfires.
6 RPG shots.
There's no way. They're splitting mats still, too, to make sure they have the ability to tarp out. This is some great teamwork, and this is what we talked about before. Kind of this is where the game starts to break down a little bit in terms of the Middle East. You don't have the rest of the trios. You can't just stack up. You're forced to rotate. But this duo up on the high ground, this is all the amount of control that you need. Look at the shots going down, converting into elims. When we hopped on board with them earlier, they had 0. Now they're pushing up into 6 and 7 as they just have free high ground. Nobody is even looking at them.
In the middle of that, NM7 did pick up 2 eliminations. It's 4 right there. 2 and 1, a total of 7 for this trio thus far, putting him at 87 points in the final game of the Middle East. He won. And
we're into top 4, so that's the third to last placement threshold. It's all about top 2 in the VR from here, and there's no way the power trio is going to give it up as Siddig ends up getting a drop there as well.
Just love the name Power Trio. Shots still raining down. 5 RPGs remaining in NM7's inventory. The trap, 2 full shields, a slurp, the pump, and a gold AR. 3 trios remaining, down to 2. The last set of placement points before the Victory Royale. An RPG to lead, trying to find a shotgun shot through the hole, and the last second flick on Toggle guarantees that Victory Royale.
That's 9 elims and the VR. 24 points coming through there. That's back to back to back that we've seen. I think they won 4 games in total there through the whole stretch. So, whew, wow, Power Trio.
Sometimes you're just better. Speaking of better, we have the man with some of the best looks in the house, Zeke, standing by in the studio. What do you got, Zeke?
I'm so caught off guard. I thought that was going to go a completely different way. I don't know what to say, so we're going to go over to Shy now. Take it away.
We got a package right here breaking down a lot of what just happened in that game, both on top, on high ground, as well as low ground in a few of the shambles positions. A very cool theme, actually. We're going to break it down, see exactly how things are going. Let's check it out. Right now, we're going to take the lesson that everyone kind of knows, but break it down a little bit more as well. When you're by the zone, by yourself, split off from the rest of the map, there's still a chance to actually pick up points and do well. Right now, we see an insane amount of survivability, a insane amount of points actually coming out, even if they're not placement. A nice kind of full send, actually, to go for points, not worry about placement, stay in the storm. The big lesson for playing inside the storm is sticking with your teammates as much as possible. W Horse does that very, very well. He then does split off, does go down. Unfortunately, that does happen, but he still got a lot of points he wouldn't have got beforehand. Now, another perspective as well, on zone line, not actually in it, staying ahead of it with power weapons. You can't look back. That means the minigun's going to be used for quick, fast elims early, and then still full sending, no building. Don't worry about the loot. Just keep trying to shoot as much as possible. We'll see a Reese's trio, the last surviving member of it, staying on low ground next to zone line once again. Shambles position. Can finish out other trios, but chooses for that risky play of gaining positioning first and then going for uninsightful and kind of, random position knocks on people ahead of them. They kind of expect him to go back for loot, but he stays ahead of the circle, uses nice ingenuitous type of peeks from the water down low, and then still tries to commit, does not even care for the loot, still keeps going for those elims, knowing the win condition of this entire game is getting those points. We're gonna now flip over to the power trio, the powerhouse of the entire Middle Eastern region so far, Power NM7. He's gonna be leading the pack with the RPG, gets that quick elim off the top. Amazing game from them, amazing side games as well from people at the back. It was amazing to see.
Man, this trio is very quickly making their way into my heart for being a favorite. We'll take a look. Now remember, these are the results from this morning coming out of heat number 1. So FHD, and I think I was corrected, it's Fahad, I believe. We will double check, but Fahad/FHD, Yonks, and NM7 are leading the pack by a pretty significant margin. Don't forget, everyone here has qualified going on through, but I mean, we look, where is the trio that, let's see, okay. I like this trio. Do we figured out what this is? Is it Siddig?
I'm pretty sure it's Siddig, yeah.
I like it, okay. This is my second trio. Now don't forget, Klops, Fiesel, they're still somewhere to be found. We'll catch up with them in their heats. But what do you think so far, man? I mean, I'm very impressed coming out of the Middle East. I mean, this is relatively a new region in the competitive format, and it's really cool to just kind of see how they play, like what their style of Fortnite is heading into these kind of qualifiers.
Well, the biggest thing I've seen is the utilization of different types of metagames and tactics. You have the Power Boys who play and use everything for the actual end game, which is really nice, right? You see shockwaves coming down all the way at the end. You see a lot of their utility used at the end. But then you have Rampage doing exactly what his name says. Rampaging forward mid-game, shockwaves, stinks, explosions, everything in his inventory. He's sometimes down to just a tactical shotgun. I don't know if he's dropping his ARs, but it's all used mid-game. That's where they get the majority of their points. So it's really cool to see different things go on the leaderboards in different placements, top to bottom.
That's right. I mean, don't forget, guys, there is 7 regions playing here in Grand Finals. I know we all want to watch MMB, of course we do, but don't forget there's other regions that also have been working incredibly hard to make it here and want to be crowned season champions. But Fortnite fam, with that, we're going to hop back into games. This is heat number 2, game number 4, and we're back with Dr. Lupo and Sundown.
Thank you so much, gentlemen. As you can see there is the leaderboard real quick, but we're going to hop right on into the next matches. Now, Klops, Fiesel, and them were in that heat. They did qualify going through. They were just on that other page inside the top 16, so don't forget, in some of the smaller regions, Asia, Oceania, and Middle East, it is the top 16 to advance because there's only the 2 heats, whereas in the larger regions, there are 4 heats. So they will be playing in the grand final, and since there is no money on the line today there, that's what it's all about. So the performance is, you're there, you're playing in it.
For anybody that did not follow the heat and layout format of the entire event, go to Google and ask. They will help you, I promise. Meanwhile, we are in Game 4 of Heat 2. The Middle East region still, you see in the top right corner of your screen, just a quick little reminder there, the very beginning of this game. We mentioned Tilted Town earlier. This is one of my favorite personal drop locations right now.
Really?
Oh, absolutely, because even with the lack of building, you'd think there's nothing you can farm here, you can't break anything. You can still make it out here with quite an arsenal, a ton of materials, and heals for days, because the limited loot pool really does focus a lot of the energy into just a handful of different things you see here. Pick it up, grenades. You've got shockwave, you'll I mean, basically you're going to land on a pump every single time. And AR is almost guaranteed as well. There's a handful of other, little pieces to mix it up. A sniper maybe in the hands of one of your players, that kind of thing. So for me personally, I love seeing a Tilted Town drop because these players are going to come out with a guaranteed loot pool that a lot of competitive players are going to favor no matter what. Plus, infantry rifles are huge late game. You're going to see a lot of people getting picks from the top of towers while others are on rotation. I have to say, it's one of my favorites.
So I don't disagree. I'm a fan of kind of landing near it and then trying to poach through it and seeing like whether or not it's been looted or to catch somebody.
You're that guy on the hill that shoots at me.
Well, if I'm rotating around and through occasionally, but like in terms of dropping there, the one thing that sticks out to me, I'm a big fan and I play a ton of solos. Like solos is definitely my main game plan. Like I hate when I get in a situation where I felt like there wasn't anything I could do. And like if I'm rotating through, like there are certain angles in Tilted Town where there is a solid like 2 to 3 seconds where if somebody has a bead on you, you will get 200 to 0, period.
Yep.
And for that to happen to me, like any time that is more than 0 in an arena match or in like a competitive match or in anything is unexcusable for me. Like I love avoiding those situations and not putting myself in a spot. But with that being said, we can see tons of people opting to go here and taking fights right now. Ranger getting the drop, picks up Classy, and then immediately into double pump swap. Those were great shots, and only one of his teammates has been full elim, so he might be able to get over there and save Nightmare as well, but he's trying to track the other player. Does take just the edge of it, and disco.
Let's see the attempted push there. See if they can pick up the last second hit. 120 from above. Might not be able to connect, and it can't. Ranger picking up the trio of eliminations. Able to get the revive on Nightmare, and hopefully pick up on Obito here in a second and go grab the card and get that revive and tilt it down. Nicely done.
Yeah, and now that they're fully uncontested, they knew there was another team there, Tilted Town becomes much more appealing, right? Now you know the only way you're going to get picked is somebody coming through the outsides, and a lot of people will not actually venture in. People will look down and see, is anyone there? If yes, shoot. If no, let's go anywhere else.
Immediately after that last elimination, the Discord call that they're in right now, they all just went nuts. Absolutely went nuts. And I don't blame them. A three-piece right there as Rangers defending his trio is huge. They do, like you said, they pick up Tilted Town uncontested now. Now, they may not realize it from, we can see the minimap that there's nobody else there, and there's no one else looking for a third-party opportunity from up on a hill, like you were saying you like to do, which makes me no longer your friend, Sundown. It's okay. Just kidding. But this is a really good spot for them now. They can move back into town, pick up as much of the loot that is here as possible. You see they're splitting minis and any other shields. It's going to be material share, that kind of thing. It's a great spot for them to be in right now.
Now we're going to hop over to one of my favorite drop spots, both as a split drop in trios and a drop in solos, is the Hot Springs with the fishy.
So being of the fishy, there it is.
Yeah, able to pre-edit going through, but there's 2 different chest spawns in the fish. There's 2 chest spawns over on the beach. There's 2 chest spawns up top. There's driftboard spawns up top and over the other sanctuary. And plus that driftwood that's over by the hot springs is 27 a tick. But as I say that, Deadshot gets dead-shotted right away.
This is the problem with this drop. You're saying it is literally a required split drop, so you have people, your trio is... Not everybody's near each other, and right there, Deadshot being too far to the east ends up paying the price. Not a good look early game in Game 4 for this trio.
Yeah, but normally you're supposed to sprint over here or have a teammate drop over at this science spot immediately, because this is a great source of both metal and brick with 2 different chest spawns. And not having control of this, you typically will sprint over here with the driftboard, but they ran straight into a fight. Godlike takes a ton of damage right off the bat. No shields left to him. Tyrax has to box himself up, and they're in a tough situation when he has really good loot.
He does. He does indeed. Decent spray, no pump, but the tack is still good enough to make a difference. Meanwhile, Godlike Launchpad does have that campfire, but gonna use the single grenade, knock out the structure. Looking for a quick edit through, switching a spray, can't quite find a bead on anybody just yet. Tyrax still rotating around inside as well. Basically trying to play keep away at this point. They're stuck in a 3v2 situation. Godlike getting punished from above. Gonna have to try and hold that wall. A ton of metal, which is fantastic. It does put the campfire down. But you're looking at a situation where we might have, oh my gosh, got the edit, the trap placement.
The second one down, oh my lord!
Did. Are you kidding me? On the spot.
Godlike, that was Godlike.
Such good heads-up play. Ends up getting 2 pickups there, 2 eliminations. This just went from a 3v2 to a 2v1 in their favor.
The good old dodgeball swing there. Might as well have caught the pass. Now they're trying to find it. Tyrex took some damage there. They know the opponent's nearby. Another great follow-up. Some shield tags from Godlike. Finds the 103, and it clears up Hope. They do have driftboards nearby. There is a med kit down there, so we should hopefully be able to keep Tyrex in there. But it burned through a lot of their other resources. On the other hand, you now have the loot from that trio, and we already said they were decently kitted. 3 points going over to them. And having the driftboards mean they should be safe now.
Godlike with a double trap placement play to literally swing that from being outnumbered to 3 eliminations, a launch pad, and the opportunity to escape. That is a big shift. That being said, no matter what, because the distance that Deadshot was from the other two, they're stuck at a duo now. No chance to grab the reboot card. They're going to have to make their way into the safe zone at this point, especially because they are so far out. You see kind of the curve. They're going to have to make it past Loot Lake all the way down here to get into the safe zone.
And that's super dangerous because you're going to have a number of different teams who are funneling in towards that north side and then looking to continue to rotate out or to about face. And driftboards are loud. That's the one thing about them. While they are very mobile and they're fast, you can hear a driftboard from a mile away. And if somebody does get a bead on you, these players are very good. They won't miss. You will take damage. You'll either have to hop off and then be stuck and being storm held, or just continue to find a way to break line of sight and hope they don't send you into one of those ridiculous spins that you can't recover from.
Tilted down. I know the spins you're talking about. Tilted down, still inside this next safe zone. Look at the move from circle 2 to 3 here in a minute 40. Quick little tag and some stinks inside. Sure, the loot share is going on. 142 builds. No eliminations for this trio of Pancake, Sir Panda, and Clipper. You do see all the way to the top of your screen right now a small tower built up on top of that hill above Shifty Shafts. That's basically center-ish of this next safe zone. So that team, whoever's up there, is in a good spot already. You mentioned the drift boards. You see the outline of players flying in. Adapter and Obede both on them right now. Looks like Kakarot might be the only player in that trio that does not have a drift, and he may run into Clipper and Pancake here in just a second. I would expect shots if they think it's a good timing.
Oh.
Right here in a second. Wait for it. Wait, there it is. The countdown, and they start beaming. Looks like all the way to white damage at this point. The knock. Kakarot away from his trio. Is caught on the outside, quickly eliminated as Obede and the other teammate sitting on top of that campfire at this point.
Really weird that he didn't cover his back. Like, I figured at least would have tried to ramp push himself forward a little bit, or just toss a wall in that direction. But it seemed like he couldn't really tell where it was coming from.
You'd expect even the reaction speed from a competitive player in Fortnite right now. Like, you get a shot and you're not 100% sure where it's coming from, you're going to spin and burn the 40 materials literally just to put up the walls in every direction. No reason not to.
Worst case scenario, point your head straight down and toss a cone on your head.
Yep.
But now honestly, I hate these fights. These fights irk me more than anything because there's so many spots in Shifty where
there's a lot of little angles
is occupied. But now a great little hop through for Clipper, but then he gets clipped himself. Pancake trying to do everything, does pick up Adapter, and that's another trio going down. So now 3 elims for them, but 2 revives that need to happen, and there's a number of teams there. But Pancake will be playing medic and get this one taken care of.
Well done on his part. 3 eliminations now, 24 points total. We're at 27 trios. Storm Surge is coming into play now. 77 players, which means 7 more need to go down before that stops being an issue. But for this trio down here in the bottom of Shifty Shafts, they are free and clear. Over, I think, 190-ish damage above the threshold. Trio from Sam, I believe you picked this trio as your favorite. Middle East right now, Hunter, Flame, and Prime here at the skeleton of the monster.
Yeah, so they were the only trio to take a week away from Fiesel and Klops. But again, like we said, they had played with 2 different trio partners there, which kind of led me to edge more towards these guys. Flame was the player who ended up qualifying for the World Cup. Unfortunately, wasn't able to attend due to personal reasons. With that being said, seeing him kind of grow on the Middle East region, kind of bring this trio up, he's definitely the anchor here. He's able to pop off in so many circumstances. But the fact that they are very consistent in their discipline, and I think they perform slightly better in kind of these tight heat scenarios. And I'm just excited the fact you see them sitting on 42 points. They are towards the higher end for what we've seen in these matches. So assuming we'll see them in the grand finals tomorrow.
Good chance they make their way on through. We are still in game 4. So even after this one completes, 2 more games remain for this Middle East Heat 2 group. We shall see. At this point, Yeah, here we go. Little box hold. Going to pop that edit and sit and just look around, see if there's anybody on rotation. Comms between this trio while they're sitting here on the northeast side of the next circle. You have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, maybe 7-ish trios in roughly the same area here. I would say especially the two trios to the north right now, looking down from above, they are definitely in contention to take shots as rotations start to occur. But here we go. Hunter and Flame. Hunter dropping a couple of those grenades out. The shield bubble goes down to stop any further aggression for even just a moment. Very good call there. You don't want to lose too much structure, especially to those GL shots. You get a little bit of splash damage going. A couple shield breaks. You're going to see aggression in this trio here in a second if it happened.
So honestly, I'll trade. He had 7 grenades before, so he threw 1 more back in the chamber there. Now he has 3 max. Not sure if there's other explodes across the team, but they pulled zone again. And you burned a bubble shield for not a ton, right? The grenade launcher would be great in a circumstance to force another team out, but that's effectively what they're trying to do there. And instead of trading it for mats and maybe a couple tags, you get other team's bubble shield out. So not too bad, but the push coming in on the other side. As that zapper does get armed, but grenades get thrown out the other way to try and equalize the fight. Press is coming through. Hunter, however, on the backside, edits back out. Akator gets picked down. Oh my God! Rakan gets mowed down right there. A super aggressive edit coming out from Hunter. Prime, unfortunately, does go down. However, we've seen before with this team that Flame and Hunter are the backbones. Every single time in the week they won, it was Flame and Hunter putting up absolute numbers. Not to down talk Prime or anything, but they are not unfamiliar with the situation. And the fact that they pulled zone again and they're able to rotate through, I'm still confident.
Right now playing like legends, holding it down here still. 2 eliminations. Prime is out of it at this point. Going to go for that quick edit, reset the trap on the wall. Looking to see if he can find it. Can indeed. Lezix is eliminated. Seal off the top of this box that they're sitting in and rotate around. They are, looks like, safe now in here. Chance to pick up the car to potentially make a push. If there is even still, I don't think there is a reboot van in the safe zone. Maybe Shifty, depending on once we see the full map, we'll have to take a look. Shifty might be the only one, but at this point, that's too far of a rotation. There's no need to worry about that. Nightmare, Ranger, Obito down at the bottom here in the river. Kind of a precarious spot to be in. They basically reclaimed little hut that's down here along the river, but you're so exposed down at the bottom of this canyon. Anybody that's up top that wants to take shots, if you're forced to rotate, is going to have the advantage against you. 24 trails remaining, 67 players. We have 45 seconds until we move towards Circle 4.
Yeah, and the next Storm Surge threshold after the 70 will end up being the 50. So when that one pops up, don't be surprised to see it. With that being said, after the fight with the Sam Trio, they basically had an extra 1K mats laying around. So the next zone pull, if they pull zone again, they're in such a great position. But otherwise, they still have the opportunity to kind of branch out tunnel and have a slightly safer rotation. What we're really waiting on is there's not going to be a whole lot of action for the next 20 seconds or so until that zone settles and it moves. Everyone has basically staked out their territory. We've seen a few pokes back and forth, but right now, since no Storm Surge is active, some grenades coming out right now. Oh, and this is something I want to talk about right after they go through, because we've seen the rise of the Solari nade, which is a little bit like this, but here's Godlike and Tyrax, who we saw with that early 2v3 turnaround from Godlike, trying to go on the aggressive here, and they've separated this full trio, knowing they got that. Nightmare, unfortunately, gets his ramp block, but that's not his metal wall, and that's going to complete. That's a launch pad burn for nothing, and now he's been completely segmented off. They are in zone, edit down, great 100 tech, picks up Tyrax, but then Godlike picks it up, does cover his back, will try and get the conversion through the siphon. Can Godlike clutch it up again? He wants to get back over his teammate. Nightmare does get the conversion, and he's safe, but now what can you do as the other trio starts pouring in shots? Shield tags coming out from Ranger. Obito over there as well. But as the zone settles, if he can branch out even a little bit, he should be able to disengage. Some nades come flying in, but now it seems like they've mostly given up the fire as he's disengaged down into the water. As I say that,
this might be some of the most aggression we've seen between two trails that, honestly, with the position that they were in previously, it even surprises me that they pushed for this, because coming from the west side of the river, they didn't even have to get in there, but Tyrax gets capitalized on, goes down, Godlike, Tyrax, the trio eliminated. But I'm just saying, like, they were a duo and they just pushed on a trio and they didn't necessarily have to. It was a chance for eliminations, and it ended up, it got them one, but it paid the price. Now they're out of game 4.
So what Obito did there, It was sick, by the way, because when he put down the metal floor as the revive happened, both character models stood up at the same time, and they were force phased through.
Yep.
So you either crouch down and they own the wall and you can't go anywhere, or you're just stuck with a wall blocking basically the entirety of your screen, and you're looking up and getting headshotted, which is what ended up happening there. But the aggression coming out from a singular nade tag when you pulled zone again, like, if the PG boys had just boxed up, like, they'd be set. And they'd be good, but the aggro coming out, trying to play the aggressors, did get the pick onto Nightmare, but Ranger and Obito saying, nope, not today. They'll get that one. Now going all the way back. So the Solari nades, right? When you line it up, it's 300 damage of explosives coming through at once. Have you noticed that every single time somebody's on the receiving end of the clip, they're sitting in a wood structure in around zone 4 or 5.
Yep.
Yo, stop building your 4, 5, and 6 zone structures with wood.
People are going to learn
and then complaining
eventually,
about getting Solari naded.
People are going to learn eventually.
So build with metal, because then the first barrage comes through and it gets eaten. And if you can't throw another wall up after that, then you probably deserve to get hit by those nades.
It's just tough because you're trying to sit on the metal until later in the game.
Nope.
But hear me out. I understand. You're trying to sit on the metal until later in the game. A lot of players at certain points will say, I don't want to have to worry about that as we go into the end of it. You know, they're going to start looking at eliminations as their source of material. Basically, a replenishment. But you're right. Using the metal between 4 and 5 is probably one of the more important things if you think a nade barrage is going to happen, because if you don't prepare for it, that's going to happen. You're going to get eliminated.
Like, your two options are either have a hard scout looking for pre-edited cones, because that's how you line it up, or just sit in metal. And I know, but even then, like, you could sit on top of a full, like, it's a singular metal cone in a 1x1 at the top. As long as you're in that, you're good from the first barrage, and then you can edit down and recone yourself. I'm just throwing it out there. 400 HP on fully built metal.
You're not wrong. We'll say that. You're not wrong.
But now, good rotation coming out here, utilizing the launch pad, and now we're pulling in towards the half-in, half-out zone that has the potential. I mean, this is brutal. You're half on a mountain, you're near tilted zone, so you're either running through the river while the billy goats are up on the side, or you're being forced to go over the verticality. So these next zones are going to be key. That's why you see people burning utility now to get primary positioning here, because you're either on the high ground or you're stuck.
Ooh. Trying to take shots at more players rotating through. Carl, 1 elimination. Raid and Snoika, 3 and 1, so 5 eliminations total for this trio. 20 points, 20 trios remaining right now, 43 players. Well ahead of what the damage threshold is thus far, especially if Carl continues to hit tags, if they even have to worry about it at this point. Here we go, the next circle, looking at a northeast push back across the valley through the river. Just massive amounts of pressure. The minigun combined with a legendary AR spraying walls down. They're trying to seek out any damage tags they can, because they do get a knock, especially in a place like this. Everyone's basically pressed against the wall. You're looking at a chance where someone else is going to try and take shots at that too. Plus, Carl has 12 RPGs. Here we go. Wait for that edit. See if you can sneak one in and get a ton of damage.
You have 12. You need to start firing these off.
Honestly,
can't take them with you. Oh, there you go. Can't take him with you. As you see, he gets the 120 tag there and immediately going to start reloading. He knows people are going to move. Launchpad does come out. Good little archway edit, but oh, yeah, there you go. That was actually such a great move to get up on the high ground on the far side. Now start firing those babies off. Punish these players who are trying to rotate through right now and take advantage of your superior positioning. But right now, instead, just going to get themselves settled in the fact they're sitting on 5 E-libs and they have great positioning right now over the rest of the lobby. Bubble shield on top of the launch pad to prevent the immediate laser. So good little combination there and showing off the versatility of that new addition.
There we go, taking their rotation as well. Carl all the way up top. Number of players rotating on through there too. Tuna potentially going to take shots. This trio tries to make their way in, looking for a spot to land. Carl's going to get forced all the way down underneath a tree, basically the low ground with this many players above. 13 trios remaining at this point, which means one more needs to go down, and then placement points come out. A solid rocket! Ooh. Are you kidding me? Right through. What an angle there as Carl picks up at least, let's see, 2 knockdowns, minor and unique. Both knocks. You see in the feed up there, which means 1 player left. There's the eliminations come out. Vinti is the last one to go down there, and this shockwave to put him at the forefront of the storm. Very, very key Looking back down underneath, still 10 more RPG shots. Feeds
Ooh,
one through. Another
big hit.
trio of 121 damage hits. Another one. Oh my gosh, the feed just does not stop for Carl, finding knock after knock. Raid does go down. You see, got to be eliminated, so they're down to only a duo. But building forward, one right in front. Another elimination there, up to 5.
Great awareness, too, to turn
gosh.
now with that AR towards the line, seeing the player rotate and drop down, catching him, and now he worked directly back up to Snoika. So all of a sudden, they're back together, and they're one of the few duos who is still left. Everyone else is pretty much a solo rider. You can see Flame still in the top left. Carl picked up another Elam. That's another rocket finding down. No marks there, but then gets it with the AR tags. Top 4, but he gets picked up. Still 7 RPGs in there, but he had great efficiency there. Dropping down, there's one duo left. Otherwise, it's all solo riders. 11 Elams from Snoika and his trio. Nobody wants to fall here. You want to get into top 2. There's Elam number 12. There it is, and there's top 2 as Ziad goes down. It's Obito versus Snoika there. Can he close it out? Unfortunately, pinned against the wall. You have to go forward. 7 HP, but it's a wall of tack shots coming up there, sprinting straight into Obito and Ranger, the duo who is able to clean up that fight in the river, turns around the resources, runs the lobby. 13 Elams, 15 points for the VR, 28 points there. That was pretty impressive, Zeke. What do you think?
I mean, look, anytime you can knock out 28 points in a single game, you're feeling pretty dang good, and I'm pretty sure the Ranger trio here was feeling pretty good after that. Now we're back here. We're joined by Shai because he's got some pretty incredible plays to take a look at.
Yeah, the main thing with Obito that I saw was crosshair placement. It was actually insane from what I saw. The way he kind of manipulates each environment he's in on where he wants to place his crosshair is amazing. So we're going to break that down real quick. We're going to get into it and see exactly how things go. Checking out the replay right now, we're going to be in Tilted Town with Ranger. So at the moment, he's going to be looking top down, making sure his crosshair is always in the middle because he knows builds actually won't come out. It's really cool to see as well, dynamically switching his spacing on where he is. He'll see a shockwave or an enemy come out from the actual house he's in. Instead of fighting him, he gets boogie bombed. He's going to go up, make sure that whenever he's going to be pumping through, it's going to be a guaranteed headshot from the top down. More pellets will actually hit in this engagement. So very good, very fast cleanup. You'll notice every pump shot he takes is a direct over 100 damage because of where he places his crosshair. Right now we're checking out his another person in the region as well. He's going to be going up and around Thunder. Carl actually moving in and out of his box on different layers. You'll see that he actually sees a lot of the zone, so when he actually jumps up with the shockwave, he can see exactly where he's going. Then we tune in back with Obito, just standard up end game, but once again, that crosshair placement from both these trios, knowing exactly what layer they're on and where to look. There's no confusion whatsoever on exactly what is going on. So off mid-ground, you want to look up a little bit, but most of the time, your crosshair tilted down, looking exactly where the enemies are. Another plus 100 pump coming through. Once again, no confusion. RPG, look for more Elam points down below. Easy shots taken, a little bit of an overpeak, but the clutch factor is always there. Once again, positioning perfectly, taking your time. The crosshair, I will keep stressing it, is so good. Just being at the perfect position possible, less work for you, more expected, insane plays, high accuracy. It's amazing.
Man, Obito, Ranger, and Nightmare. Now, Nightmare unfortunately was taken out, but still, an awesome game from them. 28 points. Obito really manipulating the chakra of his enemies there. If you get it, you do. If you're not, that's okay as well. With that, he got it. With that, we're getting ready to hop into another round of games. We're going to be jumping into game number 6 of heat number 2, if I'm correct. And I believe that's going to be Monster, Deface, and I. Is that correct? Monster, is that you? Oh my gosh! Wait a minute. We're not the same Wait a minute.
No, look. I have different clothes. We have different facial hair. We're two different people, brother.
We're two different people. Oh my gosh, I thought it was just me and me there for a moment. My bad. Apparently you and I are actually two completely different individuals with different voices. Now you know. Fortnite fam, we're getting ready to jump into the next set of games. What do you think so far, man? So remember, these games happened this morning, but what do you think about the Middle East?
They literally have me breathless. It's been a lot of fun. No, honestly, watching the games unfold, again, we talk about a lot. Watching new region come up, and have an opportunity at the spotlight, it's been a blast.
Well, let's not wait any longer. We're jumping into game. Here we go. This is game number 6, I believe, of heat number 2, if I'm correct. We're jumping into all of the action right now. But yeah, man, Middle East is absolutely insane. Their precision, their accuracy, their aggression, like, they are out of this world. And it's kind of crazy to think, like, they've been on this forever, you know, and now we actually get to see it. They get to show us what we've been missing out on. And that's what's kind of cool about Fortnite as a whole, is a global competition, right? So being able to add another region and then be like, oh, hey, what's up, Fortnite fam? We are also part of this, fam. We're here to play. Let's show you why. I mean, it's just impressive.
That's right, and we've seen a couple stars come up. Even our predictions aren't necessarily as accurate as we thought they would be. It could just be because, obviously, we're taking a look at
this is just the first heat.
Regions, right, and even right there, Sam Hunter. I know that was like
sundown.
Right, so like today, when the stakes rise, right, and then things are a little more intense, these heats are coming out, we're seeing new faces come out. And that's what matters, the players that can perform under pressure. It kind of reminds me like way back when, and you know, shout out to Fulmer. I know he pulled through in the trios division for this recent one, but Fulmer did a fantastic job in the opening session of the Winter Royale, but then he couldn't pull through in the finals, and we've seen that kind of happen. So sometimes when the pressure's on, people have a harder time. So, you know, we'll start to feel it out, see what happens when the high stakes are up, almost the same way like Can Mitra, Mongrel, Benji pull it through again, which we know they probably will, but it's when the stakes rise, who comes out on top. Those are the real champions.
I think Sundown pretty much puts it best. Some days are just not going to be your days. And some days, a Fortnite for you will go unbelievable. You'll find your golded out kit, right? You'll get those eliminations. You'll get those perfect rotations or those launch pads, those splashes, whatever utility item you need. And sometimes it just isn't going to go your way. So being able to kind of pivot in that moment and say like, okay, look, we landed here. We took a bad fight. What do we do right now, right? That is going to separate good players from the very best of the best, right? And I think I kind of touched on it a little bit earlier. I still don't think we've seen the highest range of Middle East. I still think they have a very high ceiling, and they're just going to continue to show us what that is as the season, as this Grand Finals continues.
And talking about ceilings and shots and all that kind of good stuff, Obito actually caught a nice little headshot with the hunting rifle on one of those unsuspecting players who was firing down and did not expect that shot to come right back. Lots of offense played right there, but Steady's trying to get to that reboot card. He actually is going to pop the shockwave. And I don't know if this is the right play, putting himself at a disadvantage here. Oh, because it was only a knock, right? He didn't actually get to finish the deal, so he's going to be able to pull this revive off right here. He's going to be able to pick that player up. Obito and Ranger are now stuck in a 3v2. Remember, no one can build here in Tilted Town. It's all about the angles. Nice little camera usage right there. Getting over the shoulder. That's going to be a one drop, two. Can he get the third right here? Connecting with so many shots. Zeke, this is going to be really close. Here it is. Oh! Hits the big pump. Ranger showing that he is not here to play any games, but Fortnite games.
I like that. Fortnite games. That was good. I like that. Man, that was crazy. But for Ranger to just immediately down two people, right, and then kind of force the enemy into that 1v1 with the chug splashes in his hand, if you're the enemy and you're popping something like a mini, you still have that, like, delayed timer, right? A minimum 2 seconds. There was some splashes there. That enemy was like, you know what? I've got the splashes, but I think I hit him pretty hard. Let's just go full send and see what happens. Now, Ranger was like, oh, are you? Please, come on over. I've got the pump ready to go, and I will down you. And that's why we saw them pick up the win last time. Again, it's just that aggression, that precision. These guys are executing on another level.
And that's one of the perks of battling in Tilted Town. You can really see those clutch ups happen because of the camera movement. It all comes down to angling yourself, hiding your body, and then making those shots. Here we have a little bit of a brute gameplay. We haven't seen much of the brute today. In any of the regions, we just really haven't seen much. It's been kind of, I guess, flying under the radar, per se.
Yeah, we've, I believe, if I remember correctly, we've seen it like 2 or 3 times. And right now, the way it's used is either to, like, just go full send on people inside of retail row, because then you can kind of farm the pylons there, farm all those cube monsters very quickly and efficiently, or you kind of sit in a build and then you edit a roof piece off, fire out the rockets, and then re-edit here. Sykes is going to find one of the 2 eliminations, and they're trying to track down another one if possible. It looks like Hubo has one of the enemies there. Yo, they're going to drop down. Not today, Red Boy. Not today.
That was just too easy for them right there. Stomping the yard, bringing down the build fight. Obo was holding it down, but it was not enough here as they walk away with a couple of elims. And they're completely capped out at this point now. Now they just have all the time in the world to heal up. They have the material source just from getting those knocks. That's going to be able to kind of replenish their pool. And it's only Zone 1. There's already 70 players left in the lobby. So this lobby, unlike the others, has actually chopped down pretty quickly. It's because they're getting into their groove at this point. This is game 6 of Heat 2.
Yeah, so this is pretty much, remember, the Heats are in games of 6, right? So when this happened this morning, this is it. This is a player's last opportunity. So if they're down on points, they're looking to qualify. Remember, for this region, it is top 12 that move on. So they're trying to rack up as many points as they possibly can. So they just have to say, look, cards on the table, we just have to go in. If something goes extremely well, we can potentially strike up in top 12 and move on. Or if it all goes wrong, you know, we may be outside of the range, but we need to make something big happen, and it needs to happen right now.
That takes me back to the World Cup qualifier days when Nate Hill and Funk came up out of nowhere with only a game or two left from a 30-point, I believe, and they climbed their way all the way up to like 60 or 70, pulling them all the way through to the final. So anything can happen here in these Fortnite games, really, when you put your mind to it. Sometimes the stars just align for you, really, and big plays happen. So big build battle out in the distance here, Zeke. This is your worst nightmare. Brute coming in. You don't want to be up top. You really don't even want to be here at this point because the rain of fire is going to start coming in now. And that is, for starters, a 50 shield pop right there. And it's Hunter, Prime, Minor, and Unique all going toe-to-toe here.
And
Hunter's already down. Prime's out.
That's it. Well, Sundown, how right were you on those predictions, my friend? Actually, he's very correct.
He's still
he's
correct.
Really good at his job. But yeah, the Sam remaining duo there was picked up in the crossfire, and now they're looking to try and track down the last few players. That laser designator coming out telling you, hey, rockets are inbound toward you. You might want to make a move as quickly as possible. The thing about the Brute is, don't forget, it is like, if you just beam it down, you can either laser out one of the drivers, which is the top, or the one in the legs. But look, I mean, just them focusing down, they've already destroyed 500 HP from the Brute. So if you literally just turn it down and laser it, it's going to just blow up, right? And that's the thing is, I think people haven't quite adjusted to the fact oh, you can actually just beam this thing down, right? Because your first intent is I just got to get away from it. It's no, literally just look at it and beam it down. I'm telling you, even with a minigun, you'll just shred it.
You'll see that on NA East or a lot of the other competitive regions, especially the European and North American regions. They see a mech on the field, they turn, they alter. The server almost unanimously decides, hey, we're gonna fire at that.
Take that out.
Get that out of here. Yep, and that's kind of the kind of focus fire you need. In situations like this, when, like you said, that team was running, they paid the price. Lost the player immediately. The team on the mountain was firing down. Had they all just focus fired, that thing would have been gone.
Right.
These players would have been exposed, and it would have been a 2v3. Right? Because look, their third is so far away. He's over here still working on the builds and stuff, looking for loot.
And we did eventually see the Brute go down, right? Because it was that team up high that did eliminate the Brute. But like you said, man, if it had just gone a little bit faster, those guys had just said, we just need a laser thing right now, would have worked. Now look at this, though. This trio, the Lil Trio, they're trying to get their way up right now. iXon is trying to go
Lil
for
Fly,
high.
Lil Daddy, Lil Exxon.
There you go.
You gotta love it. Just a bad player gets knocked right there.
I mean, look, it's not a bad player because you made it to the Heat, so you're pretty dang good. You got to change your name, all right? Come up with some new names, and we'll circle back to you. But yeah, they're going for height, trying to isolate and eliminate this team if possible. But looking at the minimap monster, they're still, I mean, there's a trio down by the ravine here. If they decide they want some of this action, we've even seen one of the little triangles looking. You know what? It's not worth it.
We're looking over, but Exxon actually threw that shield bubble down, giving them a little bit of breathing room. And if I'm not mistaken, whatever team was climbing up there, unfortunate for them, but they went up and one player got heavy sniped, and then the bad player was shot down. Not to call him a bad player, but
that
just a bad player. That's your name, buddy. Yeah, he was shot down by the AR, so the focus fire really not going in their favor right there. They came up at the wrong time and paid the price for it. But here we have Exxon just chilling up above. Whatever threats that were lingering about have now moved out, and they're chilling. They're doing really good for themselves. Zone 2 underway, going into 3. The storm's already moving. They have to roll too. They're not safe just yet.
Yeah, I mean, doesn't look like they have anything in the means of mobility. They're great on builds, though. Almost capped off, just missing some of that wood material there. But we can't even see where the new safe zone is. If you look at the bottom right minimap, once you can start to kind of see the edge of that circle, you're like, okay, I don't actually have to go that much farther. But right now, we still can't even see it. So this circle must be, it's got to be far.
It's got to be just past. There it is. You saw a little snippet. So it's there. It's not too far. I think Exxon will probably eat a little bit of the zone pressure here.
Yeah.
For kind of biding time, getting materials. But it's more important to have those materials anyways. You kind of need them. So I don't blame them. Now jumping over to Baguette, IOV, and Cursive. They're actually in the best spot possible right now. You saw the team we were just keeping up with, the little homies down on the river over there.
The little homies.
The little homies.
There it is.
Do you remember? Do you ever remember those little homies? That was like a real reference.
Wait, you talking about like the actual, like the toy, the little homie?
Yeah, they were the little, you put a quarter in, you kind of roll for them.
Yes, I do. But people,
I had so many of those.
But see, people that are much younger than us have no idea what we're talking about.
We're so old, Zeke.
We're so old.
And we look alike.
There you have it. There you have it. Cursive, what in the world?
Nice
so don't
shots.
forget, this Crix was Six, was one of the people in that brute we saw earlier.
Yeah.
And now look, he's like, hey, give me an opportunity. Let me just beam your face off. There you go. He got the opportunity.
Taken right out, and oh man, all these players are trying to get this freebie pass here with that launch pad, but another player goes down. It's going to be Trigger QQ Unique. He's going to get taken out. Cursive putting monstrous pressure up with the scoped AR, which a weapon we just do not see shine enough. And it's gotten so many changes, so many great changes. They increased the damage on it. It no longer has damage drop off. It's 100% accurate. It's actually a fairly useful rifle, especially for long range like that. You can chip away at players. You see the marking coming out perfectly as well, just letting his teammates know, hey, I hurt that guy. This guy's shot right here. He's doing a really good job controlling the field here.
And the thing is, at least I believe, and maybe I'm wrong, but I think the reason we don't see a lot of the scoped AR is because the infantry rifle kind of does the same thing, but the infantry rifle is more useful at close quarters, right? Because when you scope in with the AR, you're not going to do that at point blank, and the crosshair is way too big to try and take that engagement. But if you point blank someone with the infantry rifle, which everyone can do, because like this is the very best of the best, right? That's where all these flick shots come out. They're going to hit you for 80 plus damage right to your face, right? So I think that's probably why he has that scoped AR. If he probably could find an infantry rifle, he might opt to swap it out. And maybe this player loves the scoped AR because I think it's a great weapon. But that's probably why we don't see that weapon as much as we probably should.
Yeah, you're right. The infantry rifle, and it just hits harder, right? You know, why hit for 26 when if you're going to peak like that, he'll hit you for 41?
Yeah.
You're right. You're absolutely right.
Like, yeah, you don't get the zoomed in scope, but I mean, if I just put this crosshair over that pixel and I get that damage number,
which they do.
They do. They don't miss. That's why they are here. That's why they've made it to these heats, and they're looking to make it into grand finals. I mean, this is the very best of the best, man.
We're chiseling it down right here, but nice heavy snipe attempt right there. He's not going to quite connect. Now here comes a rotation.
You can get this. You can get
he's
this.
Waiting.
Focus.
The strafe. You stand still. You eat the bullet. It's Cursive who goes down. Little X on here. Lands a monster shot. He's now trying to knock him off that ground right there. See if he can force that player down to convert on the elimination here, Zeke.
That's crazy. On Cursive of all people, like, we just left him beaming players left and right. Like, you cannot stand still. You just cannot. We call that gargoyling. You cannot sit there like a gargoyle and stand still because these heavy snipes will come out. They will drop you every single time. And that's what our little homies just did. I tried not to laugh. I really did. Oh, gosh. Anyway, that's what Exxon did. He was like, you waited. And you saw the patience, right? Because he could have taken a shot at any moment. But he said, look, this guy's going to stand still. Cursive will make the mistake. I'm just going to wait. And sure enough, it happened.
That's right, and man, they managed to pull that revive off, which you really only see in trios, right? Even though they tried to full send, just one person playing defense is just good enough to kind of hold out and get those saves off. So lucky for them, Cursive is going to be able to pop his minis there. You saw him; he's still in the running here. But we have a battle now on the Storm line back here. EG's under fire right now. They're still 3-1 in this situation. It's one tap, boom, who gets hit with a big shot right there, puts him right down.
And another one, a follow-up to Dev there. That was okay, Tormund. Those flick shots were out of this world.
Wait a second, was that did he no-scope him in the face? Like, what just happened right there?
Dude, honestly, I blinked and I missed it. That's how good ME is. But, dude, look at this loadout right now. So this is what we kind of talked about, right? So Similar loadout to what we saw from Cursive. The difference is he is rocking the legendary infantry rifle instead of that scoped AR. So, you know, your loadout's very much going to dictate what you can and can't do. And right now, Torment has a lot. Okay, I was about to be like, bro, did you just
like
body shot that?
That looked like
that would have been so dope. Close, very close though.
Very, very close indeed. So they're facing up a tough rotation here. They have a long way to go. There's a team perched up on the high ground, team to the left, team based up in front of them, one down in the ditch below them. This is a struggle of a rotation. I mean, they do have shockwaves, and look, they're looking at the extra mass. They're looking at the extra trap in the zone like, hey, buddy, is it worth it? Like, we kind of need this. Okay, lucky for them, they do have a launch pad. They're going for that immediate launch pad play. Have to hug the mountain right here. There it is. They're going to go in and block that line of sight just a little bit, and lucky for them, they do not get the focus of the server as they make it across the river here now.
But look on the little hill there that was on their left. Obito, Nightmare, and their third partner is here. They are here ready to potentially take another win if possible. Now, these guys are already sitting on 4 eliminations, which, by the way, 4 eliminations halfway through your game in a server like this speaks volumes in itself. Like, it's either one of two things, right? They had that early drop, they contested a team, and they eliminated them, or what we saw is they said, you know what, it's almost late game, we're moving it in there, let's try and make a pick. They do have the double heavy snipe and the rocket launcher monster. They could make some plays.
That's right. With the heavy sniper, with their RPG, it actually looks like they're poised up for one right now. There goes the heavy snipe to open up a box right there. They find a brute. In comes the shots. They just want to expose that brute, get as much damage in it as possible. And that's a 121.
On
that's
going
to connect with exactly two different players right there. That's huge. That team is going to be in a world of hurting. In comes the RPG, heavy snipe play right there. Cracks it right open. LX KBR goes down. In comes another rocket, and they just wipe that entire team up.
But see, that's the difference, right? Earlier on in the match, we saw the brute kind of terrorizing a few different trios. But this is exactly what you want to do. I quickly identified that's a brute. And look at that. They just immediately destroyed that entire trio almost effortlessly, right? Like, the only thing they really traded was a few AR rounds, which looking at just Pro here, Lax, he's got almost 800 rounds of AR, completely topped off on rockets. He used, I think, 4 rockets back there, if I remember correctly, all to just pick up another trio. Like, that's huge, and that's just going to continue to propel him. It's also going to remove that brute from play. So, because if that had gone into late game, that would have definitely devastated the battlefield.
You also got to appreciate the team that was above him was like, hey, the guys below us have RPGs and heavy snipers, by the way. Let's get out of here. They launch pattern right. Yeah, they launch pattern right out of there. Like, dude, I want nothing to do with this. So off they went, and now they get a free launch pad. We like to call these the community launch pad. Sharing is caring in the situation here where they get that freebie rotation. Anyone nearby gets to kind of skate on out of there as well. And here's a look at your server. As you see, there's still a couple of faces to look out for here. Ranger, Nightmare, and Obito we saw pop off just a bit ago. Ranger really making some big plays here. Looks like he's contesting for the high ground. He's going, trying to use that distraction of the team that was battling there, and it's gonna work out. They're gonna get this high ground. The shockwave is gonna come up. Is it gonna be enough? Doesn't look like it. Things are gonna pause up a bit here. His Rangers still, they're very high though. His boys are battling here, Zeke.
Yeah, I mean, he doesn't really have the loadout. Like, unless he has, like, I was going to say the only thing he can do is shockwave here, but, I mean, or just catch Mood completely off guard. That is a 100 to the back of his head, and they're going to drop him and find potential more loot. There is an edit peek going on, and there you go. See ya later. I'm so sorry. I'll just see myself out here. See, I did it twice.
Later. Take it out right there by the MES boys. That was actually
we got our jib
really
operator
intense.
over here, Nicole. She's dying. She's dying. I got one person to laugh. We did it, boys. All right.
Was it worth it, Zeke?
Yes, it was. It's always worth it. Ranger and Obito here. Now, the question is, did Nightmare go down, or is he just lower somewhere else? Okay, so Nightmare's actually down. Ranger has 4 eliminations, and Obito is the 1. So that means it's just going to be them for the rest of the game, because there's no way you're getting a revive off at this point in the game.
Look how high up they are as well. They're so high up right here.
Really
They only
scary.
have 1 shockwave.
This is too scary.
But, I mean, they got the elims while on the high ground, so you know they just replenished a ton of material. The question is it enough?
Oh,
no,
God, the rocket!
It's not enough.
No, the rocket, you got to launch.
Yep, there it is. They saw it coming. He shockwaves right off. He still manages to land on high ground, and more shockwaves are now coming out. But him and his duo that remains from this trio here are left alone to battle this server out.
And Ranger had a shockwave that he used to get much further down, so they're very far apart right now. But Ranger's doing okay, just took a big hit, and his shield got chunked down. They have to try and regroup if possible, but I mean, everyone else in the lobby is onto what they're doing. Now he's gonna find Baguette here, his deliciousness, and he's gonna try and get some of that potential loot. More shockwaves are coming through, so now he can try to make more plays. The question is, where is Ranger? Like, Obito's making a play for high ground again. He's like, look, I don't know what you're doing. I've got to try and get back up to high ground. Because of that, Ranger falls, and now look, Obito has unfortunately launched himself behind everyone. No shotting gun can help you there. It's a tough life to live, but the game keeps on rolling. Brook, is down there on no HP. Gentle is here, kind of on the safer side of the circle. But look, Monster, across the board, everyone is in critical condition right now.
The server just got melted. I don't know what happened, but that zone wave was absolutely devastating to most of the players that remained in this lobby. Shockwaves are now popping off right here as Power GNTL, Power Gentle is trying to hold it down, trying to stay in the running here. He has one shield bubble remaining. If he uses it, he can't fire up. If he doesn't use it, he kind of goes down without it. It could be the difference in keeping him in the game here. He's going to run for the mats. There's going to be huge mats. He actually didn't have any up until that point. There's a minigun. There's an RPG right next to him. He's going to focus the RPG player instead of using that to his advantage here. So now he's left in a 1v1 situation. He did get one material off of that. That's all he has. Can he connect? Zeke here. He has one more shot to make, and he does connect. Not Weevil falls in the final moments. Gentle somehow pulling it all together, making the right decision to hit in his shots.
That is absolutely insane. With no materials, constantly having to scavenge. Gentle there made it all work in his favor. And don't forget, that was one of the trio we saw in the very beginning that started the game with the Brood. So they still play second because of that. Still points to be divvied out. For now, we're going to go back in the studio with Sundown. Sundown, what you got for us?
Thank you so much, Zeke and Monster. And what I got will be some highlights from that last game we just saw, and then the final results from Heat 2 of the Middle East. So we'll see who's going to round out the second half of that roster in the grand finals tomorrow. But first, let's take a look at some of the action that went down and what led to the final moments. So first, we're hopping on board. We saw Thunder Carl have a great game previously with those Rockets in the last game. Got to watch him break that down, having a very strong early game here, able to put to work with that recently unvaulted TAC SMG, the high rate of fire just ripping apart. You can see Reed able to follow up right away, putting the two tactical weapons to great tactical use there, cleaning that one up and closing out the fight. Now, we talked about kind of the limited weaknesses the Brute has and how it can kind of affect it right here. You're third partying somebody who's already at multiple levels. There is no way they're going to be able to turn and react. That is basically free mowing for the Brute. Now, it does end up getting focused down eventually, but not before they're able to pick up a massive advantage from just showing up to the fight at the right time. Now, we're going to rotate over again, because notice, we're just inside the placement threshold here, and Gentle is all by his lonesome, and this is what we talked about in the Middle East, how the gameplay tends to break down towards the end. People lose a little bit more of their teamwork compared to the other regions, and that's what allows Gentle to just out-survive the rest of the lobby, picking up a number of clutch elims at the end, which ends up pushing him up a difference of 9+ points there from the placements and the eliminations he was able to get, those final moments being enough to push them up into the grand final territory. Let's take a look at the standings, and I mean, you can see them right up there on the board as well. Just a great performance coming out, the results coming on here, and like, again, my pick right there, Prime, Aflame, and Hunter, but also shout out to Obito, Nightmare, and Ranger for their great performance, the trio playing out of India. So again, I love seeing these different regions being able to go through. We will actually also see the next page as well, since the top 16 are the ones who are advancing, so you can see the line right there. And again, the one thing I want to note is the difference of how many in Fortnite, when all the little plays matter. Right here, the line, it's 1 point. That's one elimination. That's getting one other revive. That's finishing one other knock, but able to push through one-shot Soriana and Power RV. So honestly, the field is now set. Both of the trios who we predicted will be competing in the grand final tomorrow, and I'm excited because we'll get an opportunity to see some of those matches and crown our first ever Season X champions. So it's going to be great. We've seen a lot of Middle East so far. That's it for the games from them. We're going to throw it to a quick 5-minute break while we get ourselves situated, use the bathroom, do anything, go walk your dog real quick, get some water, get some food in you, because we're going to do the same, and then we'll be back with more Fortnite action.
Hello family of Fortnite, TW here, and throughout the Fortnite Champion Series, we're going to be trying to get more acquainted with the world of competitive Fortnite. Today, we're going to be discussing the 3 different stages of a competitive Fortnite game: the early game, the mid game, and the late game, and what different players have as their goals during these stages in order to achieve the ultimate goal, the Victory Royale. Let's start with the early game. Also called the looting phase, this is where all players are attempting to secure their chosen landing spot and maximize their loot potential. In competitive Fortnite, every game matters, so players try to strike a balance between high loot opportunity and safety so as to not waste a game by being eliminated early. Do you drop at a high loot POI like Retail Row or Paradise Palms? Or land at a safer POI on the edge of the map, where less players drop because of less loot. Regardless, the goal is common, whether you take a passive approach by looting safely on the side of the map, or an aggressive and risky approach by letting others loot for you and finding early eliminations. Now that we know what the early game is, what should we be looking out for during this stage? First things first, being contested. The first realization players make when landing is whether you're being contested or not, to prepare for the upcoming possible fight. Trios want to try to force your opponent into the more disadvantageous position cut off from loot potential. Either they have to make a desperation push, or they're stuck with less loot where you can easily clean up. That's just the beginning, as even though it starts off high intensity with all the different POIs being contested, it quickly slows down as the rotations begin towards first zone. Looting doesn't end here, and most competitive players will have a loot path, which optimizes their possibility for finding the crucial mobility and weapon upgrades. Thanks to the new battle map feature in the replay mode, we can study these loot paths and rotations quite easily these days. So go check that out in any replay from the Fortnite Champion Series by going into the Compete tab and finding your favorite player. It will vary from game to game, but generally, we move into the mid game around the middle to end of second zone. The mid game is the calm before the storm the storm circle gets too small where it forces the engagements. Most players' goals aren't positional, but in some cases, depending on how the early game went, you again have to strike a balance, this time between looting and farming, or going for the best position. Looting could include playing extremely aggressive to earn yourself other players' loot. In trios, it's much harder to play that aggressive playstyle, since fights take longer and cost more. You want to be efficient with any rotations or fights you have to take. You don't want to spend your precious mobility, valuable resources, or health. This is why you'll see a lot of the top players look directly for center zone in the mid game. When you're in the center zone, you end up giving yourself the most chance of being in the next storm circle when it gets revealed. You'll then have to go less distance and thus spend less materials. Finally, the end game, the most exciting, hectic, thrilling, and difficult part of competitive Fortnite. Experiencing an endgame can be confusing and hard to process, but it will also be one of the most rewarding and fun times to play and watch. This is when you take all the advantages you built in the early game and the mid game and use them to push yourself to a victory royale, and also find as many eliminations as possible. In the current Fortnite Champion Series format, every elimination matters, just like it did in the World Cup. From 6th zone onwards, where the calm from the mid-game explodes into a cacophony of tunneling, mobility usage, and shots being fired, you'll see teams go for the ever-so-advantageous high ground, where they can tunnel very cheaply and have the most opportunity on the rest of the server for elimination, as they have the top-down view. You'll also see teams call out the need to find a good layer, which is away from other players, both above, below, and horizontally from you. You'll see teams desperate for the extra materials to last them through to the full zone closure, going for impact eliminations, where they can top off on resources and power weaponry of their fallen opponents. So, whether you're watching or you're joining us on the field, take stock in the stage of the game. The early game, when you're trying to get the best possible loot while it's still available. The mid game, where you're balancing positioning while maintaining what you built during the early game. And finally, the end game, where you spend all the advantages you set yourself up with to earn the victory royale. Use this to form your game plan in order to earn as many series points weekend after weekend. And maybe next time, we'll be watching and highlighting your top plays. This was TW, and I'll see you in game.
What's up everyone, Sundown here to bring you the latest installment of Plays of the Week. The final opportunity to qualify for the Fortnite Champion Series happened over the weekend, and a number of players were able to push their way to the top and make some spectacular plays. Let's dive in and see who popped off. Kicking off plays of the week, we'll start with Kurtz down in South America as he lets no targets get away and says, "Not today." Staying down in South America, we're on board here with Nothing No Name as he's able to pull off the hot feet flank and get the positional advantage to pick up a number of elims. Next, popping over to the Middle East, we have M. Siddig on the Tac Attack, going to work and eliminating the rest of the lobby. Now, normally we say jumping on over, but this time we mean it quite literally, as 72 hours does the leapfrog to pick up an insane elimination. Staying over in NA East, we have the world champion solo player Booga, well, dropping his opponents down a level or two. Now, over to Europe as we watch Fnatic Provoked get himself out of a tight situation and be the lone survivor to run the rest of the lobby. Sometimes in Fortnite, you need to innovate a little bit, and right now Jordan uses everything in his toolkit to pick up 2 quick elims. And finally, over in NA West, is it a bird? Is it a plane? No, it's Rex getting his high ground shot out and going for a last-ditch effort to get everything he can. That's it for the top plays from the qualifiers, and the stage has been set as we head into the finals this weekend. Make sure to tune in at Fortnite.com/watch or in client, and we'll see you guys on the battle bus. Beep, beep. Welcome back, everyone, and I will just apologize for everything that happened over the past 90 seconds. I have no idea what any of that was. When Zeke and I get together for too long, we get, kind of a little crazy. But one thing in our end, we were able to resolve some of the issues going through with the scheduled matchmaking. That means we will have Brazil games coming up here in a second. In particular, I just want to talk about this region. This region is near and dear to my heart. One, because I called King placing top 5 in the solo at the World Cup. I said, you could pencil him in. This kid is something special. He plays aggressively, and he's going to bring it to the big stage. He is my hardline prediction for the top spot with X-Zone and Toxic. I think they're going to be able to run through. But Brazil in particular, if you haven't watched the region before, they play very differently from the others. Again, we talk about discipline when it comes to the late game. They're good at that. However, the early and mid-game aggression that comes out when they know that they're going to have an advantage on their opponent is utterly ridiculous. We saw a little bit of it coming out from Middle East, but Brazil takes that to a whole nother level. If they see somebody even remotely separated, they will go. They will burn utility to get there and close out the fight, because their thinking is that is a point and we can scavenge anything from them in order to get onto what we need. And I really think it's going to be a good one. You can see there, our predictions are actually a little all over the place. This is one of the few regions where there wasn't really a hardline victor. I would say Brazil and Asia are the two where you've definitively had 5 to 10 teams who can really end up compete coming through. I mean, you can see, as I said, I had King, X-Zone, and Tox at the top. Zeke had Reds, Snow, Avalar, and Techno Viking. Showager picked Mastier, and then C9's Dracons and Blackouts. Monster D-Face had Nyx, D13, and Tuzu and Lupo picked Wishy, Kurtz, and Laleo. Now, one thing you'll notice from all of that, every single one of those teams either had a representative at the Fortnite World Cup in solos or duos, or they were right on the outside looking in both solos or duos. That would be the red squad right there. Techno Viking was one of the BR there. And now one thing I want to kind of talk about as we bring our casters back out is everyone kind of defending their prediction there. So I talked about why I think King is such a talented player in and of himself, and then being paired up with X-Zone, who had got to play on that stage, and then Toxic kind of complements them. But why did you think the red trio, Z?
Look, for me personally, we've seen the Red Trio quite a bit. We've seen Techno Viking off on his own with different types of dual partners, and then Avalar and Snow have always been paired together. Now the trio have come and been paired as, well, a trio. We've seen both of these as their separate duos almost make World Cup qualification on several different occasions, and Techno Viking was actually one placement away from making it in. So I think they've had enough time to kind of learn their strengths and weaknesses, and I think in their showing in week number 4, like, they led the pack by a significant amount. And I think because of that, they have the pieces, man. They just have to put it all together. It just has to be their weekend of Fortnite.
That's a good point there. Now, the reason I picked my trio specifically, I just wanted to kind of study who was being consistent over the weekends and not necessarily pick a top dog. I wanted to pick someone who's been in the running, been kind of in the question pool, right? You know, kind of there, but not quite first place. So it's kind of why I went with Nyx and those boys there. Just personally, just wanted to give someone else a small shout out.
Man, I'm a big fan of Nyx. Huge shout out to Nyx.
I mean, I'm a fan of the region. As I said, Brazil elevated themselves, getting some additional heat play going in there from the Rage, but the games are ready to go. Enough from me. We'll throw it on over to these 5 gentlemen as we go down under to South America and we begin their very first heat. Monster, Z, take it away, guys.
Let's do it, baby. It's time to hop into BR. I cannot wait. Well, Brazil, actually, let's be more specific. This is a dope region. You know, we constantly see new things coming out of Brazil, new players that show up, but then we see a lot, like you said, Monster, a lot of consistencies. The C9, Dracons, Blackouts, Nyx, the Red Trio. There's so much talent, raw talent in Brazil, and this is, for me, another region that we just haven't quite seen their full potential, right? I think there could be some upsets coming out of Brazil this weekend.
Oh, without a doubt. This weekend's really going to shine the light on the region as a whole, and that's what we've been wanting for a while. The World Cup kind of series really took off for them, and we got to see some rising stars, but it really wasn't enough. This region as a whole now getting much more, I guess, recognition, and that is what we want to kind of just let unfold here and let that story speak for itself. But jumping into the game, we're looking at Snobby Shores area. We haven't quite seen much of today specifically. We have Choi, Hype, and Sitnoff here setting up for a battle. And there's a team here. And look at the way they landed. They landed right in the middle. The other squad is poised up just outside from both angles here, Zeke.
This is going to mean there's quite a bit of loot disparity for this trio that landed in this one house, right? Because top side, you got that one person in the solo house. All that loot is his. The duo below them, there's a little less loot in that abandoned house. But now they can kind of go for the pincer attack. So the guys in the middle, they just have to push, right? They have to say, we're going either north or we're going south. We just have to try and make something happen. I like
Zeke,
Choi.
It's actually a 2v1 on both sides right here as both teams are collapsing on the players respectively. You can just see Hyped is in a battle of his own. Sitnoff and Choi have to get this exchange off here or it's going to spell trouble for them. Hype's already fell down. If they don't close this battle out soon, the other trio is going to rotate in really quickly.
They need to down this player now because they are starting their move. If you watch the minimap, we've already got this enemy trio. They're starting to close in. This other enemy just has to buy enough time. They're doing a great job of it as well, just keeping the builds away. We even hear a shockwave ring out, so they are closing in on Choi and Sitnoff. They will drop one of the players. Looks like okay, so they drop RDWA. Yeah, then the mats are going to be important, but again, there's not much in the way of the loot. Still with the infantry rifle, the attack is going to be what he relies on. Ooh, great pickup here in the tactical SMG. That's going to be quite a bit of burst damage here in the beginning of the game.
Oh boy, it's Emmerich who gets chipped off by Sitnoff right there, who's biding time, playing nice and patient, and now suddenly he can also see the toes right there. He can see Poseidon. Oh wait, he actually doesn't quite notice him just under that build right there, but Sitnoff gets the siphon off, so now he's got the health. Wait, is Sitnoff going to take the shot? He should be able to see it. There it is. He did miss, unfortunately. He tries to go for a quick peek there. A nice little ramp pivot. He's going to keep this player alive here. So Poseidon has to make a big move. If he doesn't, he's going to spell trouble here for himself. There it is. He's got to commit to this battle. Couldn't quite get the trade off there. And Choi, Sitnoff and Hype walk away victorious. But all because they got collapsed on. It was almost the end for them. That battle was kind of extended for a second there. They were building off. It wasn't looking like it was going to go in their favor for a second there.
Yeah, hopefully they can get Hyped card. That way they can try and play for a reboot, but it just depends on kind of what the rotation looks like. It might be unlikely depending on the situation they find themselves in later. Now take a look. They are pretty close to the next zone. So there is a possibility, but I don't know, man. It's not looking great.
No, they're fine. They're fine. Remember, everything is just getting kicked off here. So Sitnoff I think he used the shockwave to pick up that card. Now they're just getting their farm on before they move over to this reboot van here. And they actually have somewhat of a favorable zone here because the next zone is only pushing just east of them. So they'll be okay. You can see a little bit of a snippet there. They should be able to get this res off no problem, and that's going to wrap up this battle here in Snobby.
It's going to be pretty good for them. At least we hope so. But of course, as always, there's action happening all over the map. Up on Viking Village, we can see another trio here. So Cab was actually sitting on the mountain. If you're watching the mini-map, he was actually looking down on them as that whole fight happened. He could have potentially gone for a heavy snipe, but they were on the back half of the Snobby houses, so there's like really not great line of sights for that. But I mean, his loadout's looking pretty good for this early game. And again, he's not that far from rotation. It looks like a little bit of a split drop there. So one of his trios, excuse me. Would you call, if you're talking about a trio, and you're talking about one of the three, would you refer to the other two as the duo? Because then it just sounds weird. You get what I'm saying?
I get what you're saying. I struggle with it a little bit. Sometimes I do a little bit of both just to play it safe. But it does roll off really naturally, right? When you say his duos.
Yeah.
Because like those are like his.
But then I don't like to confuse people. These are the things that genuinely keep me up at night. Is how do I best communicate to viewers what's happening? Real talk. Anyway, though, we got two of these trios coming together. They've reformed. It looks like there's actually shockwaves. All right, so a nice stack of 6. That's what you like to see.
Into the inventory. Yeah, he's capped out here, and there's extra splashes there, so their teammate Novice should be able to kind of pick those up for them. And this is one of the splits I like about the Viking Village. It hasn't changed. You get that Shambles house. You get the two house on the coast. Sometimes you even get the crack shot house over at the Frosty Flights area. So there's a lot of opportunity for loot here if you play off the Viking area, especially if you split up and it's uncontested. And that's why their loadouts are so nice right now. they actually had a fair amount of loot split between themselves. So now looking to rotate just outside of Greasy. You hear the music going off. Cavs is just keeping eyes on it, seeing if he can catch a peek or something.
I mean, he does have the heavy snipe, so if he does get eyes on someone, he could very well drop them, especially in taco time, right? Because you're kind of, you're dancing, right? You're gaining back that HP. Potentially, if you get lucky and you go ahead and grab one of those tacos first, remember you get that extra movement speed, so you could be running around at max speed. There is also this little unique spot where you could potentially find some foraged items. We have eyes on targets.
I love it. Cavs marked him out, so he's probably going to wait until one of these guys try and take a consumable. Looks like he has eyes on this first player out front. That's a nice spot. Can he line him up here? Doesn't look like he's going to... Oh, he does connect and follow up with the perfect 2-shot AR follow-up. And it was actually really clean, too, right? The angle that he had, the wall just wasn't enough. The reaction was swift. It was quick. He got hit. He threw a wall up, but he was at just the perfect side angle. And that's why you have to box up all of your sides here. Even with the shield bubbles coming down now, the fight is going to happen here. They're going to collapse. Love how Cavs is taking the wide angle here, looking for all eyes on sight. He knows the revive isn't quite happening yet because he can see one of the players in front of him waiting for his team, playing super patient here. And actually, oh, I lied.
Yeah,
the revive did go off.
Yeah, I was going to say,
the shield bubble.
Once the shield bubble did come out, they should have immediately gone for the revive because that would have been the best play, right? Because you know they have to make it inside your bubble if they hope to do damage.
Ooh,
the revive did come out.
Explode action right there. That's a lot of pressure right here, Zeke.
More explodes are just going to kind of fracture builds all the way around. Right now, Novice is just trying to get shots out. Now, they will find Wendell here in the crossfire. So now it is a 2v1 right now. And just looking at the HP bars on the left, look at that. Gubu and Wendell are down. One player tried to shockwave out. That is Trimbala. It's not looking good because right now, Cavs is on the offensive. Another shockwave used on both ends. Now, keep in mind, he does also have the heavy sniper. So if he gets too far or he has an angle, he could go for the heavy snipe. But I like that he's saying, look, you know what? We've got to. We don't know who else is around us. We've been making quite a bit of noise. We just need to take what we've got and let this guy go. It doesn't matter. It's better to just kind of hunker down, find their loot, and reassess, and chase something down and potentially be picked off by a third party, right?
100%. That was a great disengage right there. Just says, you know what? You can get away with your life. You're probably not going to make it far anyways, being by yourself in this trio format. But they did not expend a lot at all either. And mainly because Cavs just played the patient. He waited for his team to come up. He knew that they had the advantage, and they got there just in the nick of time. Especially with that double slow, that pressure was just ridiculous. There was no way they were going to get out of there alive. So lovely, lovely engagement for them. Now we're hopping over to the other side of the map here. We're back center map, just under the meteor. There are players all over the place at factories, the divot, or I should say the dusty depots. Here you have this team just rotating across the middle, trying to find their way to zone right now.
Yeah, I mean, we saw the minimap for just a moment, so we know it's not completely cluttered just yet, so they will kind of have a moment where they can kind of decide the rotation, but just watch this lower minimap, right? So we have this information. They don't. So we know there's a trio up on their left that they're moving directly toward, that are making their way around this current little mountain, and then there's one already posted up in the house just north of there. It's smart that they're going up because it's going to give them more kind of like an Overwatch style, right? Like they can kind of look around and say, what is going on as far as the eye can see? The trio there was on the left. It was the blue triangles we see. So right now, the current safe zone is around Loot Lake. So it depends on kind of where we go from here because they could use that in Infinite Rift inside the Shattering Dome there. But I don't think that's always the best play because you either have like a lot of people going for that or you can just kind of rift out in strange positions and like potentially take a bunch of storm damage. We'll have to see. Is that a person standing still? Were they gargoyling?
Yeah, they opened up that cone there, trying to look for some shots, and that heavy sniper came out real quick. He was trying to see if he can find one here. Remember, they're only just a couple. Okay, so one of them managed to hit a tag off, and that one's going to be another tag right there. It's going to catch him a full knock. Remember, Storm Surge is in effect here. We're looking at Brazil, Heat 1, Game 1. These lobbies are usually the first couple, maybe the first 3 games are the most passive, right? That's why we're seeing Storm Surge. 80 players remaining on this rotation here. 300 damage now above the threshold. So that one elim right there was crucial to keeping them in the game and keeping them safe for that matter.
Yeah, man. A little more loot to kind of divvy out to your trio. We do have other sets of trios, though, very close. We got one straight across the way, some closer on those little islands around Loot Lake. There's even a trio right behind them that looks like they might have eyes on them trying to close the gap. And there's a supply drop that just happened to hit the map, so maybe they could try to contest that. I don't know. It feels very dangerous. Look, another trio coming in from the bottom right around that mountain. So again, man, we're sitting on 78 players in the lobby. This is insane, right? Because right now, you're trying to get a feel for the games. You're trying to see, like, okay, where am I landing? Am I having people being contesting me? Because remember, these are dedicated games, right? So these are heats. Just in case you weren't familiar with the format or anything like that, these are players have worked really hard to make it into these heats. There's an amount of heats per region, and there's kind of like, you know who's going to be in your heat, right? So if you're someone that's like, look, I've been playing against this enemy trio this entire time. I know they always go retail row. And if you decide I have to go retail row as well, that's going to be like information you have beforehand, but then you have to like figure out, are we trying to fight those guys? Do we need to change our plans? Like, what do we want to do here?
Yeah, that's one of the perks of knowing exactly who's in your lobby, and one of the cons too, right? Because then at that point, other teams that just prepare better can set up these huge counter strats to you and your team per se. But don't forget, guys, again, right now, Storm Surge should be absolutely in effect right here. 75 players remaining. The Zone 3 is already revealed, and that's why you see the kind of shots coming out here. This is desperate here. Only 50 damage above the threshold. Nice knock right there. He's going to catch Lucas here. Jossman, can he get the convert? And he is, because he's going to land right on top of Champion. His teammate is going to turn that down into a point there. Nice little pressure right here. Can they get this last player? Oh, these guys are hurt here, Zeke. You can see Mystics now getting pressured out. Nicholas also really hurt. They both have these players on whites here. Champion's going to get a huge chunk shot right there. He's going to get pumped. He's going to get traded out, though. That was really close. He's under the ramp. Does go for it again. Gauntless takes a shot right there. This player is not going down without a fight. Nicholas nearly clutching up.
I like that that Gon here, the moment that he fell down, he placed the ramp as like a defensive measure, but it was like guaranteeing that this enemy player could not send a shot out with the their shotgun. Because if they had, it's very possible he could have been one pump depending on what shotgun they had, or at least definitely chunked out Gon. But they worked it out, right? Like, and now they have access to all their loot. And they're probably feeling pretty good after being the ones that like kind of won the hill and seeing the next zone. They're like right there on the edge. So they just want to take a moment, kind of recoup. They have plenty of things like the splashes. We've got the campfire ticking here as well. But the campfire is going to be a pretty big telling fact to everyone else around them. Like, hey, there's someone wounded in here to the point where they have to burn a campfire, right? So looks like no one's going to contest.
There's still plenty of loot, too. There's still plenty of loot.
Knuckles.
So Knuckles comes in. He had no health. It's going to be such a freebie for them. He kind of just handed that one over. He said, hey, I'm right here. Come take me out, man. Take this point. He's back to the lobby right away. And that's just a beautiful pickup for them at this point. Now they have tons of material to spare at that point, being that they just got a nice drop-up for themselves. And look at this loadout. He's got 4 shockwaves. He's got the heals. He's got the infantry rifle. It's quite the loadout right here. It's somewhat of a pack-a-punch loadout, I like to call it, because it's all offense. Pump shotgun, infantry rifles, no fast-fire weapons in his loadout.
Yeah, and with the unvaulting of the silenced AR, it looks like they're going to opt to leave it behind. I like the silence. Dude, I was literally going to say, I love, and once we vaulted, I was like, man, I missed that weapon so much. It's so precise. It's very deadly in the right hands. But they're saying, you know what, we don't need it. We've got our gold infantry rifle. That is what we're going to make do with. I'm curious to see now where we go here. Where is the next zone? We're about to be revealed here in just 2 seconds. All right, so more closer inward, excuse me, of Loot Lake. I'm gonna see.
Oh, look at this. They're lining up the double snipe.
Didn't come through.
It was just a snipe AR follow-up. He didn't quite connect though. What a valiant effort there. Santos, Only, and Lucan here just kind of hanging out. A little test fire on the weapon there. Not quite sure what happened for a second.
He was just shooting out in the world. Hey, pow pow. Yeah, we're here. We're dangerous.
A couple shots out there.
You know what's interesting though? Based on like where we are, don't forget there is that kind of dome around the very central part of that infinite rift there in the middle. And if you're walking through that, you will be in low gravity. So kind of navigating around this can be difficult, right? Like if you're jumping, you're going to be a huge target, right? Because those arcs are very easy to track. So if they're going to opt to like make this rotation, like they want to be trying their best not to jump. He's trying to find the last person. Oh.
Yeah, and he was actually using the strat where you go in the water and you kind of aim your camera up, try to see if you can, you know, single out this player, see if you can catch those pixels. He was right. Like, he was spot on, but Yoinkmeister kind of slid just out of that range, and he knows he's nearby. He saw him for a second before, so I guess he's figuring now, like, oh, there you are, buddy. Got behind the wall there, and oh man, he was so kitted out. Legendary AR, legendary shotguns. It's gonna be a big upgrade for this trio right here.
And now here we go, man. The circle's moving.
Oh,
they need to get themselves in.
They're gonna go with the launch pad up and out. So that's a slow pad because of the, you know, rift effect from the zone there. I love what they're doing here. They're gonna mark up this rock. This rock is indestructible, so they can actually kind of poise up perfectly just beside it here. That's going to set them up real nice for another zone. And they're in the middle. There's a good chance they'll get this next half in and half out zone, being that they're dead center right now.
Yeah. And I mean, in some instances, it's like, why did you burn a launch pad there to kind of get this rotation? But don't forget that it is low gravity, so it's going to give you like a higher arc. So you can actually get a little bit farther. I like that they did it. I hope they have a follow-up launch pad, but they do also have, you know, other utility items in their kits. We'll have to see how things go for them a little bit later on. Don't forget, top 12 is when the first round of placement points get divvied up. So we're just over halfway there. Now the question becomes, where is this next zone, right? Because that's going to pretty much dictate where everyone else has to go and how they're going to try to move. We already see, like, there's a bunch of trios taking fights. They're on the right side of your screen. We see a bunch of people fall. So we're actually going back where we came from.
Oh, no.
This is tough. This is going to be a little tough for these players, especially on the very edge of the zone. The ones that are kind of already there and established is going to be better for them, but we'll have to see how they make do. Hyped, though, he's going to find himself quite a bit of loot.
He needs that shotgun, too. He's only got a blue tack right here. He is going to catch the edit, catch this player off guard, though. And it's Nox has Donuts who gets taken out right there. Was caught slipping for a second there. And this is actually more importantly, besides how far they have to rotate, most of the zone right now is actually in the rift zone, in the low gravity zone. It's going to be such a tough place to fight. I've actually seen some interesting strategies where players use cones to cut across, and you put a cone, you edit real quick, and then you move cone to cone.
Yeah.
Instead of not necessarily ramp boosting, but like hiding under the cones in a way. It tends to work, but I don't know if that's really possible when you have this many players left. So we'll see how these pros pretty much figure it out and make the best of this situation, because this is going to be a tough one right here.
You could even try to go for height, right? And then even if you got shot down, you kind of are falling in low gravity, you can try to reconnect. But just trying to to stay away from players down below and kind of let them fight it out amongst themselves. Unfortunately, Choi and Sidnoff will be picked up, and height is okay, 2 HP. He needs to find someone running here with low HP as well. 70 effective HP. If a stink grenade goes out, he will be eliminated. Fall damage will take him back to the lobby. He's got to be real careful right now, man. He has, I mean, he needs another 7 trios to go down to hit the first round of placements. And right now, they are on 4 points, which is really good, but that extra placement points could make the difference later on. And I mean, he's already getting
pressure. A lot of pressure coming from below him. He is the focus point of the server right now. This is not where you want to be. He tries to go back up another layer here. The heavy snipe was unsuccessful, and he is going to get taken out in that moment of hiccup right there. So, unfortunate for him. He's probably doomed from the start after he lost that much health. That team kind of knew he was there. He did make a move on them and was unsuccessful before that. So, that's why he's going to get taken out here. But hopping over with team only, you can see they've managed to rack up a ton of elims. They're sitting really nice, again, as we look at that loadout. Shockwaves and all sorts of heals here. And it's actually coming back out. So look for them. They're cutting out of the low gravity zone here. This is exactly what you hope would happen. You don't want it to go any deeper than that. You also don't even want to hit the rift at this point either. It could be too much of a risk, too much of a risk if you go in there. You're going to throw yourself in the air. You have the potential to get chucked out to the zone. You just really don't want to risk it at this point. So everyone's probably going with a ground foot rotation here. Nice little ramp play right there. Throws it in their face. Fizen is going to get shot there. Let's see if he can convert. Nope, the mobility is forced out now.
Oh, okay, well, that wasn't the greatest, but it wasn't the worst. But at least it's going to keep Xin alive here right now. Lux here is also not in the best position, neither is Neo, but look up on top. You've got a trio that's holding it down from above, but everyone else that has kind of been trying to rotate kind of later, you can just see their health bars, man. They are just going down right now. Zin, again, he got chunked out because we were on him for a little bit. Unfortunately, more of his HP is going to go down, but his trio's still alive. They're now in close proximity to each other, so they can try and, like, come up with a better plan of attack. And now, based on where we're moving, we are kind of going where we came from, but they're not going to be in the low grab zone. Oh, that was a massive chunk. That was
he's just
good.
Constantly eating little bits and chips of zone here. Is he going to make the quick edit? He's got to find an Elim right now. He's got to find himself back in this game here. All he has to do is convert on a couple Elims, get that siphon. With all the fighting going on right next to him, yes, exactly. Put that sniper away. Just get those shots. Turn those into health right here. That's what you have to do. Zin is still fighting for his life right here. He's actually out of AR ammo now, so he needs these right here. That's going to be one right there. Can he find another? Can't even jump in because there's a trap there. He's in the worst possible situation. He has the health, he has the Elims, but he doesn't have anything else to back it up. No ammunition. Working his way over to Luke. Luke's going to go down. Can he get the exchange here? Is that wall his? The real question. He's just waiting, biding time here. Makes the edit. He could not find it. This is a very intense situation for him. He has to go down to low ground. Huge 180 right there, Zeke.
It's okay. He's got plenty of
Can't even
HP.
shoot through the wall. Look.
But he has more builds now, so he did find some. It's not much, though, Monster. He does have just 11 slugs left. He's got to try and make these shots count. He's got to find one. A pickaxe elimination! What in the world? Look at the ammo! Monster, he's in a much better position. 600 AR rounds. He only has 10 shotgun shells left, though. That's not a ton to work with. Zin, he's going to try it with the world
He's
on
not
his
reloaded,
back.
though. He's like, nothing's reloaded. He really has to reload here. But there's only one person left. It's a 1v1 right now. This guy has shockwaves. He's got a lot going on. Nice low ground peek right there. Zin did not hit it. Does manage to take the high ground, though, because the side jump was unsuccessful, and he still has the high ground. So I think the player below him has no materials, but neither does he. Here it is. It's a 50-50 shot. No AR reloaded. That's what I talked about. But he hits the flick shot on Raquel right there, and Zin wins the exchange in the final moments.
Dude, 13 eliminations, 15 points from the Victory Royale. Zin, what a legend, fighting through all adversity to find him and his trio the Victory Royale. You love to see it. Brazil never disappoints. But for now, we're going to send it back into the studio with Dr. Lupo and Sundown.
It is, in fact, true. You love to see it. Now that we have these games rolling, Brazil, game one down, this heat, and we want to take a look at the leaderboard just to see, after all of that, where everyone stands. You have to remember there's 6 games queued up, Sundown, so this is only the beginning of how things are going to roll out, but the leaderboard, obviously, always relevant, always important, and always poignant, you know? It's one of those things. You got to keep track of everybody, right?
At every stage of the game, particularly when it is 6 matches, you have to know where you're standing within the rest. And we'll see right here off of the top, it was that 28 points to the Victory Royale plus the 13 Elims, capping it out there from NYU, Luke, and PH Zin. So very well done from them there. And I mean, they're going to be able, and one thing to note here as well, because in Brazil, we were watching Middle East earlier where the top 16 advance, Brazil is bumped up into that next tier of regions. So the top 8 will be the ones advancing. So as we flip on over to the next page, you can already see there's a huge disparity from the top to bottom. So if you're able to even get on the board, one Elim is putting you within that distance, and it's only the first game. And also there were a couple of teams who were missing through this, so it's only going to get that much more difficult. The pace of this is only going to pick up that much more as we continue going forward. And we're going to dive into some of the plays that happened in this game to see kind of what went down and what led to the 13 elimination Victory Royale, because that is a huge jump. 28 points, as we saw before, is enough to really put you in that contention, and we should be good. But I mean, right now, as you can see, like, nobody is out of this. Even the teams who are unable to make it into that first match, they are capable of pushing forward. So Brazil showing that there is still much more to come on the table. And honestly, I'm excited again because we get an opportunity today to focus in on regions who don't necessarily normally get as much limelight, and they're capable of making some ridiculous plays. But also, we're seeing much more variance in the end games. We're seeing it kind of, I don't want to say devolve, but it breaks down where players aren't able to necessarily stick with the buddy. And generally, 2 people is enough to run out the rest of the lobby, as we saw from the power trio in Middle East. But even now, if it's just going down to a solo situation, can you imagine the Discord calls when you're the one to clutch up, when you know, hey, there's 4 people left, and all of a sudden you win a 1v1. you win another 1v1. I mean, I get pumped when I win a regular arena game, like, let alone the fact that these guys are sitting here in the finals and watching a run like that.
These are some of the most competitive games we've seen. Even referencing back to the World Cup, you have to realize that there's a big difference between what we've seen now, because it's trios. It's a different situation. It's a different set of players and just a different play style in general. Now, I do have a question before we jump into these replays. Sundown, during the World Cup qualifiers, we saw Brazil really show up with highly aggressive gameplay. A lot of those players were dropping really high elimination games. Do you expect to see the same thing in solos and duos carry over here into trios throughout these 6 games?
So in trios, you tend to find different pockets of eliminations. It's not necessarily constantly going through, where in solos and duos, a player is able to really sometimes go and pick out, like King, for example. If he sees someone, he's going to go because he knows in his head he's better than that player. So he'll take that fight every time. Your opportunities to get those picks in trios just because there's less people there. But as we saw even in the Middle East games, if somebody gets segmented and you have 2 or 3 people, that's enough to go and respond and at least force utility out. So we'll see the fights and see what happens. And the replay package is ready now, so we're going to hop in to some of those plays and see actually what went down in the early and the mid game. So this is one example right away of that aggression you're talking about, where Zin, they're able to get pressure over towards their opponents, get tags, and then separate somebody, right? You notice they're pinching from each one of the sides, and they're looking to try and cut off one of the enemy teammates from the rest of his team, so then you can attack from 2 sides at once. And in trios, it becomes that much more effective because you're able to split out. And even if somebody gets down, if you're able to convert, the pressure then is on the opponent to try and chase. Now you can see Gonlias getting a good edit and then dropping the pump shot through to help out with his teammate, putting the fish stick skin to good use, and then following up with really good rifle support to make sure they're getting the shots over there. I mean, that is what you want to be looking for, making sure you're backing up your teammate, and that's kind of the team fight situations you talk out. Now, Raquelme getting a good angle with that suppressed SMG. You're seeing a lot less of it now that the tack has been back, but he's able to then rock it out with the great tack, picking up a number of elims there, and then consciously deciding to go up a level, knowing he has limited mats, but elevating just up 1 more and allowing him to pick up a number of elims and push into a better situation. But unfortunately, a little bit lower on mats, is forced to drop down and enter into the fray, as you can see here. But with his advantage in picking up the elim there, he continues to run it out. However, with PH Zin, that pickaxe elim, he knew he had already hit him for 180. Take the guaranteed. You can't miss that shot. It has the widest breadth. And then here, sometimes you don't have to be the best. Sometimes you don't have to hit all your shots. You just need to be slightly better than the person across from you.
It's that last one that is most important.
I mean, at the end of the day, it's a battle royale. It doesn't matter how pretty it is. You just got to get the job done and eliminate the person against you. But now, Lupo, I think we're going to head into the next matches.
Indeed, we are. My friend, thank you very much for joining us up here on stage. Yeah, we have more Brazil just around the corner. If you're watching at home, make sure you're going out on Twitter. People know what's going on here. If you see any crazy clips, make sure you're tagging us every single time. But we're going to throw back to the casters, make sure that they're aware it is go time for the next game. Gentlemen, if you could please join me on stage.
That's weird. I could have swore.
Zeke, Sundown, please.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I guess we're up now. All right.
Teleportation technology right there, all the way over to the other side, but got the dynamic duo back at it to continue with the Brazil games, and we all know who the better robot is here because we all know Zeke's a bot. I'm sorry, no, come on back out. He definitely does a better robot than me, and that's all I'm going to say there. But after, what were your thoughts on the first match?
I really enjoyed it, man. I love watching Brazil. They are just so incredibly aggressive and very technical. Edits, rotations, rifling skills, they bring it all to the table. I kind of touched on it earlier with Monster, but I still think we haven't seen their maximum skill ceiling. I still think they have so much more they're going to offer and show us over the next few days. And eventually, I think there could be an upset for the season champion. We have made some predictions, but I think there could be an upset.
I mean, there's the potential there. We've seen the consistent teams going through, but match number 2 is ready, so let's get on to the battle bus, drop on in, check out those drop spots, and keep the South American action rolling down in Brazil. You can see that bus pass coming through right now, the Meteor, also known as Tfue spot, and we are moving from east to west at a slight northern grade, and as you can see, Brazil Heat 1. Game number 2. Thank you guys for joining us. My name's Sundown. I'm joined here by Zekemus Prime.
Hello, it is me, Zekimus Prime, the guy he is talking about. Great bus path here, though, kind of like just cutting across the map. Almost center, just a little bit higher of that middle point, which is going to mean a lot of these trios have a great descent onto their potential POI, or where they like to land. Now, looking off, we've already seen quite a bit of teams dropping there at Moisty Palms. I'd be curious to see what's going on over there. But, I mean, some of the big spots that we have talked about over the last few weeks as we've kind of head into grand finals are obviously Retail Row. We were talking about Paradise before it became Moisty Palms. And then you also have things like Pleasant Park, even here Salty, right? The Meteor, Kevin, wherever he happens to be on the day. You know, there's so many places that these trios have opportunities to land. I think obviously the big one is like Retail Row, right? Like that has the most opportunities for loot in the early game.
I mean, we've seen what happens when teams are able to get retail to themselves and get spread right now over hanging out in Salty Springs with the only trio who's currently sitting up top at the 28 points. They are split across there, taking over the entirety of it with no contention. So they're just going to farm out, everyone getting up to the 150 builds they need, trying to find the shotguns and the spray weapons. But now over towards the Tomato Temple, just east of Lazy Lagoon, you got Suarez, Raquelme, Red Skull, and Nob, Zoea all going at it. Palermilix has already been taken down, so one Elam on the other side. They're trying to get whatever amount of mats you can, but in the early game, hitting metal and brick is not super efficient. You can see he's only hanging out on 5 builds there and in the low ground position, but Raquelme was able to make some great plays last game, and here he goes, building up on the high ground. Suarez also executing a pinch, trying to single out the player who's up top, who's immediately going to box himself in and just try to save as much time as possible. Some tags are coming through on Raquelme, but Zoea goes down. They're able to make it into a 2v2. The other partner covers. Great tack shots coming out from Suarez. Can he get the conversion? He does right away to get that one and get the siphon off. So now they've made it into a 2v1. That's the old dodgeball swing. He caught it and turned it right back around.
And this gives him a huge advantage, right? Sitting on the 150 effective HP, and now it's a 2v1 like you said. The question is, where is this last player? Looks like Nob is just quietly just trying to inch their way around.
So there's actually a little jump up you can get to. I'm assuming Nob is sitting on it towards one of those sides where you're able to kind of hide yourself. No, he was hiding around the corner, and he gets picked up right there. A little bit of a donkey laugh going through, and he's going to toss the traversal emote on him as well. And what was that?
That was a little, you know, when you like in that emote, you spin around, you put the hands out, you got to give him the
Okay.
There you go. But now we see kind of the first circle. It's pretty far, at least that's the way it looks. This will mean they have Tomato Temple to themselves. The question would be, did they pick up their card for their trio partner? I don't know what the best plan of attack for them would be, but for now, let's jump up to Kevin. We've got Twaco, Clipnote, and Nothing No Name. We've been seeing these guys pretty much over the last 5 weeks quite a bit.
Yeah, so they were, I believe they topped the very last week 5. They're diving down on Kevin, trying to contest the block, but this Argentine trio is looking to play extremely aggressive. They're landing directly on this player. He's going to box himself up, does get some tags, but you don't do anything about that. 3 spray weapons on either side of your wall. Don't care how good you are. Neither does Clipload, Nothing No Name, and Twaco immediately getting on the Nicholas FPS. You get to watch as Clipnode is going for broke. He sees the other player trying to rotate from Kevin. 25 shield. Some other shield tags coming out. 20 there, 20 there. Player is off towards the other map. Gets the 40 headshot as well as they run away. And they're saying, hey, we want to be on that board. We want to be playing tomorrow, doing everything they can to get themselves right back into the action. And they have the block to themselves.
That was so well executed. Clipnote is just insane. Oh, Llama! Are you serious? What is going on? They have this game on lock right now. But even going back to that moment when Clipnote decided to go in and he heard the player, they launched out, his control, like he started sending shots over and his bloom was a little bit wider. And then you saw him like for a moment took a deep breath, immediately reset his first shot, and it was just like blink, 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 20, 20, 40. They did not get the elimination, but they have wounded that person, and they are not going to be trying to contest them. Also, unrelated, this block is absolutely beautiful, so whoever constructed it, wow.
Looks like it's legendary Chunky there?
Yeah.
I have no idea. I apologize if I butchered the Asiatic tonality. I don't know. I have no familiarity
beautiful, though.
with any Eastern languages, but it is incredibly cool. Very well designed. Big fan of it there. And as always with the block, very dense in terms of loot available to them. So you can see now trying to check over towards the sides, make sure nobody's over there. They're going to double back over now and get complete control over the block. But there is another player who just looped back through. That might have been somebody going in for the cards. That is just the solo, and he's trying to disengage. But I promise you, there is no running from this trio. And yep, there it was, this Mystic trying to sneak back over for the cards, but no sneaky beavers in play there. Taken down and 3 points up onto the board. They said, hey, we're back in the game. You can't just get this for free.
I respect it. You know, like if he could have actually kind of gone in stealthily and grabbed the cards, it could have potentially meant he would have rebooted his trio. But I mean, this is nothing no name clip note in Twaco. I mean, these guys have been at the top for very good reason, and now they're going to be able to cap off their math, and that's only going to continue to propel them forward. Hopping back on with the only trio, that's the way that sentence should be worded. We've seen quite a bit of this trio as well in the last few games. Xin, Lux, and Niu, they are unbelievable, and again, they've got this to themselves, right? They've got the Meteor, and this is pretty good for them. They have no early eliminations, which... It's funny because Monster actually talked about this before the broadcast started this morning. He was talking with Shy, and he was like, hey, you know what? I think the best tech you could do is take an early game fight. And Shy said, oh, really? Why is that? And Monster said, well, it means that if you can eliminate them, you'll not only walk away with potentially, like, you know, effectively 150 HP or more, but then when it comes down to, like, storm tick damage, you'll be above that threshold, right? Because you have fought an early team, and you've got the damage out. So... I mean, there is a trio literally right behind them, so they might end up fighting either way. But, I mean, the loot's not looking good, Sundown.
Yeah, but NYU does have the bush, so they could be looking for a cheeky bush play right on the edge of zone. But it looks like that yellow team is just going to rotate around them. And that is X-Frame, Jordy Con Ernan, and Ian XD just going around a little bit to the north. Both parties opting, saying, hey, we don't want this fight. And I'm a bigger proponent of that. I know some people like if you can get reliable early games, but I don't really think such a thing exists unless you're uncontested. I would much rather play safe, rotate around, take whatever tags I can. If you do get forced to play around Storm Surge right now, it's not the worst thing in the world for trios, actually, just because the amount of shields you're able to hold. It's 25 damage through coming every 10 seconds, so that's...
Oh, no.
Like, oh, no, unfortunately, Raquelme, that was the trio we saw earlier. The cutout in the store is going to go down. Suarez is going to go for the immediate revive. They have the medkit over on the side, but how well can you execute? How well can you do your maths right now? Because there's the medkit. It's a single tick storm. You get 30 HP. He's going to have to pop the medkit and then chain revive right away. They're building up onto the high ground. There's no he's going to be knocked.
Oh,
the
the splash.
Splashes buy you an extra 40 seconds on the rotation time. Such a great job to get out of there. As you can see, a little bit of European invasion. Some more players taking away MMB's tags and proving the name right now, picking up a number of elims on the edge of zone. PH, Xin, Lux, and NYU are going to be on the benefactors of that, though, just sweeping by and picking up some loot.
And they did have to burn their shield bubble there just to make sure no damage was going to come in from the GL, but it's all good. Lux, Niu, and Xin, they're just going to keep on moving forward. They are hanging out by this old monster skull. Shoutouts, still one of my favorite events ever. But now look at this tree. Man, this is brutal. Like, how... They do have the med kit, so I'm assuming they probably have already popped. Okay, they actually just dropped it there the moment we cut away. So they don't have anything in the way of heals. Like
there's a campfire
right in here.
Yeah, the wall. Yep, and they're
right there.
actually just on the edge of zone. So you talk about RNGesus helping you out there, being a little farther away. You wouldn't be on the square for that, but now you are going to get some extra time. Pollard not necessarily stressing his health missing because he does have the med kit, but no extra shields coming through for him yet. The other two will heal up. So not horrible effective HP, particularly for the 3 elims you did get, but the rotation now, you're going to be in a little bit of shambles. You can see Pollard does not have any utility, does not have a shotgun, just rocking double tack SMG. So what does that mean for him? It means, one, he's going to be burning through light ammo very fast, but his job effectively in fights is to get around the side and pressure a wall. You don't want to close kind of close enough for somebody to take advantage of you with a pump, but as long as you can keep your distance and you have enough ammunition, you can at least still be a pest and not completely ineffective. Whereas if he'd been stuck on just an AR there, if somebody closes the gap with him, you're basically just a spray ball.
But I mean, across the board, Look at all their ammo counts, man. It's barely, pretty much under 60 across every single weapon that they have. And the storm is already coming.
We know they burned all their utility. Like, even here, their best play might be to try, like, some kind of cheeky grenade launcher ride. Like, I don't know how far the zone is necessarily pulling, but this is a run. But the one thing about Circle 2 is if you start right as the zone runs, no matter how far away you are from the edge, you will be able to close the distance away. That's the timing on it. And you can see a little bit of a ramp push there coming out from Pollard to keep his momentum, but it's tough when you can't necessarily always move in straight lines. He's trying to get every amount of distance he can, but he also doesn't want to burn his mats for that extra momentum. He has 44, so Shambles indeed does pick up a great tack as well, but nothing in the clip. They're rolling with the bare minimum right now.
I thought I saw one of them had a single shockwave. Okay, Suarez has it. So, even look at the minimap. They're coming up on another trio, literally right. That is the trio that's going to gatekeep
But that trio is on top of the reboot ban right now, like just over the side. So I'm not necessarily sure they
may not have anything.
Reboot, right? Like you don't know what that. Yeah, you can see them rotating away from that right now and just getting themselves situated. So this could be a fight they're able to pick up, but like you have to go now.
Yep.
Like you can't rotate past them. Like you're going to be on the safe side of them. You can see over there. Nope, they're all totally suited up. They have plenty of shields. You're pushing straight into this. Storm is at their back. This is the definition of gatekeeping. If they know they're there, right now Suarez, Raquelme, and them are going to be able to have just a quick second to
They know they're there.
No, they haven't turned and looked yet.
Yeah, Rigel, look,
but Rigel, sniped right away. He goes down. Magita is able to find Suarez and said, no mas para ti. Picks him up there. Now Raquelme trying to get an angle. Does get the quick edit, but he's inside the zone. Wants to try and get as much effective HP as he can, but his opponent is popping the chug splashes, doing the same. He knows he's not going to have a ton of support. His other teammate has less than 70 effective HP. This is on Raquelme to make a play, but Magita gets absolutely bonked right there. A great trade out from Paler to able to put some pressure down, but now the minigun on the side, the stick is ticking. 45 HP, 35 HP, 30 HP. Storm at his back, being held, trying to find space to pop whatever bandages he can, but the bullets are still just rolling through. Raquelme goes down to the absolute wall right there. Pollard will be next, putting out those infantry rifle shots, but can't necessarily find an angle. It is all a question of time here. Bubble shield does drop for a little bit of defense. He can try and work with that. Throws out the shock trap, trying to just get whatever defense around he can, but honestly, right now, this is such an awful position.
It's not looking great. And not to mention, too, with 25 seconds left, they need to start rotating away. There's also other trios all the way around them. I don't know there's much Peril can do. He's going to try and get some cheeky shots out. He's going to land one, but unfortunately keeps tagging the bubble, and they're going to pick him up. With 10 seconds left, they have to go. They have 6 shockwaves, though, dude. They're good.
So that is honestly, that's a position that's really confusing because when you have overlapping bubbles, you can end up kind of dancing in and out of them and baiting people to take shots. But the blue of that plus the blue of the storm wall and being on the side in the blue 10, it's so hard to tell who is where that honestly you're more so relying on audio cues to tell when people are sliding in and out. And you can see on the side there's a little bit of the bush bubble tech as one team is rotating there, doing a little bit of centipede move. But now Magita, Osu, and Baby Mora trying to catch that yellow team who just launched directly in front of them. Some shots coming out, but honestly, not in a great position now because of that fight. They had to burn a decent amount of mats, will burn a jump pad early to try and get over and close some space.
Oh, man, where do they land? They just saw the team on the right going up the mountain. They saw the team on their left. Look at this minimap. Just look how still dense this lobby is. 68 players. Top to, oh my, Magita gets picked up trying to get him, and it's from Zin, one of the only trio. There they are, look at him. We're hopping over, and he's got eyes on this enemy trio. He's just trying to keep pressure going. He does not want them to get this revive off. He wants the guaranteed points, and they're going to continue trying to apply pressure. For a moment, it looks like the revive was started, but they had to say, look, we had to disengage. We had to try and just keep this defensive position if possible. Are they going to let them go? Are they going to let them get away with this?
So they have to go. They have to go because there's another team on their back who's engaging on him right now. Reno Santos, Only Nuts, and Lucina are popping in of him. Lux goes down right away. NYU uses his chug splashes to try and get himself up a little effective. Drops down, gets a 91 tick, tries to 180. Only Nuts does get picked up there. Send him back to the lobby. And Zin is able to get a knock on the Reno Santos and get the conversion. Still one left there. He wants to try and get the card, but they will be able to pick that up. So a 3-4 for 2. The other player is able to get out, but unfortunately it costs them one of the teammates. You can see Twaco, Nothing, No Name, and Clipnote still rotating through. Bubble Shield being used by Matuski and his teammate there, but NYU did get picked up, so now it is PH Zin against the world. You can see him down there over in the Storm, not going to be able to convert on that revive. Unfortunately, he's trying his best. So I can get there. But if you see in the bottom left-hand corner, Storm will take him over. Plus, that bleed out time means he gets to watch as the Argentinians now go for the rotation. Clipnote in the bush, walking out through the open. Lucina is that other player who was the solo, so 2 solos on either side of him, and they're actually pinching themselves between them. So it'll be interesting to see if they separate and go for a pick, or they just chill.
Man, this is tough. All right, great launch pad here. Going to make sure that PH Zin can get himself out and try to get the rotation. So right now, he's going to be playing defensive mode, right? He's trying to look and get top 12 if possible. They already have the 4 points. They want more for placement.
I am curious if PH Zin and PF Zin, if there's any relation there towards it. Honestly, I don't know because I've never seen PH Zin before, but PF Zin was Nyx's partner originally. Haven't seen him playing a ton, so not sure. Potentially something to investigate. More of a mental note for myself. As you can see, the circle is closing in and a number of people are making their rotation right away, and pretty much everyone is packed into that eastern side. My lord, there's barely even a trio on the western side, but as you can see there, some of it is over the water, so we could have some interesting zone pulls this game.
And there's even a Brute sitting on the top. But look at this stacked up. You got King, Spam, Pew, Pewum, Toxic, and Exone. One of, I believe, your favorites, your picks to win.
They're my picks to win. You can see there, King currently sitting on their only Elam. Unfortunately, they were another team who wasn't able to get into that first match, but more than capable of making up those points. They will be able to do it, particularly as you can see. Man, everyone is stacked on the edge. It's like there's a contagion in the middle of the map. You can see nobody wants to be near it, but that Storm Surge will pick up here. 4 players left who need to go down. Once it's below 50, it will kick in. 9 trios have been eliminated. 10 more need to go down before we reach placement points. So we're really just getting in to the meat and potatoes of it, as Shadow Wager would say. We're going to make a meal of this late game, and we're pulling more south, so less in play. A lot of snow to go, and honestly, look at all those teams who have to rotate across each other to get into the next zone, and they're rotating directly into King, Tox, and X zone.
And that's probably pretty much why they haven't started, like, moving, right? Because everyone was aware they were all flying in and using the resources to get to safety. They're all stacked on top of each other. No one wants to be the first person to edit out the wall and say, like, all right, we're coming out, because that is going to be the trio that the entire lobby turns on. That's why, even look, no one has moved yet. Everyone's afraid to move. But don't forget, there's also the Brute on the left mountain. The moment that Brute designates that area to be blanketed, there will be people that are going to fall. So they have to be very careful on how they're opting to rotate. The question is, are people going to present themselves and give King and his trio the opportunity to pick up eliminations? Because I'm telling you right now, you give King an inch, he's going to take a mile, and he's going to make sure he's fighting eliminations.
So they were actually, I misspoke, they weren't right on the edge of the zone. They were towards the end, but the way they just launch padded was brilliant. They went straight out and then back towards the zone to then make sure when they were coming across, they had the extra horizontal momentum. And now they're able to kind of set up shop really centrally here, which for the next moving zone is a neutral position. It's not awful, but it gives them opportunity. And King taking that opportunity, that's a down right there. That was incredible. Able to convert onto an X zone, also able to find it. And it was PH Zin who was able to just laser out of the sky. That's the current leader. So he says, hey, I'm in the match now. I am the leader. I am the king of South America. Everyone has to answer to me. And you look at the amount of rifle ammunition on him as well. They're going to have opportunities to take shots, and they're looking for it with these edits.
The way they're just controlling the lobby right now, kind of how they are navigating, they're on another level right now.
But King only has 24 builds. I'd be really interested to see the build count, because it seems like they've had to rely very heavily on their tunneling to get in the positions. And now that they're out of the launch pad and with only one shockwave, it is very dangerous on this rotation. However, a lot of the lobby is again going to have to rotate past them, particularly those players to the east who they're looking at right now. All of them have to rotate into them. They also were able to pick up an RPG, so starting to fire those explodes away. You can see them donating those over right away, and now an early rotation coming out as they look for shots, and they're going to launch pad up and then move towards far side of the zone.
Question is, where do we land? They're starting to mark a few things. They see a launch pad drop there, but I like
move.
this.
They have to move
they
to
just
the
gotta
launch
go.
pad. You have to move over towards that as everyone is going to go up, because there is going to be another high ground rotation, and you don't have the maps to really go. King has 11 maps. He's going to start looking for aggro positions, and here it is. They take the wall, and Exxon is on the other side. But he's gone. He's gone. Shockwave out, so they burn that rotation from him, and they still have prio on being able to low tunnel. However, they don't have the maps to make it, which means they have to find a pick, and there it is with Pete going down, and they're able to convert that into at least 15 more maps. They're going to split those out. Somebody needs to give King something here. Otherwise, he's going to have to go aggro, but we're nearing our first round of placement points as another Elim comes through. That is 4 points going in as Lux and Trambala gets picked up by Zone. 10 mats. Here comes the Shockwave, and a good Shockwave to put King up, but he doesn't have enough anymore. Going to Shockwave himself back up. Does have edge of Zone into the shield bubble, but now out 0 mats. This is what we talked about. Has to rely on his teammate and the edits. He's in a follow position now, and if King isn't first, he's not necessarily the most effective, but instead he says, you do all the building, I'll just run forward with my gun. Spray going through. Can he find it? No. Phases up through. Needs to find the hit, and he does. Gubu goes down 50 HP. That was the siphon he needs, and he finds splashes. Gets the splash. Can he get back into the zone? The splash was everything he needed. Top 12 as well, so he gets the first round of placement points. Zone is also in front of him. 5 going through. King gets spammed. Pum goes down. Misses the round of placement, but does get that. Mongrel, Benji, and Mitro up top, but no, that is not them. That is Mystic. Filaz right up there trying to do everything they can. They were the other ones in the top 3 trio saying, hey, we're in this lobby now. 13 points coming out from him, 10 from Elam's, 3 from the placement, as Clipnode finally also gets taken down. Everyone trying to channel their inner MMBB as they're in here, but right now the positioning is great, and honestly, you could have told me this is MMBB, I'd probably believe you. Covering the sides, looking down, finding the angles, a great job right now, pushing into top 7 and still finding more picks as Tommy 204 goes down. A great shot off of that jump, and I mean, they are making this look easy.
They're just finding these incredible angles on players, and the way they're like just walking through, it is just they're just destroying every single person. I don't know how they're racking this up. Take a look, 15 eliminations already. They're now, keep in mind, they're only top 6. They're trying to get as high as possible. If they get the 15 points from the Victory Royale, they're going to jump up massive numbers. But take a look, they're trying to go for high ground. They see one player catch him, few shots go out. Joss, man, that is fall damage, my friend. Goodbye.
Top 4, they got that next round of placement, but they want the W. They want everything here. Top 3 now, but they're in a full 2. And we've talked about how when it kind of devolves down here, this is a 3v1. Pin him on the edge of the zone. Don't let him go anywhere. Get your full 4 points. Get your 34. 19 eliminations, 15 for the Victory Royale. They said, that first game doesn't even matter. We'll run it out. The top down could have had me convinced they were MMBB, but Mystic & Co. take home match number 2.
Absolutely insane play coming out from the trio. But now I want to hear from another insane person. Let's send it into the studio with Shia Wager.
Yes, indeed. Zeke, Mystic, Nogs, Feebas, I see you. I see who you look like. I can see the relation. Very, very nice game for you. Let's check out the standing zone, see where you guys are at compared to the rest of the region. We'll see them up on the board right now. Okay, not a bad game at all, putting you all the way up. First Vic Royale as well, 19 Elims, 34 points to catch up, but you can see the breakdown at the moment. 20 points ahead of the top 10. Just in second, 2 points ahead as well. So who's in second at the moment? The Only Boys as well. Also with a Vic Roy. So for tiebreakers, it will come down to Elims, I believe, and then some more after that. So a very close race at the top. Looking down all the way through, maybe even at the second page. For now, we'll see what's up. So we have Mystic, Feebas, and Nogs at the top. Looking at the second page, a notable trio as well. Clipnode, Twaco, and Nothing No Name. We've seen a lot of highlights of them in the 5 qualifying weeks. They're sitting up at 13. They can still catch up if they have another pop-off game with a Victory Royale as well. So right now, very early, anything can happen. Looking down the list, all the way down to 5 points to be up near the top 20. It's still very early in the process. We'll see how things pan out the more games we can cast over. Let's check out this most recent game and see how these guys kind of embody the personification of the EU King Trio in Brazil. All right, breaking it down, we're going towards a mid-game / early game fight in the first zone. We see Suarez coming up from the top, once again taking lessons from these guys. Instant siphons being picked up. making sure you can come back to your trio. We'll see Fishy L2, R2. On the bottom side of this, we're looking at angles and different angles going on in fights, vertically, horizontally, and from the bottom to the top, making sure you can always pick up things around you and stay aware. That's what a support player has to do when he's not in the fight. Going back towards Suarez, though, getting those vertical angles we just talked about. Big surprise elims, we talked about it before as well in terms of crosshair positioning. If you have that vertical angle, you get pop-off shots, you get big 100 damage pumps, tax even, that gets you lined up and in there for sure. Now we're seeing a little bit of dual play, swapping over back and forth. Someone's always there to pick up the slack in case you go down. This is the top trio in action right now. The DC boys going over multiple angles over and over again. If one person slacks off, the other person on the other angle will be there to pick it up. Once again, vertical angles. You will only be able to see the head no matter where your bloom goes. So playing height, if you don't have to worry about putting cones above you or putting any builds above you, looking down below, you can get any type of beam possible. You have so much room, as you can see here. The big note also being taken in. Just because you have height, just because you feel like you're getting the win, doesn't mean you have all the points. These guys are at the top with 34 for a reason. Yes, they got the Vicroy, that's 15 placement points, but searching for these elims all the way at the very end on Sashi, that's how you get kind of away from the rest of your competition. For now, all we're going to be doing is, once again, kind of recapping what we saw. The lesson, the big lesson kind of to learn from this trio is space out where you are, pick up slack from each other. The big other thing being Brazil, very aggressive region. You see a lot of people dropping down, waterfalling at all times. You want to make sure you have contingencies set into place. So if you're on height, be all the way up. It's a very easy place to kind of see exactly where people are moving and dropping down. We do have some predictions also coming in from the NA East region. We'll see those in just a second. Right here, we see kind of a pattern pulling through. Stretch, Booga, and Clarity. We've seen these guys have constant placements and elims week to week to week, always being in that top 8. Soundman and Zeke, I see you guys very, very smart. Me, myself, I think Clicks, Crimson Spades will pop off on that competition. I think these guys have a dope way to play from the 9th zone on low ground. And then Monster D-Face, Saf, Zay, and Zypha, it's a very safe pick to have, very smart pick as well, because these guys are very experienced and have new blood that can actually take them to the top as well with a dope clutch factor. And then Lupo, the Aspect Animal Bucky consistent trio. Smart pick there as well, but once again, if these guys all have that quality of sharing height, who can be at the top in-game and then be on the top of the leaderboards post-game as well. So it's going to be a cool thing to see. NA East will be coming up. Brazil for now, once again, to wrap it up and put the perspective on the horizon. It's all about controlling the aggressiveness. It's all about knowing exactly when to drop down and when to pick up for your team. And we could easily see it there with the Mystic Trio, the DC Trio, no matter what their names are, it's just amazing on how they actually break things down and how things are played out. We saw this at the World Cup with King, right? And once again, Sundown mentioned this before. You can go in and watch these other regions and actually pick up on all of this stuff before it actually happens in-game. So doing this, learning these lessons are dope. Right now, though, next game coming up, Zeke and Sundown. Take it away, cast us all up.
Man, I just love Shy so much. Just the way he breaks down things is like incredible.
I mean, it's incredible. I've been a big fan of him for a very long time. As I said, both him and Baller are two people in particular who like breaking the game down at an analytical level. But also Zeke, I don't know if you see kind of in that top right-hand corner there, NA East Heat 1, Game 1, dropping on in here. These are some of the best trios in the region that you guys all want to see. There's so many popular names and faces on here, and I mean, they are ready to go. And right off of the bat, you can see in the background, we're at Retail Row, and there's nothing free here. Colorful has a bunch of zombies after him, but it's not zombies, it's the pickaxes coming through, able to pick it up there. Fernando is going to grab a revolver and try and do everything he can with 3 builds. There you go, pickaxes coming out, trying to get to defense. Sicko goes down with a tap, able to find that one there. Colorful does get picked up on, but Davon is able to get another one, so Colorful still down over there. They want to be able to get it and get that revive back up. Zombies are there. Davon is going to be able to cover him, but Cube Fiends won't be able to take that one away. A quick 2 points going over, and Fernando, great work with that revolver there on those 2 shots. However, I mean, player also didn't really have a weapon.
Yeah, I mean, they were trying to, but it was still a great shot, right, to be able to dome him and drop him. Tendons is here by himself. They've got eyes on him. They're going to try and pick him up. He's going to run back inside one of the buildings here. Now, he did not stop to get the ammo there, so we know he is just running for his life. This is information Fernando has. Oh, come on! 6-3! There it is. All right. There you go. That is going to drop tendons. That is a full clear on another trio. 2 over on Fernando, 1 on
another
David.
trio right over on the other side, and they haven't had to deal with the fight. So while they do have the 3 points, that other trio was able to actually mat up, and you can't just cone yourself somewhere because there's Cube Fiends everywhere. The Cube Fiends will look to track towards you, but right now, trying to find a little space standing. Oh, hello?
Oh, no?
Hello?
Please don't do this.
Okay, no, he's just going to disengage and try and get out of dodge, take what he can, recognizing the fact that his teammate was able to do the same, so they'll lose the one there. But Uzi, Aguilar, and Thresh on the other side, and Fernando is getting out because he doesn't want the Cube Fiends to give away his location, going to drag them over towards the side where they will be dropped by that Rift Zone bubble. And honestly, if I'm them right now, disengage. Get away from all this. You got 3 points. That's really good already for the game. Get out of dodge. Go anywhere else, find some form of utility, some form of shields. You can see Colorful opted to do that. He's nowhere even on screen. You can't see a partner. They were both just like, nope, we're gone. Peace. We'll meet back up somewhere else. But right now, get out of retail.
Yeah, there's going to be a little bit of loot on his way trying to reconnect, but yeah, man, just knowing when to disengage. I hope they got Davin's card because they can go up to the reboot, not that far, just northeast. But it looks...
they dipped. No,
you think they just left the card?
Yeah,
okay.
There's no way. Because if they had gone back for the card, it would have been done. Now, hopping on board in the bottom right-hand corner, you can see both of our picks, Boga, Stretch, and Clarity, the number 1 seed coming out. And also, I'm going to throw this out there. A lot of people in the predictions were like, oh, you guys just picked the number 1 seeds. It's like, yeah, when somebody's dominating a region relatively hard, if you don't pick Mitro, Manga, and Benji, you get memed on, shall wager. When you notice, right? Like, it's not necessarily.
Hey, man, at the end of the day, I'm not eating a cup of mayonnaise, okay?
Right, that's what I'm saying, right? I'm not putting myself out there, but, like, to be that bold and do it. However, I do want to give a shout-out. There was a esports statistician who ran simulations for each one of the heats going through, and there were a couple that were very definitive going through. NA East had the lowest certainty out of any, and the winner who got predicted by that stats in the most circumstances was actually Drew Clank and his trio, and they've been absurdly consistent. But you looked at the other regions, and the average odds were like 30% or higher for the favorites, which makes sense when the trio is that dominant. But for NA East, not only have we not seen a singular dominant trio, even this Boga, Clarity, and Stretch trio have dropped games. There's not a singular team who haven't had a bad week, who haven't had some form of adversity going through. And what that means to me is there's a lot of room for people to be able to step up and make a name for themselves right here. Whoever is the first season champion out of NA East, that's huge because as far as I know, it's all on the table. Any single person can take that, and that is massive bragging rights. And what is like, I think it's the second biggest region or somewhere near that, like right behind Europe. Like it's huge.
Absolutely. And right now we're hopping over to Sunny Steps. Looks like Diddy, Dankline, and Code Ape are trying to find this team and isolate them as quickly as possible. And they are going to be inside this little Aztec temple, trying to keep themselves safe. But I mean, they must not have much of anything in the way of loot. That's why they've just kind of confined themselves down below. Whereas this other trio, BBG, Dankline, Diddy, and then Code Ape are just trying to, like, they're out in the open. They're like, hey, come on out, guys. Like, we're ready to build value. We're ready to fight with the shambles who we have. Let's go. This enemy trio is not looking to do the same.
I think the enemy trio is just more wanting to take a defensive fight, but you don't get to set the pressure. So despite them having kind of the better opportunity, they're currently on the back foot, but they're pushing it out. They're maintaining their HP advantage. But as I say, that better angles, you pin yourself in, they will be able to work around. T-Kitchen goes down. The other player does get isolated, and this is what we're talking about. Once you're separated, it's now all of a sudden not a 3v2. It's a 3v1. As the flank comes through, they convert. All the Nobu team goes down, and that's 3 points over to Diddy, Dankline, and Ape.
That's sick. The way they kind of divided and conquered that, like, you just kind of saw that enemy trio was, like, panicking really hard. They kind of set them into a little bit of a frenzy, and then they just picked them off one at a time, back to back to back. And all in all, like, they walk away with 100 HP, which is really great. It could have been, you know, a player gets down and then they have to be revived. They're only at 30. They even had the med kit as well there to kind of get them back into fighting order. But across the way, you got these other players on this little hill. They're beaming players inside of Old Yonder right now. Jacob is down. Flam is down. Ace looks like he is by himself right now. Stats here. I'm a panda. Okay, sure. And Parrish are sitting up on this little hill. They're just waiting. They're like, someone please peek. There you go. They're going to pick up Flam there. Unfortunately, could not get himself down to safety. Don't forget he was DBNO. So he's got to crawl himself away. Unfortunately, could not.
Yeah, you don't really move very fast, so you're basically relying on a teammate covering you immediately, or potentially one of those clutch shockwaves to be thrown back in the zone, but not going to happen here. No angles there. You can see Sad kind of just trying to hold over on the side as Parrish, Stats, and Pandish are able to get angles over here and not let them out of kind of this, like, it's really tough because it's such a good area to loot, but when you get pinned down in here, it's so difficult to rotate away because the breaks and sightlines don't lead anywhere, right? So you break a sightline and it's like, okay, but you're still stuck in that valley, so I'm just going to hold high ground and chill. Yeah. You have to leave here eventually, and there's only 2 exits unless you build out. So, like, once you're down and committed, you can see it's really easy to just execute on a pinch. You can see trying to get an angle around the side, but he's spotted right away as Pandish. The other 2 are trying to execute nice little ramp push to get there closer. Heavy Sniper staying out in case he's able to get the drop, checking the hill above, making sure that player doesn't rotate around. But you can see they're trying to avoid getting separated. They want to get back together. Stink will take a couple of times, but now it's a 3v1. Again, the other player can't move, and Sad gets separated and picked off. Well, they're only 2 grid spaces away from each other. It was a 3v1 because the vertical angle and not being able to actually support your teammate. And they're very soon going to convert this into 3 points. So this is the 3rd trio we've seen cleanly take out another. And those are the only 3 trios that have been dropped across the entire map.
But hold on, though, because there's another trio that is diving on in. They immediately down Stats, and they're going to full clear that player right there. You've got Users, Jacob, and I believe on the top there, you've got...
This is 3 teams.
Wait, oh, 3 separate teams?
A different color. Yeah. So Jacob and User and Swing
Pandish
and Keox are up there, and he just got down. So now Parrish is all by himself. Parrish is going to try and double back over. They do have about a minute and a half before the zone moves, but Swing, Keox, and Asperity now have angles to pick this up. Pandish is going to go down, and this is what happens if you get stuck in a fight for too long. You have to be quick and execute, particularly if you're on the edge of the map, because somebody will be coming by. Stink does force the player to move. Shockwave is burned. Keox looking to find it, finds Users on the other side, and now all of a sudden they become the benefit of pinching in down here. They're up to 3 points.
And that, again, just goes back to those sightlines, right? Like, once you isolate those players, there's only one way they can come back out unless they sit there and, like, beat a wall down, and then you know what they're doing. You can isolate them.
Well, and this is quite literally what we just talked about. They had committed to try and go for the pincer, but the second they committed to dropping into the factories, another team took over the high ground position. Well, 2 teams on either side, and now, again, you're just stuck. You can't get out of there. You have to resolve your fights, but as you're resolving your fights, you're getting third-partied by someone else. It doesn't even need to be a mech in this problem to be problematic. Like, they just take it out right there, trying to find the heavy snipe. That player is gargoyling a little bit. Swing is going up to try and loop up with his teammates, and they're going to force Parrish away, but now the hunt is on.
I mean, do you really want to chase him into this jungle of builds? I don't think it's worth it. I mean, the Storm is about to start moving here in 10 seconds. Now, keep in mind, it's only Storm Circle 2. It's not a ton of damage. But, like, is this guy carrying something that worth it? Like, the Shockwaves, sure, but if he's going to burn them all,
He's a point. He's a point.
That's fair. I mean, at the end of the day, that point could separate you in tiebreaker, so you got to try and go for it. Now, Parrish is just trying to get himself away, looking at the loot. He's got quite a bit of AR, a half shield. I mean,
so now, he should just be trying to be annoying as possible. Force these guys to make a decision. The Storm is on their backs. They have to move as well. You know you're not supposed to win here. So what do? Spend as much of their time, try and get them to rush and make a bad decision so you can get a 1v1 and force them to burn resources. However, not able to stall out enough. The rest of his team is going to have to wait back in the lobby, and they're able to pick up 4 points. And now they have all the resources. Like, yes, you don't necessarily want to chase him, but they already had a launch pad. He was carrying an extra one. They have contingency plans to get out. And on top of that, even if you just leave with 4 points and you need to rotate through, campfire, 15 bandages, 4 chug splashes. They're good. They're chilling.
Yeah, they're chilling. And looking at the bottom of the right of the minimap, man.
On the near side, you can see they didn't have as far to go. The zone is pulling more towards Fatal. Over there, it's Fatal maybe like a top of Salty Springs, which means that being on the near side, you have much longer to rotate since the circle has to go less distance to close, but now in a fantastic spot. Tons of white heals, 2 launch pads, great loadouts in terms of mid-range weaponry, and they all have shotguns, so can't really complain. And a heavy sniper as well, lots of playmaking ability. And Asperati also has the 2 bubble shields, so very defensive-oriented. But the fact that you already have 4 elims means if you can get into the late game with the heavy sniper, you can take the opportunity to take picks I mean, they're looking for it right now.
But he stopped. That player literally stopped for one moment. They probably should have tried to take the shot. But keep in mind, there are 2 heavy snipers on this trio, so they can make something big happen. But I love that you said that's enough, because that's literally all I have to do, right? Like, just chill. Literally hug the ends of the zones, make these really safe rotations. You've got the defensive loadout to help you get there. Just make it in, play for placements, and just pick off stragglers as they're trying to get themselves to safety. But now, across the way, just in front of them, you've got this other team, ESOF, Physics, and Scoped.
And if you look in the bottom right-hand corner right now, there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 trios with that other trio just rotated through coming in. One trio is currently engaged. You have Eclipse, Dubs, and Mega all hanging out in the middle there as well, currently getting stinked. Nade also came through. Dubs has no health, dropped down immediately to 20 HP. Scope trying to get the pressure in. Exoff is able to pick up Dubs before the disengage can come through. There is still another stink there, but he's just trying to push up, wants to knock down and try and own the wall, but however, they're getting harassed from the sides. You see him covering there, now trying to execute on the pinch, gets the wall replaced, pushes through for another one, trying to find an angle, can't quite get it right now as the disengage does come through, and they need to be careful because Physics and Scope got beamed from the outside with less than 100 effective HP between them. They're going to have to go through those bandages, and you don't want to be sitting on 75 effective HP. That is a single infantry rifle headshot. That is all that is. That will take you down. You will get one tap. You'll be like, what happened? Oh, right. I had 75
Infantry
health.
rifle, yep. I mean, look across the way. You've got the 2 players on the left. Like, these guys have made so much noise. Just watch the way these triangles on the minimap move. There is a team, I believe that's TJ, Boyle. They all
in the box!
inside the box with a crazy shockwave. Mega goes down. Physics trying to follow it up. And there you go. They immediately find Mega. Scoped is down, though.
It's Eclipse against the world right now. Eclipse trying to do everything he can to clean up the trios. No. Yeah, you're right. Hey, peace. Bye. He's good.
Wow, the offensive play to say, you know what? We drop Dubs. We know it's Mega. We know it's Eclipse. Let's just go for it.
I don't know if it was intentional to go into their box or if they were looking to rotate and get caught. I want to give them the benefit of the doubt and say it was an intentionally aggressive play, but at the same time, if there's a trap, like, you don't know, right? Like,
That's true.
Maybe it's just the difference in me being not wanting to charge headfirst into somebody's box, but these players are also infinitely better than I, as you can see, getting all of the loot, getting out from their, I don't want to say complete shambles, because they're still struggling in terms of shields and ammunitions, but slightly better and not necessarily threatened now on the rotation. If they're just able to inch forward a little bit, they should be able to get clear. There's also a drift board there, but doesn't look like there's any bubble shields, so just going to opt to hoof it.
Yeah, man, we don't forget at top 12, we get the first round of placements. Just over half the lobby has to go down before we get there. And now we're about to hit Storm Circle 4. But look at this. Watch this minimap. Just take a look at how people are spread out right now. It's pretty even keel. It depends on where we go from here. Are we going north? Are we going to the east over to Moisty Palms? I think that would be.
We're going center.
You're going dead center?
We're going to go center map again. I'm calling it right now.
I'll give you that.
Slightly off.
Slightly off center. That's good, though. I'll give you that.
I said center, but I'll take slightly off center there. Now, the real question is, where do teams post up here? Because in Storm Circle 4, the next one is half and half out. So typically, in Storm Circles 1 through 4, you're looking to get, or 1 through 3, excuse me, you're looking to get as central as possible. 1, to avoid action on the edge, and 2, to have a better opportunity to land zone. However, with Circle 5, you want to be towards either, you have a decision. You either be central for a more consistent rotation, but know you'll need to move at some point, or you go to one of the edges and hope you pull zone and are able to use recycled utility or your own utility to get through. And right now you can see Boga, Clarity, and Stretch opting to hold edge of zone. 0 elims going through, 4 big pots in Stretch's inventory right now, and plenty of builds. So their job right now is to look for shots. They have plenty of shields. They have a regular sniper hanging out right there. The Bolt able to find some picks through, and a decent amount of medium weaponry. You see Bugga looking for some toes, trying to do everything he can to get some tags going on, but right now, overall, playing safe, playing for late.
Yeah, I mean, they don't want to be doing, if there's like an extra like trio that comes out and they can pick them off quickly, that's great. But these guys want to play for late game. They want to try and go for height and then challenge anyone who gets in their way, because this trio will destroy them, absolutely, if given the opportunity.
Yo, that wildcard variant's low-key sick, though. I think that's the first time I've ever seen somebody rock that in-game, but the black with the pink on it, I like that. That's nice.
I mean, yo, there's some dope skins.
There's some
dope skins in the game.
I mean, particularly just me in particular, for, like, any game, I'm not super huge on cosmetics. Like, I'm more about, like, is the game fun to play? Do I enjoy the gameplay mechanics? Like, all of that. But then every now and then there's ones that catch my eye, and I'm like, oh, that's pretty. As Bugga is catching the eye of this enemy team right here, just able to lay down some shots. Trevi does get knocked, but not quite able to convert over onto it. Jamper is able to pick up Sihu there, and I mean, some good shots coming through. This is that suppressed assault rifle coming out. Apologies for that long S. Sometimes I whistle my S's. It's unfortunate.
Long S, yeah. That happens. It's okay. Everyone speaks differently, and that is okay. Look at this. Across the way, though, Dankline is going to go down. Diddy is not in much better situation right now.
Yep.
There you go. Sebi, Damien, and Kez are going to look to close in. So, I mean, if you're Bugga, Stretch, and Clarity, you could potentially look to pick them up because they're so close. Unfortunately, Tuxi's going to go down. Poach and A1's Nuts going to be by himself, unfortunately. And, I mean, they have, like, a pretty decent loadout, all things considered, but they have the attention of the entire lobby right now. Like, they're just trying to make sure they can pick up these eliminations.
Yep, and Poach did the intelligent decision, said, nope, I'm out of there, recognizing he was on the edge of zone and had 3 different teams look at him. Sometimes when you're in that position, I push in the box, he's able to find 1, 2, 3, gets Ziff going down there. A great job by Poach. Really, really experienced and clutch right there. Knew he was able to get away from his teammate, finds a player, and Ziff had pre-edited that wall, and because it's down in the ground, he did not have the composure to able to pick that up. No teammates around to help him either. He got abandoned, and Poach made the clutch play to pick that up. So from being pinned by 4 different teams to taking advantage of that situation and keeping himself in the match, and now also enabling him to potentially go make more plays, trying to find the launch pad over there, making the heads-up play to get the long rotation. So burns 1 shockwave, but he's guaranteed. And look at the people in the sky, Z. That's that far side of zone rotation we were just talking about. Poach, however, able to find a little bit of real estate and post up. 19 trios left.
I mean, this is pretty good. We see Fernando there being picked up. We saw him a little earlier on. Now we're going to check in with another trio, Macwood, Zexro, and Young Calculator. This is, I know, a trio we've seen quite a bit of. Right now, 4 eliminations, which is pretty good. Loadouts looking, it's, I don't know, borderline shambles. You know, it's fine. It'll get the job done.
I like this loadout. As long as, like, if you have an AR and this distance, you're guaranteed to be getting at least a 30-plus tag. Snipe is good for peeking. And I actually really value having white heals and just raw HP heals in the end game. So the fact that he is able to have any amount of chip or storm damage, or if it goes to a heal off, Macwood's going to be in a slightly better position. And this is one of the top 3 trios in this heat. It is Bugga, Clarity, and Stretch, Calculator, Macwood, and Zexro, and then Mega, Dubs, and Eclipse. We already saw one of those trios be brought down to their very knees, but these other 2 seem to be thriving right now. 5 elims hanging out on Calc, Macwood, and Zexro. And, you know, Calc actually said he was disappointed I didn't have him as their straight line prediction. Well, here's your opportunity to change that right now. Show us something. Show us something, young Calc.
Look, I think anyone could win, right? These picks are just...
Yeah, it's a battle royale, Zeke. Anybody can win.
Thank you. Appreciate that.
Even you sometimes.
Not even close. Anyway, I think anyone can win, right? These predictions we made are just our predictions, what we think. But right now, we're going to see this trio be sent outward. They have the shockwaves. They try to go for the play. They're a little bit separated, but just kind of like where they're fighting right now on this hill, it's going to make things a little bit difficult, right? They have to try and reconnect if possible, and Zexro is just... He's only on the 30 builds, and those builds are dwindling very, very quickly.
So he is doing the lead tunneling right now. What's going to happen is as soon as he's out, he's going to double back, and him and Macwood are going to split. So him and Mac, because I'm assuming Macwood has been doing less of their building in terms of going through, it will transfer over now that Zex was the one in tunnel because he was in the lead. So they should look as soon as they have a second to reprioritize some mats over to him so he has enough in a situation in case he gets caught out. But now they're going to swap over the building responsibilities to whoever's at the max mats. You can see some of it being transferred over there. But Zex right now is going to swap over for looking for picks with this heavy sniper and being one. And as you can say, boom, Macwood now the one in the lead. Zex's job is to just cover whatever sides he can and look for picks. They want to convert and find some builds, and there he goes, able to pick up 30 in the box with another team. But Calc swapping over to show the other angle from it as Zex is able to pick up another one. Trap does go down. Thresh gets picked up on the other side and needs to make sure that trap doesn't refire. You have another half second. Good knowledge from Calc there, as we also have our top 12. So everyone getting 3 points from the placement and a good showing right now from the young trio.
This side of the mountain is going to be proving very difficult for these players trying to navigate. Aguilar, Uzi there on the right side of the screen. But look at this. Macwood, Zexro, and Calculator have kind of drawn the attention of the lobby as they're trying to just make their way through the tarps. We see players with their backs to the storm just trying to get themselves to safety, doing the best they can to keep their builds up. And right now, Zexro is down to 15 again, so we're going to see Macwood continue just tarping out.
And that is our top 8. Booga and Stretch do end up going down, but another placement threshold going through. Clarity is cleaned up, so that trio is gone. The number 1 seeds and out, and now Zexro and Macwood have a great angle on the rest of the lobby. There is only one team slightly above him, and now they're going to turn the attention to him, dropping him down, and he gets him. Keox gets picked up right away. That's what happens if you're not double tarping, and they're aware. They saw you coming through. Great teamwork coming through. Another 15 builds picked up, so now Cal trying to go vertical, wants to check out what's above him, holding the edge of the zone as more players continue to drop. Top 5 coming through. Next placement threshold will be picked up as there's 10 players left in the lobby, 5 trios left, and you can see Mercy and H-Tag up on the high ground. Aguilar and Uzi with all of that retail loot hanging on the side. Zexro goes for the launch at the top, but he gets tagged over onto the far edge of the zone. Macwood goes down. Calc goes down. It is all on the back of Zexro, and you can see trying to not crouch, wants to avoid doing that. Is he able to fight it? He gets Aguilar, but he gets sent down. Will he be able to get back?
Something.
Pop a bandage. Pop a bandage. Zexro, pop a bandage. Son, please.
Wait, don't forget he has the double eliminations for the Siphon. It's going to come through. Aguilar goes down. Uzi goes down. 1 HP. Sun down. Sun down. What? 1 HP. Zexro, you god.
Yes.
I'm getting up and walk away. This is all you. I'm out of here, dude.
That was very, very good. That was actually absurd. Right at the end, had the down going through, had the exact timing with a slight ramp push to get himself back into the zone, and then able to get the confirm onto the already down teammate to get 100 HP back from Siphon. Then gets brought back down to 1 HP, and what does he do? Shot after shot after shot. We said, Zexro, it's all on you. Calc, you know what? I'm disappointed I didn't pick you guys after that. That was possibly one of the most absurd runs we have ever seen out of an NA East game. The only thing that rivals that is the end games we have seen from Mongrel. And I mean, just look at the run and the spread of this, and it was all brought down to the end by Zex. And we're going to toss it on in the studio to Xiao Wager, who's able to rock this one out and show what went down.
Yes, sir. Calc, Macwood, and Zexro coming in hot. They might have not been the talk of the town in a lot of predictions or on people's minds, but now I'm pretty sure everyone knows what they've been missing out on. And the VOD reviews are about to start. Everyone's going to be looking for the next hottest trio. A lot of things did happen in that game. We're going to break it down as well as Zex's clutch. So let's get right into it and get right onto that replay. So the first thing I want to mention is how much attention you can attract as the big man in your trio making all the moves. It puts up such a big pocket of room for your trio to actually move in. Right now we see Davon going around, revolver, SMG in hand, his teammates weak down. Because he's attracting so much attention and doing so much, landing shots, moving around, everyone's focused on him. He can move around freely and get his teammates to be back up on the same page. Same thing over here. We see I Am Pandish. He's going to be going around doing editing down. Keox, a good example here as well. He edits down, has nice vertical pressure putting down on the trio in front of him, and now his teammates can walk around, get pressure off on the walls. Very, very smart room to make for your trio. Now we see the other side of a box fight, the defense. We don't usually get this angle, especially in these types of circumstances where you're on ultimate low with walls you can't build around. I believe Retail and Salty are 2 of the only spots, but getting to choose your edits and your fights is huge. Owning those roofs, owning those floors, very, very smart. Now, the man of the hour, Zexro. Winner Royale, Zexro is back. Big fadeaway pump coming in first. Then 1 pumps left, up, down, right, center. It's cheat codes being entered and pumps being hit. Amazing quality shots, amazing quality game, a dope clutch we don't usually see. Zexro's back, Their actual dynamic in their trio is very sick as well. I kind of mentioned the person drawing all the heat off as well. These guys can do that simultaneously all the time. If someone has that RPG shockwave ready to hit and send up, Zex can be the guy to distract. Calc goes up, brings the heat. The rest of the trio can come back up onto height and then play with each other. It's really amazing to see, and I'm so happy these guys won that first game and can easily now translate that over again. We're gonna head over to a quick break though. You guys are probably exhausted from seeing that action. We'll be right back with more NA East madness. Thank you guys for watching. We'll see you soon.
What's up everyone, Sundown here, and we just wrapped up our first week of FNCS. We scoured through hours of gameplay to find the sickest and most clutch clips from each region. So welcome to your first installment of Plays of the Week. Let's dive on in.